Seeing that Dr. Doom was about to escape, the Human Torch was ready to chase him, but at this time, Mr. Fantastic waved his hand and shouted, "Johnny, don't chase him, we may have more important things to do right now." After saying this, Mr. Fantastic looked at Sook. Walking up to Sook, Mr. Fantastic extended his hand very friendly, and then introduced himself. "Hello, my name is Reed Richards, nice to meet you, thank you for helping us deal with Dr. Doom." Sooke stretched out his hand and uttered 2 words lightly. However, after hearing his name, Mr. Magic was greatly surprised. He looked at Sooke in surprise and said, "Wait a minute. You are not that Sooke, are you? An alien from outer space?" Sooke was somewhat surprised when he heard this. "You know me?" "I don't know him, but I've heard Tony mention you before. According to him, you are a very powerful alien. It's my honor to meet you," Mr. Fantastic said with a smile. "So that's how it is?" After hearing this, Sook suddenly realized it. Then at this moment, the Human Torch landed, and the Stone Man and the Invisible Woman on the side also came over. They all stared at Sook in surprise. Obviously, they didn't expect Sook to be an alien. And in the eyes of the Human Torch, Sook easily detected a hint of excitement. In fact, the Human Torch was really excited at this moment. As an active combat member, he has always been eager to fight with aliens, especially after seeing the power Sook showed just now, which made him even more excited. For a moment, Mr. Fantastic seemed to have noticed something, and then he coughed lightly, then looked at the Human Torch on the side and said, "Johnny, Mr. Sook is one of our very important guests, don't mess around." Mr. Fantastic was really worried that the Human Torch would annoy Sook, because according to what Tony had said before, Mr. Fantastic knew that Sook was not only an alien with great power, but also a person who must not be offended. Anyone who offended him was killed by him. Mr. Fantastic didn't want the Human Torch to die in Sook's hands. However, the Human Torch didn't care about Mr. Fantastic's advice. He just stretched out his hand to Sook and said, "Hello, I heard that you are a very powerful alien. If you have time, why don't we compete to see who can fly faster? You should be able to fly, right?" The Human Torch has always existed in the Marvel Universe as a straightforward young man, so when he heard these words, Sook was not angry, but smiled and said, "Okay." At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart that this kid is really stupid. At this point, not to mention Mr. Fantastic, even the Invisible Woman and the thing beside him were completely speechless. "Okay, Johnny, Mr. Sook must have something important to talk to us about, so don't disturb him," the Stone Man said, and pushed Johnny aside. Smiling apologetically at Sook, Mr. Magic said again, "Mr. Sook, I guess you must have something to talk to us about today, right?" "That's right, and it's not a small matter, it's a big matter concerning the safety of the Earth." Sook nodded. When Mr. Fantastic heard this, his face suddenly became cautious, and then he said, "This is not the place to talk, please follow us to our base." Sook did not refuse, and then the group came to the base of the Fantastic Four. After sitting down, Sook was not in a hurry to say anything, but asked, "Have you found anything strange recently?" "Strange things?" When the Fantastic Four heard this, they looked at each other at first, and then the Invisible Woman said, "I didn't think there was anything strange, but after hearing what you said, I remembered that there have been quite a lot of strange things recently. First, a rare natural landscape appeared in a certain place, causing the sudden death of countless birds, and then it was summer in a certain place, but the sea was frozen, and then a city in Europe suddenly lost power inexplicably, and it was not a malfunction, as if all the electricity was sucked away by someone. And the silver figure I accidentally saw a few days ago," added the Thunderbolt on the side. "Silver figure?" Hearing this, Sooke suddenly became interested, because as far as he knew, it seemed that when the Silver Surfer first appeared on Earth, it was the Thunderbolt who discovered him. "Tell me carefully, where did you see that silver figure?" Sooke asked. "It seemed to be over New York. Just 2 days ago, I saw a silver figure suddenly appear in the sky. It looked like a person was skateboarding. I wanted to chase after it to check, but it was very close to space, and I couldn't breathe in space, so I had to give up." Knowing that everyone was discussing business, the Human Torch became serious for a rare time. Mr. Fantastic on the side saw this and hurriedly said, "Mr. Sook, is the major event concerning the safety of the Earth that you mentioned before the silver figure that Johnny mentioned?" "Almost." Sook nodded and said, "The silver figure is called Silver Surfer. He is the servant of Galactus, one of the 5 creators of the universe. Galactus is a creator who relies on devouring planets to survive, and Silver Surfer is responsible for helping Galactus find planets that can be eaten by him. Obviously, they have set their sights on the Earth this time." "What?" Upon hearing this, the Fantastic Four were instantly confused. Although they didn't know who Galactus was, just by hearing the name of the creator of the universe, they knew that he must be an extraordinary existence. And now, this extraordinary existence is actually going to devour the Earth? Is this really something they can stop? After a brief hesitation, the Invisible Woman finally spoke. "Mr. Sook, first of all, thank you very much for coming, but with all due respect, shouldn't you go to the Avengers for this kind of thing? Our power is far less than that of the Avengers, and we simply cannot cope with such a world-destroying disaster." This is not because the Invisible Woman is modest, but she really has no confidence at all. "You know, that is Galactus, one of the 5 great gods of creation." Then, Mr. Fantastic also echoed, "Yes, I also think that this matter should be told to the Avengers." Sook was speechless, thinking that if it weren't for the mission, I would have gone to fight Galactus alone, so how could I have time to talk nonsense with you here? However, just when Sook was about to say something, a news report suddenly appeared on TV. According to the latest news from our station, an extremely huge deep hole suddenly appeared in the sea outside New York. Someone even photographed a silver-white alien creature. We initially suspected that this alien creature was the culprit of this incident. Many rare events on Earth recently may also be related to this. Then, the picture flashed again, and then a big hole on the sea suddenly appeared in front of everyone. And above the big hole, there was a silver-white figure, Silver Surfer. Sook was a little surprised. He didn't expect this guy to come so quickly. Johnny, what are you doing? Suddenly, the invisible woman shouted again. Sook looked back and saw that the Human Torch had appeared outside. Sorry, I won't wait for the Avengers to save the world. We are the Fantastic Four, we can save the world too. After saying this, the Human Torch suddenly flew to the place where the incident happened before. Sook smiled slightly. This guy is really a fool. He didn't even bother to talk. Okay, you guys think about it, I won't bother you anymore. After saying this, Sook stopped paying attention to the Fantastic Four, and immediately opened a space channel and left. Although the Silver Surfer is very strong, it is not to the point where Sook needs to take action. This matter can be left to the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. As for the Galactus that appeared later, this is the opponent Sook wants. At the same time, the stock building. Jarvis, help me detect what kind of creature this is. In the office, Tony and Banner were studying a picture. There was only a silver-white figure on the picture. Zoom in, yes, that's it. Then perform 3D simulation processing. Accompanying Tony's instructions, Jarvis finally successfully 3D'd the picture. But then, when he saw what was displayed in front of him, he was shocked and speechless. Because this is a humanoid creature with a silver body and a surfboard. Is this an alien? Banner asked in surprise. Is there any need to ask this? Tony smiled bitterly and said, will humans look like this? First it was Loki, and now there is this inexplicable guy. The Earth is really in danger. Sir, according to my preliminary analysis, this humanoid alien creature has the ability to fly faster than the speed of light, as well as strong resistance to attacks. There are also strong energy fluctuations around it, which makes it an extremely dangerous existence. For a moment, Jarvis' voice rang again. I know, Jarvis, you don't have to explain it so clearly. Tony smiled and shook his head, then looked at Banner and said, it looks like we have to call the Avengers together again. Do you need Hulk? Realizing the seriousness of the problem, Banner asked seriously. Tony's face changed slightly, and he waved his hand and said, not yet. Compared with Hulk, I need you to help me analyze this alien creature more. Next, Tony began to contact other members of the Avengers and told them about his discovery as soon as possible. At the same time, on the other side, continuously speeding up his own speed, the Human Torch finally saw the true appearance of the Silver Surfer. This made the Human Torch very excited. He finally had the opportunity to fight the aliens. However, facing the pursuit of the Human Torch, the Silver Surfer not only did not think about speeding up, but even slowed down his speed, and played a cat-and-mouse game in the air with the Human Torch one after the other. Even so, the speed of both of them was still unbelievable, and they soon came to a sandy beach, the sky above the desert. But at this moment, the Galaxy Surfer suddenly stopped. Seeing this, the Human Torch behind him felt nervous. When he wanted to avoid it, it was too late. The Galaxy Surfer grabbed his neck and lifted him up in the air. The temperature of the Human Torch was very high, almost close to the temperature of the sun, but even with such a temperature, he couldn't hurt the Silver Surfer at all. But at this moment, the Human Torch, who was being held in the air by the Silver Surfer by the neck, felt very uncomfortable. Although he had superpowers, he was still a human being. He was almost unable to breathe when the Silver Surfer grabbed his neck. Hi, friends, we can have a good talk, there's no need for this. The Human Torch forced a smile on his face and said to the Silver Surfer in front of him that at this moment, he was really going to die. But in the face of his request, the Silver Surfer did not show any expression, and his face was still cold. The next second, the Silver Surfer suddenly took him directly to the sky, and soon, they had rushed out of the atmosphere. Both the life and the flame of the Human Torch need oxygen to maintain, but there is no oxygen outside the atmosphere. Soon, the flames on the Human Torch's body gradually went out, and his consciousness began to blur, and finally he fell into a coma. Seeing that the Human Torch had fallen into a coma, the Silver Surfer let go of his hand and let the Human Torch fall. Falling from a height of tens of thousands of meters, even with superpowers, Thunderbolt would surely be dead. Fortunately, the cold airflow woke him up after a short while. Fuck. The moment he opened his eyes, Pyluo couldn't help but swear. Then, without any hesitation, he quickly began to control his ability again. Fire, fire, hurry up and catch fire. But who knew that at this moment, his ability could no longer be used. It's over. I'm really dead now. After trying several times, he still couldn't use his ability, and Thunderbolt was completely desperate. Then, just as he was about to close his eyes and wait for death, his body was held up by someone. At the same time, a somewhat comforting voice sounded beside him. Fortunately, I finally caught up. Opening his eyes excitedly, Thunderbolt found that the person who appeared beside him at this moment was none other than Iron Man Tony Stark. Johnny, are you okay? The next second, there was another shout from not far away. It was his sister Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic and the Thing. Behind them, there was a new jet plane with the Avengers inside. It turned out that after the Human Torch and Sook left, Mr. Fantastic immediately contacted Tony. At that time, Tony was also gathering the Avengers to study the Silver Surfer. The two sides hit it off and formed a team. Fortunately, Tony came in time. If it was a little later, I'm afraid the Human Torch would have been smashed into a pool of meat paste. How is it? Where's that guy? After landing on the ground, Tony asked nervously. I don't know, but I think I saw him flying into space. This guy is really strong. The Human Torch changed his usual arrogance and said with some lingering fear. It was obvious that what happened just now had left him with a psychological trauma. In any case, the Silver Surfer had returned to space, and they could no longer track him. Then, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four returned to Stark Tower. After returning to Stark Tower, Mr. Fantastic immediately tracked and studied the energy of the Silver Surfer remaining in the Human Torch, and then after multidirectional comparisons, he discovered something very serious. Gathering everyone together, Mr. Fantastic said sternly, everyone, the results of the research are out. Although we don't know what energy this alien creature is made of, there is no doubt that any planet where he has appeared will completely become a lifeless Death Star in just a few days. As soon as these words came out, everyone became cautious. Then, the Invisible Woman suddenly thought of something, and then murmured, sure enough, that guy is right, it's all true. Tony became curious when he heard this, and asked quickly, Susan, what are you talking about? What about that guy, what do you know? This is a threat that is enough to destroy the Earth, so the Invisible Woman did not hide anything and directly told them everything that Sook had told them before. After listening to the Invisible Woman's words, everyone present looked at each other again. Tony shook his head and said unhappily, this guy is really not nice. Why didn't he tell us such an important thing? Are the Avengers not as powerful as the Fantastic Four? Okay Tony, I believe he has his reasons for doing this, don't worry about it. Our main problem now is how to catch this guy and save the Earth, because according to Sook's previous statement, the Galaxy Surfer is just a pioneer, and the real threat is Galactus, one of the 5 gods of creation. Mr. Fantastic said with an unpleasant expression, and I have used the most sophisticated space instruments and radar to observe that not far from the Earth, there is a spaceship the size of a planet heading towards the Earth. If I am not mistaken, that should be Galactus's spaceship. At most 3 days, Galactus will come to the Earth, and we must think of a way to save the Earth within 3 days. Galactus. Although it was the first time for everyone in the Avengers to hear this name, just from the name, everyone knew that Galactus would definitely be a powerful opponent. After all, he is the creator god who feeds on planets. Tony, I think it's best to contact Sook for this matter. This kind of thing is not something we can solve. Then, Banner suddenly spoke again. Of course I know. I contacted this guy a long time ago, but he didn't answer the phone at all, and he wasn't at home. Even Black Widow didn't come. I don't know what these two guys are doing. Not to mention Thor, he hasn't been to Earth for a long time. Tony smiled bitterly and shook his head. At the same time, in a bedroom of SHIELD, 2 bodies were constantly entangled. One is Natasha and the other is Sook. After saying goodbye to the Fantastic Four, Sook immediately came to SHIELD to look for Natasha. At that time, Natasha was summoned by Tony, but because of Sook's arrival, she did not go. As for Sook's arrival, Nick Fury turned a blind eye. In his opinion, as long as Sook did not cause trouble, he would be very grateful. As for other things, he was too lazy to care. Moreover, he was the first to receive the report of what happened in the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. He was so busy at the moment, ready to cooperate with them, that he could not take care of anything else. After a long time of entanglement, the two separated. Sook lay comfortably on the bed, while Natasha lay in his arms, panting lightly, with happiness in her eyes. Perhaps in the eyes of outsiders, she is a top-level SHIELD agent and a member of the Avengers, but in her own heart, she is just Sook's little woman. As long as she can be with Sook, she doesn't care about anything else. Tony is so anxious to gather the Avengers. I think there must be something important. Is it really okay for me not to go? Natasha asked worriedly, her fingertips gently stroking Sook's chest. Don't worry. Sook smiled and said, it's just a soldier who came now, and I have already contacted the Fantastic Four. With their help, this matter will definitely be no problem. If Tony and the Fantastic Four can't catch a soldier, then these guys are too embarrassed. Natasha was curious and asked, why? Do you already know everything? Of course, is there anything in this world that can be hidden from me? With a faint smile, Sook explained to Natasha. After listening to Sook's explanation, Natasha was surprised again, because she didn't expect that the Earth would welcome a cosmic giant like the Devourer of Planets. But when she saw Sook's confident face, she knew that as long as Sook was there, even the Devourer of Planets could not do anything to the Earth. Her man is indeed the most powerful. Thinking of this, Natasha felt happy again. But at this moment, Sook was somewhat worried. Tony and the others should be okay, right? At the same time, on the other side, after further research on the Silver Surfer, Mr. Fantastic and Tony agreed that the Silver Surfer's energy source is the skateboard under his feet, and this skateboard even has the function of transmitting signals. As long as the skateboard is destroyed, the Silver Surfer will become weaker, and even Galactus will not be able to determine the location of the Earth. After this discovery, everyone
Hey everyone, welcome to our channel, and thank you for your support. If there's a favorite novel on the channel and you want the next part, you're just one step away. Become a Patreon member and I can make it depending on your tier. Thank you for your attention.
breathed a sigh of relief, but before they could breathe a sigh of relief, they suddenly detected the signal that the Silver Surfer had come to the Earth. Avengers, attack! Following Tony's order, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four set out at the same time, and their plan was simple, which was to destroy or get the Silver Surfer's skateboard, and then catch the Silver Surfer. Using high-tech equipment, they quickly found the whereabouts of the Silver Surfer, in Antarctica. Then, when everyone arrived at the South Pole, the Silver Surfer had been waiting here for a long time, and under him was a huge pit, exactly the same as the one that appeared in New York before. Hey, Silver Surfer, you're surrounded by us. If you know what's best for you, you'd better surrender. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude, Tony said, and all kinds of weapons on his body suddenly appeared. The Thunderbolt also appeared beside Tony with a serious face. As for the others, because they had no ability to fly, they could only wait on the plane. Facing Tony's warning, Silver Surfer still did not react at all, but his expression became colder. What's going on? Is this guy dumb? Tony shrugged and looked at the Thunderbolt beside him helplessly. I don't know, but I know he will definitely not surrender, said the Human Torch, and suddenly rushed up again, and then threw out a large ball of hot flames. Then, Tony did not hesitate, and all kinds of weapons on his body were fired out in an instant, and the target was the Silver Surfer. At the same time, the other people on the plane were not idle either, and all kinds of weapons were quickly fired at the Silver Surfer. You know, this is a matter related to the comfort of the Earth, no one dares to be careless. But what happened next shocked everyone. Facing the attacks of everyone, the Silver Surfer not only did not dodge, but instead blocked the silver skateboard under his feet horizontally in front of himself. In an instant, the silver skateboard absorbed all the attacks. None of their attacks caused any harm to the Silver Surfer. Tony was a little speechless, because he didn't expect the Silver Surfer's skateboard to have this function. Then, just when everyone was a little surprised, the Silver Surfer suddenly rushed over again. He was so fast that even Tony couldn't see his movements clearly. Almost in an instant, Tony and the Human Torch were knocked to the ground by the Silver Surfer. When Sook emerged from the space tunnel, the Silver Surfer had almost completely wiped out the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, which left him speechless. You can wipe out a whole army when fighting a small monster. What can I expect from you in the future? These guys really can't do anything without me. Sook, be careful, this guy is very strong. At this moment, Tony, who was crawling out of the snow, also found Sook and immediately shouted, Okay, I got it. I'll take care of this guy. You better go and save the others. Sook said speechlessly as he looked at the other people who were knocked down in the snow and whose lives were uncertain. Then, he flew into the air and stopped opposite the Silver Surfer. At this moment, the Silver Surfer looked at him cautiously. As a being with powerful abilities, the Silver Surfer felt a lot of pressure from Sook. This was a kind of pressure that could not be described in words, and he had never felt this kind of pressure even from his master, Galactus. However, when he thought of his master, Galactus, the Silver Surfer's eyes became firm again, because he believed that as long as his master came here, everything here would disappear, including the guy in front of him. There was no need to fight him. Thinking of this, the Silver Surfer was ready to leave, but it was obvious that Sook would not give him this opportunity. With a teleportation, Sook appeared in front of the Silver Surfer and greeted him with a punch. Want to run? Did I let you leave? As the punch was thrown, the surrounding space was shattered, revealing a huge black hole, and the Silver Surfer was sucked into the black hole. What? For a moment, a look of surprise finally appeared on the calm face of the Silver Surfer. Although he knew that Sook was not simple, he did not expect that Sook's power had reached this level. Before coming to Earth, he had been to countless planets. Although there were strong people on those planets, those strong people were insignificant to him. He defeated them with almost no power, and then his master, Galactus, would begin to devour those planets? He had never met a strong man like Sook. Just a light punch, but he could directly break a black hole. What a powerful force! Although he was a little frightened, he was the servant of Galactus after all. Then, he reacted quickly, and then increased his strength and quickly rushed out of the black hole. But it was obvious that Sook would not let him go like this. Staring at Sook who was standing in front of him, the Silver Surfer was also very angry at this time. After all, after becoming the servant of Galactus, he had never suffered such a loss, which made him almost unbearable. Then, he instantly began to attack. Waves of special energy began to continuously flow out from the skateboard under his feet, and then began to spread throughout his body, making him look more dangerous. This is a unique way of attacking him. He constantly draws energy from the skateboard and then attaches it to himself, making his body harder, and the speed will increase tenfold. Under such an impact, even asteroids will be destroyed by him, and because the speed has exceeded superluminal speed, such an attack is almost unavoidable. Next, without the slightest hesitation, the Silver Surfer rushed towards Sook. However, when rushing towards Sook, the Silver Surfer was surprised to find that his speed had suddenly become extremely slow. Not to mention superluminal speed, he was like being frozen in midair. At the same time, he keenly realized that the energy in his body was also rapidly dissipating. What on earth is going on? The Silver Surfer was horrified, but there was nothing he could do. How boring? It seems that without the power of Galactus, you are nothing at all. You really disappoint me. Sook shook his head and looked at the Silver Surfer who was imprisoned by the power of time with contempt. Then, he waved his hand, and the skateboard under the feet of the Silver Surfer flew towards him. The skateboard is the source of power for the Silver Surfer. Without the skateboard, the Silver Surfer was suddenly horrified, and there was some fear in his eyes when he looked at Sook. Next, Sook suddenly snapped his fingers again, and the time confinement around the Silver Surfer was instantly released. Then, the Silver Surfer began to fall to the ground at a loss. Sook obviously noticed that the moment the Silver Surfer fell, the skateboard in his hand struggled to fly over, but of course, he would not allow this. As for whether the Silver Surfer was alive or dead, Sook was too lazy to care about it. After all, it was this guy who brought Galactus to Earth. What does it matter if he died? And this skateboard, what a good thing. Sweeping his eyes over the skateboard, Sook's eyes showed a hint of surprise. You know, this thing is directly connected to the energy of Galactus, and the power in it is almost endless. As one of the 5 great gods of creation, Galactus seems to have always been a universal existence, as if anyone can defeat him, but don't forget that this guy is always one of the 5 great gods of creation, and his own energy is almost unlimited, not even worse than Dormammu. In some events in Marvel, this guy once destroyed the universe. After getting the skateboard, what Sook has to do next is to wait quietly for the arrival of Galactus. When Sook landed on the ground, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four had been found by Tony. In addition, Tony also fished out the Silver Surfer who fell into the deep sea, and this guy's life is really hard enough. He fell from such a high place and didn't even get hurt. So, what are we going to do with this guy now? We already have the skateboard, and this guy seems to be useless. Hawkeye took out an arrow from his back and knocked it on the Silver Surfer. At this time, the Silver Surfer finally spoke, but of course, he didn't speak to Tony and Hawkeye, but to Sook. Human, you are making a serious mistake. When my master, Galactus, arrives, all of you will die. Sook found it funny and said, to be honest, I would go find him even if he didn't come. He's just a creator god, right? I'll kill him anyway. Also, take a good look at me, am I really a human? Upon hearing this, the Silver Surfer looked at Sook again, and soon, he discovered the special energy in Sook, which was the energy that belonged exclusively to the Eternals. You are a Titan, a member of Thanos' tribe. Why is this happening? Didn't Thanos kill all his people? Silver Surfer said in great surprise. As a being who often roams in the universe, he has naturally heard about the mad Titan Thanos. Even his master has warned him that if he encounters Thanos, he must not conflict with him. Obviously, even his master Galactus is afraid of Thanos' power. Now he actually saw a Titan from the same family as Thanos here, which really surprised him, because as far as he knew, Thanos seemed to have slaughtered all his people. I am lucky, so he couldn't kill me. But soon, I will go find him. But before that, I have to kill your master, Galactus, first. Sook said calmly. The others present were not surprised at all when they heard this, because they understood that Sook was not just talking nonsense, he could definitely do such a thing. At the same time, they also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Sook was willing to take action, then the Earth would most likely be safe. After staring at Sook with complicated eyes for a while, the Silver Surfer suddenly spoke again. Are you really going to fight Galactus? Is there any way not to go? Sook smiled helplessly and said, didn't you bring Galactus to Earth? This place is my second home to me, and I will never allow anyone to destroy it. As a Titan, Sook felt that he was very peace-loving. As long as others did not provoke him, he would rarely provoke others. Loki, Sentinel, Dormammu, these guys were all like this without exception. If Galactus did not come to Earth, he would go to him only when he was bored. Some people are just so mean. After hearing what Sook said, the expression on Silver Surfer's face became more complicated. Although the surfboard is his source of power, it also restricts him and eliminates all his emotions and memories. Now that Sook has taken away the surfboard, he finally remembers what happened to him before. It turns out that he became Galactus's servant in order to protect his own planet. It turns out that he has been helping Galactus devour other planets. It turns out that he has always been an unforgivable person. Then, the Silver Surfer suddenly raised his head, and looked at Sook with a tough face and said, if you really want to defeat Galactus, then please let me help you. I will take you to find him. As soon as Sook said this, Tony and others shouted before he could answer. Sook, you can't trust this guy. You know, he is the servant of Galactus. What if this is a trap? We can't trust him. I think we should lock him up first. This guy is too untrustworthy. Unlike others, Sook knows Silver Surfer. He knows that this guy is not a bad person. He does this just to protect his planet. But when it comes to helping, this kind of thing still needs to be cautious. Thinking of this, Sook signaled Tony and the others to be quiet, then looked at the Silver Surfer with a playful expression and said, are you sure you want to do this? You know, Galactus is your master. The Silver Surfer said calmly, the reason why I agreed to work for Galactus was just to ask him to spare my planet, but if you can kill him, then my planet will be completely safe, and I won't have to serve Galactus anymore. So if you want to kill him, then I will definitely help you. What you said makes sense, so, I agree. When Sook said this, he instantly used the power of the Mind Stone. For a moment, he felt as if he had established a special relationship with the Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer would never violate or betray him. For him, the Silver Surfer only wanted 100% loyalty. This is the power of the Mind Stone. Hey, Sook, I think you should think about this matter carefully. What if this guy betrays you? Tony said with some concern. There's no time. Sook shook his head and said, just when I defeated Silver Surfer, I felt that Galactus had discovered us. If I'm right, this guy is almost here, and I'm sure that this guy will never betray me. As soon as these words came out, Tony and the others didn't know what to say. They could only watch Sook hand the surfboard to the Silver Surfer. Although Sook was reluctant to part with this surfboard made of Galactus energy, but then again, compared with the energy contained in Galactus, what was this surfboard? Besides, the Silver Surfer has become his most loyal subordinate now. What's the big deal even if he gives it to him? You know, the Silver Surfer can easily defeat the Avengers? Stepping back on the surfboard, the Silver Surfer immediately regained his energy and returned to his previous appearance. Closing his eyes and feeling it for a while, the Silver Surfer looked at Sook and said, Master, you are right. Galactus has indeed sped up his speed to get here. At most, he will reach the Earth in half an hour. What should we do? Master? Fuck. When did Sook become the master of the Silver Surfer? Isn't his master Galactus? Did Sook just hit the Silver Surfer's brain? Everyone looked at each other, but they didn't know how to explain this. But at this time, Sook was too lazy to pay attention to them, because right now, the Silver Surfer had only one new master, and that was himself. Avengers, Fantastic Four, you have done a great job, but leave the rest to me. Don't worry, I will get rid of Galactus before he comes to Earth. With a slight smile, Sook turned into a ray of light and flew into the universe. Then, the Silver Surfer also chased after them, leaving the Avengers and the Fantastic Four with helpless faces. Staring at Sook's departing figure, Tony couldn't help but think that, as expected, the Earth still needs Sook. If there were no Sook, I'm afraid the Earth would have ceased to exist long ago. Same as this in the universe, having sensed the special changes in the Silver Surfer, the Devourer of Planets has already abandoned his huge spaceship, and then swept towards the Earth with overflowing destructive power, sweeping across the entire universe like a destructive hurricane. Any planet that he touches will lose all life and energy in an instant, and then turn into a lifeless dead star floating in the universe. Galactus represents only death and destruction, and he is now heading for Earth. Because he knew the power of Galactus, Sook didn't want to fight Galactus around the Earth. He flew with Silver Surfer and crossed space several times. Sook soon came to a galaxy far away from the Earth. Not far away, Sook could already see the scene in the distance. It was a grey cloud with special energy. With his appearance, the skateboard under the feet of Silver Surfer seemed to have some reaction. If it was before, Silver Surfer would definitely fly over and salute Galactus immediately when he saw Galactus, but under the effect of the Mind Stone, he was no longer Galactus's servant, so when facing Galactus, he was quite calm. After a brief look, Silver Surfer looked at Sook and said, Master, this is not the real Galactus, but a clone of Galactus. What? Sook was a little surprised when he heard this, and then he smiled helplessly. He only sent a clone to come, and it seemed that he was really underestimated. Go. He uttered a word softly, and Sook instantly came to the front of the grey energy. With his arrival, Sook's clone of Devourer of Planets also stopped. Then, the grey energy began to disperse, and then a giant who was hundreds of feet tall and covered with armor suddenly walked out from a high position. It was Devourer of Planets, one of the 5 great creators of the universe. It must be said that Devourer of Planets does look very cool and can scare people. But obviously, he can't scare Sook at all. Then, the Silver Surfer suddenly came to Sook's side, and looked at the Devourer of Planets in front of him side by side with Sook. Devourer of Planets was extremely angry about Sook's appearance, but when he saw the Silver Surfer, Devourer of Planets was a little surprised. My servant, what's wrong with you? Why couldn't I sense your presence suddenly before? And who is this person you brought with you? Silver Surfer shook his head, looked at Galactus in front of him and said, Galactus, from today on you are no longer my master, and I will not help you anymore. My master is Sook, a great titan. Silver Surfer said, bending down towards Sook beside him. When Galactus heard this at first, he was very angry, but when he heard Galactus say that Sook was a titan, Galactus was surprised again. Are you a titan? Who is Thanos to you? Is this important? Sook smiled and said, it's not important at all. What's important is that I'm very angry now, because you only let one clone deal with me, Galactus, you will regret doing this. Hearing that Sook actually said such a thing, Galactus was furious again. He looked at the Silver Surfer on the side and said angrily, Nolan, we have a deal. I let your planet go, and then you will become my eternal servant, but now you have betrayed me. Do you know what the consequences will be? Silver Surfer said calmly, of course I know, but Galactus, I'm afraid you no longer have the chance to do that, because my new master will defeat you. New master? Do you think he is Thanos? Not all titans are the same as Thanos. And do you think I don't want you to have a conflict with Thanos because I'm afraid of Thanos? No, I'm just afraid of the death behind Thanos. A mere titan is nothing. You talk too much nonsense. The next second, before Devourer could finish his words, Sook suddenly rushed towards Devourer and punched him on the chin, instantly sending him flying and then falling heavily into the starry sky. Bastard! How dare you do this to me? In the starry sky, when the devourer of planets, who was knocked down by Suk's punch, got up again, he instantly became very angry. Suk sneered and said, "Don't think that I am afraid of you just because you are big. Dormammu is bigger than you, but he was still defeated by me. Asshole? I'm not Dormammu, don't compare me to that guy." Galactus roared and began to raise his huge fist. But Suk dodged it easily. Then, he began to attack Galactus non-stop, and without using any Infinity Stones, he relied solely on his own strength to beat Galactus without any chance of fighting back. On the contrary, Galactus' various attacks were useless to Suk, and they couldn't even touch Suk, and his energy that could devour life couldn't hurt Suk at all. This is a bit embarrassing. Even if this is just a clone, it is very embarrassing for Galactus, but for Suk, it is quite comfortable. When he hit Galactus, it was a punch to the flesh, which was much more comfortable than when he hit Dormammu. But when he thought that this was just a clone, Suk instantly lost interest. "Planet Devourer, don't use your clone to play with me, it's boring, you should play with me yourself." Suke sneered, and then with a thought, a space channel suddenly appeared at the neck of Planet Devourer, just covering the neck of Planet Devourer. Die. As soon as the word die came out, the space channel shrank rapidly, and then the giant head of the Devourer of Planets suddenly rolled down. Suk easily killed Galactus's clone? The Silver Surfer standing by was shocked when he saw this. It was obvious that he didn't expect his new master to be so powerful. "Titans, you are really powerful." Suddenly, at this moment, a hollow and emotionless sound suddenly came from the depths of the universe. Then, the space was suddenly torn apart, and a huge figure suddenly walked out of the void. It was the Devourer of Planets. The real Devourer of Planets. As the Devourer of Planets appeared, Suk clearly felt that the energy around him had changed. It seemed that at this moment, all the energy in the universe was quickly gathering around the Devourer of Planets. In other words, at this moment, the Devourer of Planets' body was absorbing any energy that could be absorbed in the universe. Even the energy he himself was emitting. This was really interesting. He didn't expect that the Devourer of Planets actually had the same ability as himself. But soon after, Suk was relieved. After all, Galactus was at the same level as Death, and he must have some special abilities. Even so, Suk was not worried at all, because at this moment, his body not only stored the power of millions of stars of the Sentinels, but also the dark power he had absorbed from Dormammu before, as well as Jean's Phoenix power and Wanda's Chaos power. All these powers added together allowed him to fight Galactus. He even had more power than Galactus at this moment. That was why, when facing Galactus, Suk still had a faint smile on his face, and he didn't take Galactus seriously at all, because in his opinion, Galactus was about to be killed by him. But, staring at Suk in front of him, the Devourer of Planets did not show any intention of attacking him. Instead, he became somewhat interested in Suk. What an interesting guy. Suke was speechless, and then he said helplessly, "I think we should stop talking nonsense and start fighting." "Fight? Why should I fight you?" Planet Devourer shook his head. "I won't fight you." Suk, as a being who has lived for who knows how long, Devourer of Planets rarely feels threatened by other people, but at this moment, he sensed a hint of threat from Suk, and it was this feeling that made him not want to fight Suk at all, because he understood that Suk was almost at the same level as himself. As the bottom existence among the creation gods, Devourer of Planets never provokes beings of the same level as himself, which is also his way of survival. Besides, meeting a being of the same level as himself in this place is indeed a very interesting thing. But at this time, Suke was a little depressed. He finally found the Devourer of Planets, but this guy actually said, "I don't want to fight with you." Is this really the attitude of a creator god? Speechless, Suke said again, "Aren't you going to eat the earth? The earth is my territory now, I want to protect it, so we have to fight. So, then I will let this planet go." Without any hesitation, Devourer of Planets said again, "And your emissary Silver Surfer, he is mine now, whether you want to take him away or eat his planet, we still have to fight. So, then I will let him and his planet go." Galactus replied again without any hesitation. Facing such a straightforward devourer, Suk couldn't think of a reason to attack. He originally thought that as one of the 5 great gods of creation, Galactus should be arrogant and cold, but to his surprise, Galactus was such a good guy to talk to. This is really a bit destructive. You know, he was ready to fight against Galactus before he came? Thinking of this, Suke said again, "Galactus, to be honest, I have been in this world for so long, and I have never met an opponent who is equally matched. Every time I meet an enemy, I am easily solved by me. This is really boring, so do you think we two should have a fight?" "No, I can already feel that you are almost as strong as me, or even stronger than me, so I won't fight with you. And if I fight, I will be hungry and need to devour more life energy, so I don't want to fight." The devourer shook his huge head and looked at Suk. This time, Suke was completely speechless. He didn't even have the urge to fight. It was really speechless to have an opponent who didn't want to fight. As one of the 5 great gods of creation, this guy is really a coward, so cowardly that it makes people feel very painful. Then, suddenly at this moment, Galactus thought of something again, and then said, "But if you really want to find someone to fight, then maybe I can recommend someone for you." "Who is it?" For a moment, Suke became interested again. "He is none other than your clansman Thanos," said the devourer of worlds slowly. "Thanos?" Upon hearing this long-lost name, Suk's expression changed slightly. But then, he pretended to be indifferent and asked, "Then I have to ask you, who do you think is more powerful, me or Thanos?" "I don't know." Galactus shook his head and said, "I have never fought with Thanos, so I don't know how powerful he is, but one of my previous messengers died at the hands of Thanos, and it only took Thanos a moment to kill him. Plus, there is the old woman Death beside Thanos. If I have to say, then I think Thanos is more powerful." Hearing this, Suke really wanted to slap this guy to death. "Damn it, how come you can't even flatter me? How dare you say that Thanos is powerful in front of me?" Although it was a bit speechless, it also provided some information to Suk, that is, Death seemed to have been around Thanos all these years, and Thanos has become more powerful than before. After all, those who can become the messenger of Galactus are similar to the Silver Surfer, and Thanos can kill such a being in an instant, and make Galactus so afraid, which is enough to show that Thanos is more powerful. Suk has already obtained 3 Infinity Stones. Although he has not obtained the remaining ones, it is obvious that Thanos has not obtained them either, so Suk began to wonder if Thanos has obtained a power more powerful than the Infinity Stones. For example, the Heart of the Universe. The Heart of the Universe is the source of all thoughts, space, time, and reality. Anyone who obtains the Heart of the Universe will gain very powerful power. The Heart of the Universe version of Thanos has always been the nightmare of the entire Marvel Universe. After Thanos obtained the Heart of the Universe, his strength reached the level of killing the Living Tribunal in seconds. In the Marvel Universe, the Heart of the Universe version of Thanos once defeated the Living Tribunal. In order to stop Thanos, the Living Tribunal summoned Eternity, Infinity, Death, Galactus, and the Celestials, but was all beaten back. Thanos, who possesses the Heart of the Universe, is so awesome. But then, Suk suddenly shook his head again, because he felt that this matter was a bit too incredible. If Thanos has obtained the Heart of the Universe now, then the entire universe should have been controlled by him. Why is the Earth still fine until now? Maybe Thanos did not get the Heart of the Universe, but other powers? But no matter what, it seems that Suk has to speed up the search for other Infinity Stones. He wants to get all the Infinity Stones before Thanos. Thinking this way, Suke no longer had any interest in dealing with Devourer of Planets. After all, this guy was too cowardly. Unlike Galactus, Suk had no intention of letting Silver Surfer go. After all, this guy was very powerful, and it would be useful to have him as his little brother. Then, Suk also gave Silver Surfer an order, which was to find and monitor Thanos. He needed to get all the information about Thanos. Then, after Galactus and Silver Surfer left, the system's voice sounded again. "Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully repelling the Devourer of Planets. You will be rewarded with 200,000 system points and a chance to draw a lottery." But at this time, Suk had no intention of drawing a lottery. Next, he returned to Earth. At the same time, after seeing the black energy disappear through the space telescope, Nick Fury was relieved, because it was obvious that the Devourer of Planets had left, and the Earth was finally saved. As for the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, they also learned from Mr. Fantastic that Galactus had left Earth, which made them all feel relieved. Returning to Earth again, Suk was a little anxious. The news he got from Galactus made him very uncomfortable. His intuition told him that he and his brother Thanos would soon have a final showdown. Before that, Suk had to get all the Infinity Stones. Thinking of this, Suk's heart suddenly moved. Loki and Thor had promised to find an Infinity Stone for him, the so-called Ether Particle, also known as the Reality Stone, so he didn't need to worry about the Reality Stone. As for the Soul Stone, Suk didn't know where it was for a while. The only thing he knew now was the location of the Power Stone. Then, it's time to go find the Power Gem. With this in mind, without the slightest hesitation, Suk opened another space channel, and at the other end of the space channel was an uninhabited planet. This planet is called Morag, and it is one of the oldest planets in the universe. It once had a highly developed civilization, and the Power Stone had been stored on this planet. Later, for some unknown reason, this planet became an abandoned planet. At the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, when Star-Lord set foot on Morag, he used an instrument to show the former civilization here. The instrument showed that the Morag people were very similar to humans. But it is obvious that the Morag people once studied the Power Stone in depth. Perhaps the power of the Power Stone destroyed the life on this planet inadvertently, and only the Power Stone and the wreckage were left in the end. Suk's only hope at the moment is that the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy has not yet unfolded, so that he can easily get the Power Stone. But it is obvious that things will never go as planned. After walking a few steps, Suke was surrounded by a group of aliens of different shapes. Compared with Suke, these people obviously had more alien characteristics. Some of them were covered with scales, some had a lizard head, and some had only one eye on their faces. In short, they looked very strange. The moment Suke saw these people, he thought to himself, oh no, because it was obvious that this was the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, and these guys in front of him were the team sent by Ronan the Kree to find the Power Stone. Doesn't this mean that Star-Lord is here too? Or does Star-Lord have obtained the Power Stone? Thinking of this, Suke asked directly without waiting for the aliens to speak, hey, did you see an Earthling come here just now? Earthling? Sure enough, this guy is in cahoots with that human. Hearing Suke's words, the black-skinned alien leader suddenly gnashed his teeth. When he thought of what happened before, he felt an irrepressible rage in his heart. This black-skinned alien is called Chorus, a Kree. He came here to find something called the Cosmic Orb. What he didn't expect was that when they first arrived, the cosmic orb was snatched away by a human called Star-Lord. This guy even humiliated them severely before leaving, which was simply unbearable for him. So when he saw Sook, he instantly thought that Sook was Star-Lord's accomplice. After all, Sook did look like an Earthling. Then, all the weapons were suddenly aimed at Sook again. Boy, tell us quickly, where did the Earthling go? He stole something that belongs to us. It is a very important thing. We must get it back. Corlys said, and suddenly waved his hand, and then all the guns were pointed at Sook. Sure enough, he was still a step too late. Star-Lord had already taken away the Power Stone. For a moment, Sook felt a little disappointed. When he looked up at the guys in front of him, Sook just uttered a few words coldly. I'll give you 10 seconds to get out of my sight, or I'll kill you. But when they heard this, Corlys and the others didn't want to leave at all, but laughed. Obviously, they thought Sook was joking. Seeing this, Sook could only shake his head helplessly. Why did he want to die? Then, before these guys could launch an attack, Sook took action first. Without any extra movements, he just waved his hand gently, and the power of time began to manifest, and these guys were suddenly frozen. You shouldn't have offended me. After saying this lightly, Sook suddenly snapped his fingers again. In an instant, except for Corlys, everyone's body suddenly exploded. After Sook stopped time, Corlys's face was already filled with shock. He looked at Sook in surprise and said, What happened just now? Who are you? It's not important. Sook looked at Corlys in front of him with a playful look and said, What's important is what I'm going to ask next. You'd better answer me honestly, otherwise I promise that you will die more miserably than those guys just now. Hearing this, Corlys's face suddenly became extremely tragic again. It was obvious that Sook did have such strength. As the saying goes, a man of insight is a hero. Corlys didn't want to die here, so he could only nod and said, Ask. Very good. Sook nodded first, and then he said, The first question, are you here to find something called the Cosmic Spirit Ball? That's right. Corlys nodded. The second question is, when you came here, had the Cosmic Spirit Ball been stolen? And the one who stole the Cosmic Spirit Ball was a human called Star-Lord. Hearing this, Corlys couldn't help it, and he said angrily, Since you already know all these things, why are you asking me? Sook's eyes turned cold, and he waved his hand gently. Suddenly, one of Corlys' arms was pulled off from his body by a powerful force, and Corlys screamed in pain. Staring at Corlys with a painful face, Sook showed a sinister smile on his face. He looked at Corlys with a painful face and said, It seems that you didn't understand what I said just now. This is just a warning. If it happens again, it won't be your arm that I want. Corlys' face was pale, he covered his wound and nodded fearfully, not daring to say another word. That's right, when we came here just now, the cosmic orb had been taken away by a human. He was wearing a plunderer's outfit and called himself Star-Lord. Our spaceship was also destroyed by him, so we can't leave here for the time being. Corlys said with some pain. Sure enough, the cosmic orb has fallen into the hands of Star-Lord, and the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 has begun. Sook sighed in his heart, and then he became quite disappointed. If he had come a little earlier, he would have already got the Power Stone. In any case, Sook had already obtained the information he wanted, so there was no use for this guy, Corlys. Thinking of this, Sook suddenly snapped his fingers again. Bang! Poor Corlys, before he could react, he exploded. After killing Corlys and his gang, Sook began to think about where to go next. According to the original plot of Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord went to Xandar as soon as he got the Cosmic Orb, and then he met Rocket Raccoon, Groot, and Gamera there, and then he was captured by the Nova Corps and imprisoned in Chien prison. But of course, these guys soon escaped from prison, and then went to the Land of Nowhere to find the collector to sell the stolen goods. Because the timeline was a bit confusing, Sook didn't know where to go for a while. But at this moment, a sound suddenly came from a damaged spaceship not far away. Although the sound was very small, it was still captured by Sook. Report to the commander, we have received news about Star-Lord. He was captured by the Nova Corps on Xandar and is currently being held in Chien prison. What the hell, it really is what you think. With a slight smile, Sook finally had a goal, which was Chien prison. In the Marvel Universe, Chien prison has always been a special prison, because this prison was built in space, and it was specially used to detain prisoners from various planets in the universe. Anyone who could enter here was an unforgivable guy. Soon, a space passage suddenly appeared outside Chien prison, and then Sook walked in. Sook originally planned to go directly into Chien prison, but what surprised him was that there seemed to be some special device inside Chien prison, and he could not get in even with the help of the space stone. Then after thinking about it carefully, Sook suddenly understood. Needless to say, this must be because of the Power Stone. Anyway, since he couldn't go in directly, Sook could only think of another way. The easiest way seems to be to use violence. As a cosmic-level prison, the defenses of Chien prison are definitely among the best, but for Sook, these defenses are like chicken ribs. Having made up his mind, Sook rushed over without hesitation. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire Chien prison suddenly shook, and at the same time, the prisoners inside began to become irritable. Hey, what are you doing? Get down! As the prisoners started to move, the guards also started to move out. In a somewhat quiet room, Star-Lord, Gamera, Groot and Rocket all looked excited. I really didn't expect this. It's really what we thought, just when we were thinking about escaping the prison, someone came to destroy it. Ju said with a smile, looking relaxed. Don't be happy too soon, maybe it was done by the Kree. If they find us, we will all die, Gamera said with a serious face. She was not as relaxed as Star-Lord. In addition to the troubles from the prison, there was another trouble outside who was staring at her all the time. This person was none other than Drax the Destroyer. Since Gamera came to this prison, she has been harassed by other prisoners. After all, she is the daughter of Thanos and has been working for the Kree. In everyone's eyes, she is the one who deserves to die the most. She can easily deal with other prisoners, but Drax the Destroyer is an exception. This is not because Drax has defeated her, but because Drax has never made a move. He just stayed where he could see her and kept sharpening a stick with a knife. But even so, it was enough to make her shudder. As if he had noticed Gamera's gaze, Rocket Raccoon also glanced at Drax, then asked curiously, what? Do you know that guy? The look in that guy's eyes seems to want to eat you. Do you owe him a lot of money? Gamera rolled her eyes at Rocket Raccoon and said coldly, don't forget, I am the daughter of Thanos, and I used to work for Ronan. Anyone who has something to do with them will want to kill me? You'd better not let this guy kill me, otherwise no one will take you to find the buyer of the cosmic orb. After being captured here, Gamera made a deal with Star-Lord and others, that is, she would take Star-Lord and others to find buyers for the cosmic orb, and in return, Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon must take her away from here. Originally, Rocket Raccoon thought that this matter was not too difficult, but when he saw Drax, he suddenly felt that this matter did not seem so simple. I am Groot. Suddenly, Groot seemed to have discovered something, and then pointed at a screen in the prison and shouted. Everyone looked up and was instantly shocked, because at this moment, they clearly saw that outside the prison, a man was dismantling the prison with his bare hands. With each of his attacks, a large piece of iron plate would be torn off. Although the prison's defense function had been activated and various weapons had begun to attack, it seemed to have no effect on this man. Quinn, is this guy also a human? Are there such powerful guys among humans? Rocket Raccoon looked at Star-Lord next to him and asked curiously. Probably not. Star-Lord said hesitantly, although this guy looks like a human, humans don't have such powerful powers. Maybe he is just an alien who looks like a human. Well, anyway, I'm sure he seems to be here for us. Whatever you are going to do, start it quickly, otherwise we will have nothing to lose. Gamera was just about to ask Rocket Raccoon to continue the plan of escaping the prison, but she had just said half of her words when the door of the prison room was suddenly knocked open, and then a tall figure rushed in. It was Drax the Destroyer? Grabbing Gamera's neck, Drax said excitedly and angrily, Ronan's lackey, since you came here, I have been thinking about how to kill you. I thought about drowning you, chopping you to death, and even chopping you into meat sauce, but now, I just want to cut your throat and avenge my dead wife and daughter. After saying this, Drax was ready to cut Gamera's throat with the knife in his hand. With Drax's throat locked tightly, Gamera was also in great pain at this moment, but because the difference in power between the two sides was too great, she had no way to get rid of Drax's control. Hey, damn it, that's our money? Let him go? Then, Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon also reacted. After reacting, Rocket Raccoon immediately jumped on Drax's back and attacked randomly, but it was obvious that his attack was almost useless. Then, Groot also joined the melee. Star-Lord had a headache watching this, thinking, what are you doing? Isn't this the best time to escape from prison? What's the matter with you fighting? Then, without any hesitation, Star-Lord suddenly shouted, hey, wait a minute, I have something to say. As soon as he said this, for some reason, everyone stopped and looked at him curiously. Boy, what do you want to say? If you want to plead for this woman, then don't say it, because I must avenge my wife and daughter. Drax looked at Star-Lord with a very unfriendly look. I didn't kill your wife and daughter, this is all Ronan's fault. Gamera shouted with difficulty. What difference does it make? Drax said angrily, you are Ronan's lackey, all this has something to do with you. No. You may have misunderstood this point, because Gamera has betrayed Ronan. If I am right, Ronan has already started to hunt down Gamera. Besides, Ronan is the real murderer who killed your wife and daughter. If you really want revenge, you should go to Ronan. Star-Lord hurriedly advised. Do you think I don't want to? But now I'm trapped here, how can I go find Ronan? Drax was a little angry. But at this time, Star-Lord smiled slightly, and then said, it's very simple, we are preparing to break out of prison. If you want to join, then come together, and to be honest, Gamera has betrayed Ronan, which means that Ronan will definitely come to find Gamera. As long as you follow Gamera, you will definitely have a chance to kill Ronan. What do you think? You think about it. Although Star-Lord was smiling when he said this, at this moment, his heart was extremely nervous. After a series of thoughts, Drax finally agreed with Star-Lord's suggestion, because compared to Gamera, he obviously wanted to kill Ronan more. His real enemy? So, in this small room, the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy began to discuss their escape plan. At this time, on the other side, Sook finally broke through the defense wall outside the Chien prison and the outer wall of the prison. Stop! You are surrounded, surrender now, or we will not be polite. As soon as he arrived at the corridor of the prison, a large group of prison guards suddenly rushed out from all directions and surrounded Sook. Facing this group of alien prison guards, Suk just felt very funny, but then he said, I came here just to find something. You'd better not stop me, otherwise if I get angry, the consequences will be very serious. When the prison guards heard this, they looked at each other in an instant, but then they pulled the trigger. Then, a scream like ghosts and wolves howling suddenly sounded from the corridor. But soon, everything returned to calm. After everything was completely quiet, a prison guard carefully stuck his head in, but when he saw the scene in front of him, he almost vomited. At this moment, this short corridor was full of all kinds of internal organs, blood dyed the entire corridor red, and corpses with extremely tragic deaths were everywhere. What on earth is going on? The warden of Kien prison gasped when he saw the situation in the corridor through the monitor. You know, since the establishment of the prison, they have never encountered such a thing? Although he knew that the opponent was very strong, in order to avoid being criticized by his superiors, the warden of Kien prison finally issued an order. No matter what, we must stop that man, even if it means death. No one can retreat. After hearing this order, the prison guards in Kien prison were almost desperate. If the other party was just an ordinary person, then there would be no problem at all. But the other party was obviously an extremely powerful being. Killing them was like playing. Why did they want to die? Although there were many complaints in their hearts, facing the instructions of the warden, prison guards continued to intercept Suk. But of course, they were all killed by Suk. Anyway, after a while, Suke finally arrived at the place where the mortals were imprisoned. He casually pulled over an alien who looked like a lizard, and Suke immediately said, a human and a blue-skinned woman came here before. Where are they now? In the Guardians of the Galaxy, Suke didn't care much about other people, but he was more or less interested in Star-Lord and Gamera. First, because the cosmic spirit orb had always been on Star-Lord, and second, because Gamera was the goddaughter of Thanos, Suke thought he might be able to get some information about Thanos from Gamera. Through the video he just watched, the alien already knew that Suke was the one who attacked the Chien prison before, so in the face of Suke's questioning, he immediately pointed in a direction, and then tremblingly said, over there. Throwing away the prisoner in his hand, Suke chased after it again. At the same time, on the other side, Star-Lord and others were fully prepared to escape, and even seized the command room in the middle of the prison, but just as they were about to escape, a man suddenly appeared in front of everyone. This man was none other than Suke. When Gamera saw Suk for the first time, she was shocked, because she had seen Suk's photo in Thanos' place a long time ago. Therefore, she knew that the man in front of her was none other than Thanos' younger brother. The same Titan as Thanos? How could it be him? Gamera muttered, looking shocked. What? Do you know this guy? Rocket Raccoon said, and suddenly picked up the gun in his hand. Do not know, but I know who he is. He is the brother of the Mad Titan Thanos, a man named Suk. Run away? The Cosmic Spirit Stone cannot be obtained by this man? Otherwise, the entire universe will face a catastrophe, Gamera said, and suddenly pulled down a switch on the command desk. Almost instantly, a special energy beam suddenly enveloped the command room where they were, and then, in the blink of an eye, the entire commander suddenly disappeared, as if he was teleported to another place. This made Suk speechless, because this scene was obviously different from the movie. These guys can actually use the command room to teleport. What a shitty thing. Soon, Suk discovered that the power of the space gem could be used in prison again. There was only one result, that is, the cosmic spirit orb was no longer here. This is really a cooked duck flying away. Shaking his head helplessly, Suke could only start to head to the next place, which was also the last place where the Guardians of the Galaxy appeared. The place of no existence? Soon, in the universe, a huge head suddenly appeared in Suke's sight. Although he already knew that the no-existence land was the head of a member of the Celestial God group, Suke was still somewhat surprised when he saw the head again, because the head was really too big. It's just a planet. Compared to him, Dormammu, Galactus and the like are not even worth mentioning. How big should the real Celestials be? Shaking his head, Suk flew into the Celestials' heads. According to his estimation, the Guardians of the Galaxy should not be here yet, so he can just sit back and wait. Anyway, he must get the Power Stone. It is worth mentioning that the guy in charge here is called the Collector, and his strength is completely different from that shown in the comics and the movies. It can almost be said that they are one on top of the other. In the movie, the Collector is just an alien with no ability who likes to collect all kinds of rare items. Anyone can knock him down, but in the comics, the Collector is a well-known elder of the universe, and his ability can even play with all the members of the Avengers. Because of the confusion of the timeline, Suk doesn't know what kind of Collector here will be. But then again, no matter what kind he is, Suk can beat him up and make him call him Grandpa. Head. According to the information he had learned before, since the head of the god was discovered, some people have found that the bone marrow and brain juice in the head of the god seem to have some magical effects, such as strengthening the body. Then, this place was occupied by a force in the universe. They began to mine the head of the god. Because there are no legal constraints here, it has become a place where many thugs gather. In short, this is a paradise for criminals. Because it was the first time to come to this place, Suke didn't know where to find collectors. In addition, he could still use the power of various infinite gems normally, so he was sure that Star-Lord and others had not come here yet. In this case, he was ready to relax a little. Seeing a bar not far away, he pushed the door open and walked in. As soon as he opened the door, a pungent smell penetrated his nostrils. This was the smell of cheap alcohol mixed with rotten smell, which made Suke feel very uncomfortable. Moreover, the guests here all looked ferocious and had strange looks. In the middle of the bar, there was a stage. At this moment, an alien woman with 8 octopus legs was dancing a dance that Suke couldn't understand. The aliens around him kept raising their glasses in excitement, and many of them jumped up on the spot. There was even a small arena on the other side. A group of monsters that looked like lizards were fighting in the arena. Just a few seconds after Suke looked over, he saw a big lizard swallowing a small lizard. As the aliens watching this scene cheered wildly, the whole bar was in great chaos. It must be said that this place was pretty much the same as he imagined. Walking to the bar, Suke immediately said to the blue alien maid at the bar, a glass of water. Thank you. Water? Sir, this is a bar. Are you sure you only want a glass of water? The blue alien maid asked in surprise. Suke turned his head and saw an alien next to him drinking something similar to beer, but there were grey bugs in what he was drinking. Turning back, Suke smiled and said, just a glass of water. I can't get used to the wine you have here. Okay, wait a moment. The maid said, and then turned around and went back to work. Bang. But at this moment, there was a sudden sound of kicking at the door, and then a group of guys with even stranger looks suddenly walked in. As these people walked in, Suke obviously noticed that the atmosphere in the whole bar suddenly became a little depressing. Looking back, Suke was a little surprised, because he actually knew the blue guy in the lead. This person was none other than Yondu. The plunderer Yondu? And behind Yondu was a large group of plunderers? For a moment, Suke suddenly thought of the plot about Guardians of the Galaxy. In the original plot, Star-Lord was supposed to help Yondu, and even the cosmic orb was a mission that Yondu received from other places, but Star-Lord knew about this mission in advance. So, in order to completely get rid of Yondu, Star-Lord found the cosmic orb alone and prepared to sell it for a good price. Unexpectedly, by accident, he met Gamera, Groot, Rocket Raccoon, and Drax, and formed the Guardians of the Galaxy. But it is obvious that Yondu will not let Star-Lord go so easily, but he actually found the Land of Nowhere directly, which is a bit different from the previous plot. Thinking of this, Suke suddenly shook his head again, because this matter didn't matter to him. It was just a Yondu, and it wouldn't cause any trouble to him. At most, he could just kill him. Although Suke doesn't care about Yondu and the plunderers, others certainly don't think so. After all, the plunderers don't have a very good reputation in the universe. Carefully handing the water in her hand to Suke, the maid forced a smile, and then said to Yondu and others who came to the bar, hello, gentlemen, what do you need? Boss, look, this guy seems to be an earthling as well. Just as Yondu was about to say something, a younger brother next to him suddenly tugged at his sleeve, and then pointed at Suke who was sitting next to him. For a moment, Yondu's eyes lit up, and then he walked towards Suke with a wretched look on his face. When the others saw this, they immediately worried for Suke, because in their opinion, Suke was bound to be in big trouble. After all, the predators were a group of extremely warlike guys. Sitting down next to Suke, Yondu said with a playful look on his face, hey, what day is today? It's really interesting to see an earthling here. Maid, give me 2 glasses of the best wine. I want to treat this friend from Earth to a few drinks. Yondu has always been worried about Star-Lord, so he kept a trick up his sleeve and placed a tracking device on Star-Lord's spaceship. When he learned that Star-Lord was imprisoned, Yondu thought that Star-Lord was doomed, but what he didn't expect was that Star-Lord actually escaped from prison. Then, based on the trajectory of Star-Lord's spaceship, Yondu concluded that Star-Lord would definitely come to the land of no existence, so he took the lead and rushed here with his little brothers to ambush Star-Lord. But what he didn't expect was that he actually found Suke in such an inconspicuous bar, which made him have an idea, that is, whether there is any connection between Suke and Star-Lord. However, facing Yondu's enthusiasm, Suke just smiled slightly, and then slowly said, I'm sorry, you recognized the wrong person. Although I am from the Earth, I am not an Earthling. Now please move away, otherwise I might kill you. Huh? When Yondu heard this, his face froze instantly. At the same time, the expressions on the faces of the other plunderers also became a little unhappy. Ha 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 ha. Then, just when everyone thought that Suke would be killed by Yondu, Yondu suddenly burst into laughter. Not bad, I like this guy. So brave. Yondu laughed, not caring at all about what Suke said before. Then at this moment, the maid brought 2 glasses of wine to Yondu and Suke. Come on, boy, I'll treat you to a drink. Yondu waved his hand and said generously. Suke smiled and said, sorry, I don't like drinking, just water. As soon as these words came out, Yondu's face finally became a little ugly. Boy, you are not giving me face. Yondu said unhappily. After taking another sip of the water in the cup, Suke looked at Yondu with a wicked smile and said, then tell me, which is more important, face or life? After being looked at by Suke like this, Yondu suddenly sensed an extremely powerful aura. His intuition told him that the boy in front of him really did not seem to be from Earth, because he was so different from Star-Lord. Boy, who are you? When Yondu asked this question again, his face suddenly became serious. But at this time, Suke was too lazy to care about Yondu and his brothers. I'll give you one last chance, get out, or I'll kill you. Suke said coldly. He really didn't like being disturbed. As soon as he said this, all the plunderers took out their weapons, and then stared at Suke fiercely. Other people in the bar couldn't help but sweat for Suke. The waitress in the bar had already been scared and lay under the table. The atmosphere suddenly became a little tense. The Kree are coming. They are Ronan's army. Suddenly, at this moment, there was a panicked shout from outside, followed by a neat sound of footsteps, and then the door was kicked open again. A Kree army of about 30 people appeared in front of everyone. Seeing this, Yondu cursed inwardly. Damn it, why are these guys here? As the most warlike race in the universe, the Kree have always been everyone's nightmare. Even the Earth was invaded by the Kree a long time ago, but at that time they just wanted to use humans for experiments, so they did not occupy the Earth, and the Inhumans are the product of the Kree on Earth. Even as a predator, Yondu will not provoke the Kree easily, because the leader of the Kree, Ronan, is simply a complete lunatic. No one likes to provoke a lunatic, and Yondu is no exception. Be careful later. No matter what these Kree people want to do, just be patient and it will pass. Don't cause trouble for me. The Kree people are not easy to mess with. Yondu whispered to the younger brothers behind him, then waved his hand to disperse them, letting them find a place to sit down. He still sat next to Suk. However, it seemed that these Kree people did not come to cause trouble. They just took out a picture and handed it to everyone in the bar, and then asked in a very tough tone, do you know this person? After getting countless negative answers, the picture was finally handed to Suk and Yondu. With just one glance, Suk and Yondu recognized that the person on it was none other than Star-Lord. Do you know him? The voice of the Kree sounded behind the two of them. Yondu was a little surprised at first, wondering why the Kree would target Star-Lord, but the next second, he shook his head and said, I don't know him. Although Star-Lord had betrayed him before, this guy was also a member of the Predators, so Yondu didn't want to betray him. However, just when Yondu was feeling relieved, Suk's voice sounded. Know him? What? When hearing this, not only were the Kree people surprised, even Yondu almost jumped up. Brother, what are you doing? Do you think that if you help the Kree people, they will be grateful to you? That's nonsense. It's good enough if these guys don't beat you to death. Then, a man who looked like a Kree officer suddenly came to Suk, and asked with a cold face, do you know this guy? That's right. Suk nodded and said nonchalantly, this guy is called Star-Lord, and he has something I need. So where did you see him last? Will he come here? The Kree officer asked again, his tone a little hurried. Before, Chorus was ordered to find the cosmic spirit sphere, but he was fooled by a guy called Star-Lord. This guy even destroyed Chorus's spaceship, but fortunately Chorus sent back the specific coordinates and Star-Lord's appearance in time, so they began to rescue Chorus while looking for Star-Lord. The result was surprising. When they found Chorus, they found that Chorus and others had turned into a pool of meat paste, and Star-Lord didn't know where he was. The Kree believed that Star-Lord killed Chorus, and the cosmic spirit sphere was also in Star-Lord's hands, so Star-Lord instantly became the primary target of the Kree's wanted. There was a wanted order for Star-Lord on almost every planet, and this Kree officer was mainly responsible for this. But what surprised him a little was that he didn't expect to get the news of Star-Lord as soon as he arrived. This was really a painstaking effort. If he could catch Star-Lord and hand him over to Ronan, then he would definitely be favored by Ronan, and then he would become a hero of the entire Kree Empire. But then, Suke's words made him furious. Oh, you mean that guy? I forgot, but I'm looking for him now. If you have any news about him, you'd better tell me as soon as possible. Maybe I'll spare your lives when I'm in a good mood. Suke said seriously, not paying any attention to Yondu's extremely surprised look. The reason why Suk said so much to these Kree people was because in his eyes, these Kree people were already dead. Even if the dead knew more, it would be useless. Since the Kree people came here, it means that they suspected that Star-Lord would appear here, but it is obvious that Suk did not want this news to leak out, so the Kree must die. However, when hearing this, the others present were extremely shocked. Even Yondu, who was standing next to him, was surprised. Obviously, he didn't expect Suk to dare to talk to the Kree like this. At the same time, the faces of the Kree people also darkened in an instant. Seeing this, Yondu shook his head helplessly, and then sighed in his heart, boy, you are the one who insisted on dying, don't blame me for not being able to save you. Looking at your appearance, you seem to be the same as this guy called Star-Lord, both of you are from Earth, right? Boy, don't challenge our patience, because we have no patience. Do you know what it means to offend the Kree? I'll ask you one last time, do you know where Star-Lord is? When saying this, the Kree leader's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of murderous intent. If Suk really told him the news about Star-Lord, then Suk would be of no use to him. As a punishment for offending them before, he would kill Suk without mercy, and if Suk really didn't know the news about Star-Lord, then he would still kill Suk. Because Suk not only teased them, but also insulted them, which was something they absolutely could not accept. Sensing the murderous intent flashing in the eyes of the Kree, Suk drank the water in the cup in one gulp, and then stood up and said to the confident and stupid Kree leader in front of him, do you know? In fact, I have always hated the Kree. After saying this, Suk didn't hesitate at all. He suddenly stretched out his hand and pierced through the chest of the Kree leader. When he pulled out his hand again, a blue heart suddenly appeared in Suke's hand. Damn it! Kill him! For a moment, the other Kree soldiers were horrified, and then dozens of pulse energy guns suddenly pointed at Suk. Boom! With a loud bang, a beam of energy suddenly hit Suk, but it did not move Suk at all, nor did it cause any harm to him. Throwing away the blue heart in his hand, Suk said with an evil smile, like I said just now, all the Kree people must die. Then, Suk suddenly rushed in front of the 2 Kree people and tore off their heads. Suddenly, the whole bar was in complete chaos. Boom, 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 kill him, kill him. Damn it, who on earth is this guy? Our weapons are ineffective against him. Don't use energy weapons. This guy can absorb energy. Ah, don't kill me, please, spare me. Less than a minute later, the entire bar suddenly returned to calm. The floor, which was originally stained with oil and dirt, was now completely covered with blue blood. Countless blue limbs and arms were hanging everywhere in the bar, and blue internal organs were everywhere. The air was filled with a bloody and pungent smell. Although Suk did not harm anyone other than the 30 Krees, and they were not injured, at this moment, the bar was dead silent. No one dared to speak or make any other moves. They just kept their original posture and stared at Suke, who was slowly walking towards the bar. At this moment, no one dared to underestimate Suke. In their eyes, Suk is simply a devil. No, it's something scarier than the devil. Pulling off an alien's hat and wiping the blue blood off his hands, Suk said to the frightened maid at the bar, another glass of water, thank you. After saying this, he sat down again. However, at this moment, Yondu, who was sitting next to Suk, was almost scared to death. He originally thought that Suk, like Star-Lord, was an Earthling, but judging from the power that Suk had used to kill the Kree, he was not an Earthling at all. Not only was he not an Earthling, he was also a being with superpowers. Damn it, this really hit a wall. At this moment, Yondu has already forgotten about Star-Lord. The only thing on his mind now is how to leave here safely. Then, at this moment, Suk suddenly seemed to think of something, and then looked at Yondu beside him, but before he could say anything, Yondu suddenly stood aside, then knelt on the ground, looked at Suk with horror and said, brother, don't get me wrong, although I am also blue, but I am not a Kree. I am from the Centaur planet and have nothing to do with the Kree. Obviously, Yondu was worried that Suk would mistake him for a Kree. If this was true, then it would be a bit of a scam. Seeing Yondu like this, Suk lost interest in him for a moment, and then he said, get out of here with all your people. If I see you here again, you will end up like the Kree just now. Got it? Don't worry, we promise to leave here right away. After hearing this, without any hesitation, the other plunderers suddenly stood up and bowed to Suk politely. Get lost. Suke said slowly as he picked up the water handed to him by the maid. In an instant, accompanied by a noisy sound of footsteps, all the plunderers, including Yondu, completely disappeared from the bar. Snap snap. As soon as Yondu left, a clapping sound suddenly rang out, and then a white-haired man with a strange look suddenly appeared at the door. I never expected this. I actually met a Titan here. It's my honor, the man said, and a meaningful smile suddenly appeared on his lips. Suke smiled slightly. The real master finally came? At this moment, the person who appeared at the door was none other than the person Suk was looking for, the real owner of the land of no existence, the Collector. The Collector's real name is Tanliatuan, and he is one of the elders of the universe. He looks like an ancient human, but he is actually an alien with powerful power, and has the ability to live forever, travel through time and space, and foresee the future. The reason why he is called the Collector is that he likes to collect interesting artifacts and life forms from all over the universe. In the end, his obsession with collecting reached a certain level, and he began to collect things he thought were rare or precious for the sake of pure collection. The power of prophecy made him foresee a powerful enough threat to the elders of the universe, Thanos. In order to protect all life forms in the universe, the Collector created a museum with all species in the universe to prevent Thanos from destroying the universe. With just one glance, Suk knew that the Collector in front of him was not the weak chicken in the movie, but the strong man in the comics. But of course, with Suk's current power, the Collector is not enough to threaten him, so facing the Collector, Suk did not show any special emotions, but just glanced at him lightly. Facing Suk's indifferent expression, the Collector was not angry, and still said with a smile, Great Titan, I wonder if you are interested in coming to my place to sit for a while. As an old monster who has lived for tens of thousands of years, the Collector is naturally a very discerning person. Since Suk came here, it is obvious that he must have come here for himself. The Collector understood this just by thinking about it. And you have to know that Suk is a Titan. Although I don't know why there is another Titan alive in this world besides Thanos, there is no doubt that Titans are all crazy, and the Collector does not want to offend such a madman. This can be seen from Suk's attitude towards the Kree army before. Suke did not refuse the Collector's invitation, because according to the following plot, the Guardians of the Galaxy will come to the Collector as soon as they arrive at the Land of Nowhere, and he just needs to make sure that the Collector is by his side. After nodding slightly, Suke followed the Collector out of the bar. After Suk left, everyone in the bar breathed a sigh of relief. Then, everyone fled, including the barmaid. 30 Kree soldiers died here. This kind of thing cannot be concealed no matter what. When the Kree come again, they will definitely destroy everything here. Although this matter has nothing to do with them, the Kree have never been a reasonable race. Following the Collector, Suk soon came to the door of a room that looked somewhat ordinary. After entering, the scenery inside was suddenly completely different from the outside. This was a room that looked very high-tech, with special glass cabinets placed everywhere. The cabinets either contained things that Suk had never seen before, or some alien species with different looks, and even quite a few aliens. The name of the collector was indeed well deserved. Inviting Suk to sit on the sofa beside him, the collector introduced with a smile, Great Titan, my name is Tan Liatuan, and others call me the collector. Although you are a Titan, you should also have a name, right? Can you tell me your name? When introducing himself, the collector said politely, Suke. Suke said his name without any further ado. Excuse me for asking, do you have any special relationship with the mad Titan Thanos? Regarding Titan, everyone knows that Thanos killed all his people, but why are you still alive? The collector asked curiously. The collector is an elder of the universe. Since he can recognize his identity at a glance, it is obvious that he knows that the relationship between him and Thanos is only a matter of time. Thinking of this, Suke did not hide it. Thanos is my brother. As for other things, I don't want to talk about them, and you'd better not ask. Suke said calmly. Well, although Suke did not say anything more, this news was enough to explain everything to the collector. I have to say that the collector was somewhat surprised. After all, who would have thought that the mad Titan Thanos could actually be a person with emotions? After the small talk, the collector got down to business. Mr. Suk, the land of nothingness has always been an insignificant place. Logically, such a place should not be enough to attract your attention, but you still came here, so I want to ask, what is your purpose in coming here? Of course, as long as I can help you, just ask. The collector vowed. Although the land of nothingness has always been a place where no one has prospered, not everyone is welcome here, and Suk is one of those people who is very unwelcome. The reason is simple, just because this guy is a Titan with powerful strength. Titans are all crazy, and the collector doesn't like dealing with crazy people. But then again, he doesn't like to offend a madman even more. The collector came straight to the point, so Suke was not polite. He smiled slightly and said, my purpose of coming here is very simple, just to get something. If I'm not mistaken, that thing should be on the way here now. What is it? The collector was immediately interested when he heard this. The Cosmic Spirit Ball, or more precisely, the Power Gem. Suke said with a smile, and at the same time looked at the collector's face. When he heard this, the collector's face suddenly became a little ugly. It was obvious that he had known that the thing in the Cosmic Spirit Ball was the Power Gem. And all of this was seen by Suke. Not long ago, Gamera came to the collector and asked him about the Tesseract. Although the collector knew that the Tesseract was the Power Stone, he did not tell Gamera. He only warned Gamera that the Tesseract was a very dangerous thing and must not be obtained by Thanos. Moreover, the Tesseract was only safe if it was kept with him. Obviously, the collector wanted to use Gamera to get the Power Stone. Everything was fine at first, but who could have thought of the result? A Titan suddenly appeared on the way, which caused some trouble. As a cosmic collector, the collector is naturally very interested in the cosmic power of the Power Stone. But then again, if you lose your life for a Power Stone, then this matter is a bit pitfall. In this universe, nothing is immortal. The so-called immortality is just because there is no existence that can kill him. The collector deeply understands this truth. After weighing the pros and cons, the collector forced a smile and said, Mr. Suke, as you wish, no matter what you want to do, I will do my best to cooperate with you. Very good. This guy is really tactful, which saves a lot of trouble. With a slight smile, Suke nodded. At the same time, in the endless starry sky, Thanos' domain. Thanos, all this is caused by your daughter? She betrayed you and me. It's not my fault. You must take this matter seriously. Ronan roared angrily on a desolate and abandoned planet. Not far in front of him, a huge throne was floating. On the throne, a tall figure was sitting. It was the existence that frightened the entire universe. Med Titan Thanos. Looking at Ronan, who was roaring with anger in front of him, Thanos didn't have any expression on his face, but looked at Ronan with some disdain. After a moment, he said coldly, Ronan, do you think you are worthy of my serious attention? In my opinion, you are like an immature child. We have a deal. You bring me the cosmic orb, and I will destroy Xandar for you. What I need is that you bring the cosmic orb, not complaints. If you come to see me empty-handed again next time, then I promise that I will let your blood dye the entire starry sky red, and then, I will destroy the entire Kree Empire. After saying this, a strong killing force suddenly surged out from Thanos, and then rushed directly towards Ronan. The powerful pressure made Ronan almost unable to breathe, and he lowered his proud head in an instant. Please forgive my previous offense, I promise, this kind of thing will never happen again. Ronan said with his head down, but there was a look of reluctance and anger in his eyes. Father, please let me go this time? I promise, I won't fail like Gamera. Then, at this moment, a half-mechanical, half-biological woman suddenly came out. It was Thanos' other daughter, Nebula. Go, Nebula, my daughter, help Ronan find the cosmic orb and bring it to me. Also bring Gamera to me. I must let Gamera know that betrayal is something I absolutely cannot tolerate. Thanos said slowly. Yes, my father. With a slight smile, Nebula came to Ronan. Ronan returned to his warship with a livid face and suddenly received a report from his subordinates. My lord, the group of Kree soldiers we sent to the land of nowhere to search for the cosmic orb have suddenly lost all contact with us. We initially estimated that they might have been killed. What should we do now? Ronan had just suffered a great loss at the hands of Thanos. When he heard this, he was instantly furious and said, the land of nowhere. Damn it, who dares to offend us now? Set the target at the land of nowhere. I want to fill that place with my anger. As you command. With a reply, Ronan's warship began to fly towards the land of nowhere. At the same time, in the universe, Gamera, are you sure it's okay for us to go like this? Although I haven't been to the land of nothingness, I have heard of that place to some extent. It is said that it is an extremely chaotic place. Wouldn't it be a bit unsafe for us to go there with the cosmic orb like this? Star-Lord asked Gamera while leaning on the seat of the spaceship and playing with the cosmic orb. Gamera first rolled her eyes at Star-Lord, then snatched the cosmic orb from his hand and said unhappily, the land of nothingness is indeed a chaotic place, but the collector who lives there is a powerful and wealthy man. Believe me, as long as you go there, you will get everything you want. All I want is to kill Ronan. Hearing this, Drax suddenly stopped sharpening the knife in his hand, and murmured, Tisk, all we want is money, understand? As long as I get the money, I won't have to be with you guys anymore. Rocket Raccoon said disdainfully. You are all right, but don't forget that in addition to Thanos and Ronan, there is another guy who has been watching us. He is the man who destroyed the prison before. To be honest, I think this man is much more dangerous than Thanos and Ronan. If this guy finds us, what should we do? Star-Lord spoke again. As soon as he said this, everyone fell silent, because it was obvious that they had no power to fight back against Sook before. Gamera was also very confused about the appearance of Sook, because she had never heard Thanos mention his brother since she was a child. The memory of Sook was obtained from a photo she saw a long time ago. She didn't understand why Thanos would only let his brother go after destroying his planet and even slaughtering all his people. Was it because Thanos still had feelings for his brother? No, that can't be the case. A cold-blooded monster like that can't have emotions. Shaking her head, Gamera was confused again. Not long after, Star-Lord and the others finally arrived at the place of no existence. When they saw the huge head of the god through the window, everyone was completely stunned. Oh my god, isn't this head too big? It's almost as big as a planet. How big must this guy be when he was alive? Star-Lord couldn't help but sigh. Gamera looked at Star-Lord with disdain, and said this is the head of the Celestials. The bodies of the Celestials have always been huge. They are the real gods in this world. If these guys are as powerful as you say, then why did this guy die? Drax asked curiously. I don't know about this. First she shook her head, then Gamera suddenly seemed to think of something, and then she said, remember later, don't cause any trouble. We can just go directly to the collector, and don't worry about anything else. No problem. Rocket Raccoon raised his weapon and said, as long as you have money, I'll do whatever you say. Soon, the spacecraft landed in the place where there was no existence. A moment later, at the collector's home. Master, someone is looking for you outside. A blue-skinned maid walked up to the collector and said cautiously. The collector waved his hand impatiently and said, no, don't you see I have an important guest. The so-called important guest, without a doubt, is Sook. Because he realized that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be here soon, Sook was not in a hurry to leave, but rested at the collector's place. Because of Sook's presence, the collector was in no mood to see other people at the moment, but they said they had made an appointment with you long before. One of the women told me that her name is Gamera. The maid did not leave in a hurry, but whispered, Gamera? Upon hearing this, the collector's eyes lit up instantly, and at the same time, Sook finally laughed. What was coming finally came. The Guardians of the Galaxy finally delivered the Cosmic Spirit Orb, also known as the Power Stone, to the door. Mr. Sook, look at this. The collector looked at Sook and asked in a questioning tone. Sook waved his hand and said, don't worry about me. Just do what you need to do. I will come out when the time is right, but don't tell them I'm here, or it will be no fun if they are scared away. Okay, everything will be as you order. With a slight smile, the collector followed the maid out. Soon, in the collector's front hall, the Guardians of the Galaxy finally appeared here. Sook did not rush to show up, but opened a space channel to the second floor, then pulled a stool and sat down, quietly looking at the Guardians of the Galaxy below. This is my master, the most famous collector in the universe. When seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy, the maid introduced them to them. However, as a group of funny heroes, the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy were not very interested in this introduction. Rocket Raccoon stepped on Groot's head and looked at the collector and said, hey, are you the one who buys the cosmic orb at a high price? Under normal circumstances, if someone dared to talk to him in this tone, the collector would have chased them away long ago, but when he thought about the fact that these guys were carrying the Power Stone and Sook was also here, he finally endured it. That's right, but before you pay, you have to let me check the goods first. The collector said, and then waved to Star-Lord and others. Soon, Gamera took out the cosmic orb from her pocket and handed it to the collector. Collector, you told me before that when I got this thing, you would tell me what it is. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise. When handing it over, Gamera said seriously, of course. With a slight smile, the collector took the cosmic spirit ball and placed it on a special machine. Soon, the machine started to run quickly, and the cosmic spirit ball was suddenly peeled open like a box. Taking advantage of this time, the collector began to tell the story of the Infinity Stones. As he told the story, a wonderful scene suddenly appeared in front of everyone. It was the origin of the Infinity Stones. Before the creation of the universe, there were 6 singularities in the void, and then the Big Bang created everything. The explosions from these 6 singularities were collected and condensed into 6 gems, called Infinity Gems. These gems are absolutely incapable of being controlled by ordinary people, and cannot even be touched directly. Only people with extraordinary abilities can control them. Please look, the collector said, and suddenly pointed to the picture in the air. Then, the picture flashed and a giant covered in armor with a magic staff in his hand suddenly appeared on a planet full of life. These gem carriers can use the power of gems to instantly destroy any civilization and life, just like mowing the grass. At this point, in the picture, endless lives began to be destroyed, and the entire planet began to break apart. At this time, Star-Lord was completely stunned. He said to himself, well, you're almost scaring me to death. Then, at this moment, the cosmic spirit ball was finally opened, and a purple gem emitting a strange light suddenly appeared in front of everyone. How about it, isn't it beautiful? Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce to you the Power Stone, one of the Infinity Stones. The collector said with a gleam in his eyes. On the other side, Suke, who was watching all this upstairs, suddenly laughed. Finally, it was time for him to take action. It's really beautiful. Then, before everyone could react, a space channel suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Then, Suke walked out and picked up the power gem. In an instant, a powerful force burst out from Suke, and then formed a powerful energy wave that spread out. Boom! Except for the collector who squatted down in time, the others didn't have time to react and were blown away. Suke already has 3 Infinity Stones, but without any of them, he can feel such a powerful and primitive power. This power even surpasses the power of millions of stars of the Sentinel. It makes him a completely different person. Ding! Congratulations to the host for getting the Power Stone. Reward, 200,000 system points and a chance to draw a lottery. Then, the system's voice rang again, but at this moment, Suke was too lazy to pay attention to the system. Standing up again, the collector introduced Star-Lord and others who were knocked unconscious from the fall. Everyone, once again, I solemnly introduce to you, this is a Titan, the one who can truly master the Infinity Stones. Dyphon, how dare you lie to me? The Infinity Stones must not fall into the hands of the Titans. The Titans are all crazy and they will destroy everything in this world. Don't you know that? After finally getting up, Gamera looked at the collector with an angry face and shouted. However, the collector smiled slightly and said, my dear, don't worry, I always know what I am doing. Believe me, this is the best choice. The reason why the collector gave the Power Stone to Suk was not just because he was afraid of Suk's power, but when the collector saw Suk, he had already seen the future of the entire universe. In the future, he saw that Thanos would destroy the entire universe, and the only one who could stop him was another Titan, Suk. As an elder of the universe, although the collector likes to collect all kinds of things, for him, maintaining the peace of the universe is always the first priority, so in his opinion, giving the Power Stone to Suk is the best choice. And if he guessed correctly, Suk has at least got 2 Infinity Stones so far. Even if he doesn't hand them over, Suk can easily dodge the Power Stone. In this case, why should he do this? Then, Suke suddenly opened his eyes slowly, and Star-Lord and the others all stood up, and then stared at Suke with a vigilant look. Seeing this, Suke smiled and said, hey, don't be so nervous. I'm not your enemy. Everything I do is just to get this Power Stone. Humph? Gamera snorted coldly and said, do you think I will believe you? You are Thanos' brother. It must be Thanos who asked you to take the Power Stone. I warn you, you'd better hand over the Power Stone, otherwise I won't be polite. Staring at the angry Gamera, Suke suddenly smiled playfully, and then slowly said, if I tell you that the reason I collected the Infinity Stones is just to kill my brother Thanos, then would you believe it? Varied? What? When Gamera heard this, she was shocked. It was obvious that Suk's words were too shocking for her. It's up to you to believe it or not. Suke smiled casually and said, anyway, this can't change anything. The power gem is already mine. Even if all of you are combined, I can kill you in an instant. I hope you can understand this. Although Suke said these words with a smile, everyone could hear a murderous intent in his tone. Including Gamera, no one thought Suk was joking, because they had already witnessed Suk's extremely powerful strength in Xi'an prison, and that was before Suk got the Power Stone. As for the power that Suke now possesses, they can no longer imagine it. As if he noticed the awkward atmosphere, Star-Lord laughed dryly twice, then said to Suke, don't be like this, actually if you think about it carefully, you and Gamera are relatives. After all, Gamera is also the daughter of Thanos. Since you are relatives, there is no need to be so nervous, right? Gamera was furious when she heard this. He is my adoptive father. I have said it many times, Thanos is just my adoptive father. A foster father is also a father. So you are still related. According to seniority, Suk should be considered your uncle. Star-Lord looked at Gamera and said, it seems that what he said is right. You should really call him uncle. Drax was a bit careless and didn't notice the current atmosphere at all. He just agreed casually. However, when Gamera heard these words, her head almost exploded. Compared to Star-Lord and the others, Rocket was extremely depressed at the moment. The reason was simple, he felt that this trip was in vain. He originally thought that he could earn 4 billion, but who knew that he didn't earn anything. This was definitely a big stain in his life. So, have we worked in vain this time? It's okay for you to take the Power Stone, but you should at least give us some compensation, right? Rocket said with a look of unwillingness. Seeing this, Suke was somewhat speechless. Although he knew that Rocket Raccoon was a money grubber, he never thought that this guy would be so money grubber that he would have to ask for money from him. Then, before he could say anything, there was a sudden shouting outside. Oh no, it's a Kree warship. Ronan the accuser, the madman is here. And he has brought his army with him. Gamera, Star-Lord, who the hell knows these two guys? Damn it, Ronan came here just to find these two guys. Listening to the noise coming from outside, everyone's face turned black. Ronan actually brought his fleet here to look for them. What the hell is this? They don't think they can fight against Ronan's army with just a few people. This is simply courting death. And they don't want to die yet. Among all the people, only Drax showed excitement when he heard these words, because he had always wanted to kill Ronan and avenge his wife and daughter. In his opinion, now seemed to be the best opportunity. As if she had seen what Drax was thinking, Gamera shouted, Drax, don't be impulsive. Ronan is not that easy to deal with. Moreover, he brought his entire fleet with him this time. You will only die if you go there. So what? Drax said firmly, even if I die, I can be reunited with my family. Asshole, go die if you want to. I'm not going to fight with that lunatic. Rocket said angrily. Star-Lord had a headache. It was obvious that he didn't expect Ronan to find him so quickly, and he came with his fleet. Under the current circumstances, if a fight really broke out, they would be blown to pieces by Ronan's fleet in a moment. With a flash of his eyes, Star-Lord suddenly looked at Suke, and at that moment, he came up with an idea. Mr. Sook, although Ronan came for Gamera and me, his real purpose was not to find us, but to find the cosmic orb on us, which is the power stone you got before. But now that you have got the power stone, it means that Ronan is actually coming for you. So do you think you have to take action on this matter? Star-Lord looked at Sook and said nervously. Sook found it funny, and then said, don't worry, I won't take your things for nothing. Ronan's matter can be regarded as a reward for the power stone. I will kill them. After hearing this, Star-Lord and others breathed a sigh of relief, because as long as Sook agreed to help, they should not be in any danger. Then, a space channel opened, and Sook suddenly disappeared in front of everyone. I say, are you so sure that this kid can defeat Ronan and his fleet? You know, that's an entire fleet. Rocket said with some worry. When the Collector heard this, he smiled and said, don't worry, as a Mad Titan, he has power that is not inferior to Thanos. This kind of thing is just a piece of cake. What I am most worried about right now is that the battle between them will destroy this place. I have to do some reinforcement work. As for you, as a reward, I allow you to stay here until the war outside is over. The Land of Nowhere and everything here are the Collector's hard work for thousands of years. He doesn't want his hard work to be destroyed in this battle, but fortunately, the Land of Nowhere still has an independent defense device. As long as this defense device is turned on, his hard work will be fine. Then, the Collector left. But when he heard these words, Drax felt unprecedented humiliation. He waved the two knives in his hands and shouted, no, I am Drax the Destroyer, I am not a coward. I will not stay here and wait for the end of the war. I will kill Ronan and avenge my wife and daughter. I will not hesitate even if it means death. After saying this, Drax rushed out regardless of everything. Gamera's face was complicated at first, and then suddenly she was relieved. She looked at Star-Lord helplessly and smiled. Maybe I helped Ronan and Thanos do a lot of bad things before, but I never think of myself as a bad person, and some things cannot be avoided. This is my war. Then, Gamera also chased after him. Damn it, are these two guys stupid? We are facing Ronan and his entire fleet now? Are they going to die? Rocket was going crazy. At the same time, Star-Lord suddenly looked at him. Rocket, it's nice to meet you, and I'm sorry that you didn't get your bounty. I'll give you my spaceship as a bounty. I hope you can treat it well. If we can survive in the end, I hope we will have a chance to meet again in the future. After saying this, Star-Lord also rushed out. Damn it, what on earth are these guys doing? Is it so fun to die? Never mind. I am only with you because of the money. Who cares if you live or die? If you want to die, go ahead and die, I don't care. Groot, let's go. After saying this almost in a roar, Rocket was dejected and wanted to leave. But at this moment, a branch of Groot stopped Rocket. I'm Groot. No, they are not family, they are not partners, they are just, only. At the end of the conversation, Rocket suddenly couldn't continue. Damn it, if I don't die this time, I will definitely teach those guys a lesson. Rocket shouted angrily, then he jumped onto Groot's back, and then they both walked out. In this way, all the Guardians of the Galaxy left here, gathered together, and launched an attack on the Kree in the air on a spaceship. At this time, Suke, who had been observing all this from outside, laughed. Sure enough, he was not mistaken. These guys were indeed a group of heroes. At the same time, a Kree warship suddenly landed on the ground, and then a group of Kree soldiers came out to protect a Kree man holding a long-handled warhammer. This man was none other than Ronan the Accuser, and next to him was Nebula. Ronan came here just to deal with the matter of the 30 Kree people being killed earlier, but what surprised him was that just now, his subordinates actually reported to him that they had seen Star-Lord and Gamera here. In addition to being surprised, Ronan was also happy in his heart, because for a moment, he had already thought of Star-Lord and Gamera. Why did Ronan and Gamera come here? There is no doubt that they are definitely here to find the Collector to sell the cosmic orb. While issuing the order to kill Star-Lord and others, Ronan walked towards the place where the Collector lived. The cosmic orb was an important thing in his deal with Thanos, and he had to get it no matter what. As for the fact that 30 Kree were killed before, who would care? The cosmic orb is the most important? Then, as if she noticed that Gamera was fighting with the Kree spaceship in the air, Nebula said to Ronan, "Ronan, I'm going to catch Gamera. You should handle the things here by yourself." After saying this, Nebula left without waiting for Ronan's consent. Seeing this, Ronan was immediately furious, because it was obvious that Nebula did not respect him at all. Just like her father Thanos, she looked down on him. "Damn you! Sooner or later, I will let you know how powerful I am." Roaring angrily, Ronan continued to move forward. But at this moment, he suddenly stopped, and then looked at a figure in front of him with a look of astonishment. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him, and in the hand of that figure, was the cosmic spirit ball. That is what he has been looking for. That's right, the one who appeared in front of Ronan at this moment was Sook. Originally, Sook could have destroyed Ronan and his fleet in an instant, but considering that if he really did so, it would definitely affect the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy, so he finally chose to wait for a while, until the Guardians of the Galaxy really realized that they were actually heroes and took the initiative to attack Ronan's warships. He made a brilliant appearance. Although his appearance is a bit bland at the moment, he will surely rock the place in a moment. Just like that, while playing with the empty cosmic spirit ball, Sook walked towards Ronan. At this time, Ronan and others had already stopped, and everyone looked at Sook in surprise. As a belligerent Kree leader, Ronan has always been considered a madman by everyone. Even the most ferocious interstellar criminals dared not to be his enemy. Even when his spaceship landed here, the residents and criminals in this area had all fled. But at this moment, this guy who looked like a human dared to swagger towards him, holding the cosmic spirit ball he had been looking for in his hand, and this guy was not the Star-Lord he had been looking for. This is just a little too weird. But then again, since someone had delivered the cosmic spirit ball to his door, he didn't have to do anything. Then, without any hesitation, Ronan ordered the Kree soldiers around him, "Grab the cosmic spirit ball for me. If that guy dares to resist, just kill him." Although he didn't know Sook's background, in Ronan's opinion, it didn't matter. Anyway, no matter who dared to stop him, he would kill the other person without hesitation. Yes. After answering, a group of Kree soldiers immediately walked to Sook and surrounded him. "Hey, kid, you seem to have taken something that doesn't belong to you. If you know what's best for you, hand it over quickly, or we won't be polite." The leading Kree soldier looked at Sook with a gloomy face. "Strange, this thing is clearly in my hand, how come it is not mine? But since you want it, then I'll give it to you," Sook said with a smile, and then he threw the cosmic spirit ball in his hand over, but in this instant, he had already wrapped the cosmic spirit ball with the energy of the power gem. The leading Kree soldier was stunned at first, as if he did not expect things to be so easy, but then, his face was filled with joy, and then he reached out to catch the cosmic spirit ball thrown by Sook. But the moment he touched the cosmic spirit ball, something strange happened. A purple light began to burst out from the cosmic spirit ball and quickly wrapped around his body. In an instant, his body quickly decomposed. "Ah, help me, help me." With a cry of unwillingness, the Kree soldier suddenly turned into ashes and disappeared without a trace. Then, the cosmic spirit ball fell to the ground again. Hiss! When they saw this scene, the Kree people who had surrounded Sook took a step back, and even Ronan became extremely shocked. What is going on? Why is this happening? What on earth is this? A Kree soldier looked at the cosmic spirit ball on the ground and said in disbelief, "What is it?" Sook smiled slightly, then waved his hand casually, and the cosmic spirit ball flew back to his hand. "You bunch of rubbish are not worthy of knowing what is inside this, because you can't even bear a trace of its energy. If this thing really falls into your hands, it would be a waste of natural resources." At the end of the words, Sook looked contemptuous. "Damn it, he actually dared to look down on us, kill him." Hearing this, the other Kree soldiers immediately became very angry, and then all the guns were pointed at Sook again. Because they had received Ronan's order before, these Kree soldiers did not care about Sook's life or death, they only cared about the cosmic spirit ball in Sook's hand. Although according to the situation just now, this should be a terrible thing, but since it is what Ronan wants, then they can only bite the bullet and rob it. In an instant, Sook's face finally turned cold. Just based on this group of trash, it is not worth it for him to do it. Die. Then, just as the Kree were about to launch an attack, Sook spoke. As soon as the word "die" came out, the Kree soldiers felt their bodies suddenly pause, and then a violent pain began to attack them, causing them to howl in pain. At the same time, his body began to deform rapidly, and then it seemed to be forcibly squeezed together, like an enlarged version of a ball. When I came back, the ball began to shrink rapidly, blood and internal organs began to be squeezed out, and then it shrank rapidly again until it disappeared completely. A team of dozens of Kree soldiers died beside Sook without any resistance. Of course, there was also Ronan's eyes. This time, Ronan was really shocked. The cosmic orb is what Thanos wants, so it must have some powerful power. Killing Kree soldiers is not a strange thing for Ronan, but the man in front of him actually killed a team of Kree soldiers in an extremely weird way, and even their bodies disappeared without a trace. This is a bit too weird. At this moment, Ronan finally began to be cautious. His intuition told him that the man in front of him must not be an ordinary person. "Who are you?" Ronan asked slowly, his eyes looking very serious. "Do you want to know who I am?" That depends on whether you are qualified. The weak are not qualified to know my identity. Suke smiled slightly, and the power gem in his body was instantly sensed. In an instant, another powerful force burst out from Suke, and then directly attacked Ronan and others. Ronan was shocked. Although he didn't know what kind of power this was, the power contained in it was simply chilling. He didn't dare to contact it at all. Then, without the slightest hesitation, Ronan suddenly swung the hammer in his hand. In an instant, a powerful force suddenly blasted out from Ronan's hammer, and then hit the surging power hard. The two forces collided and instantly formed a small protective area around Ronan, protecting Ronan. However, the Kree soldiers around him were not so lucky. Under the impact of the power gem, they didn't even have time to make any sound and were instantly turned into ashes. This guy is really good. Seeing that Ronan actually resisted his attack, Suke nodded immediately. In the Marvel Universe, although Ronan has always been a supporting role, the power he possesses is definitely not to be underestimated. In the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, he even briefly mastered the Power Stone, so it is reasonable for Suke to be able to resist such an attack. But of course, the reason why he was able to resist was probably because Suke showed mercy, because up to now, Suke had not used his real strength. Who are you? When Ronan looked at Suke again, he gritted his teeth. Although his intuition told him that Suke was a very dangerous existence and he should not offend Suke, he still felt a raging anger in his heart when he thought of what happened before. With a slight smile, Suke did not answer Ronan's question directly, but said, Ronan, if I'm not mistaken, you should have met my brother before coming here, right? And I can guarantee that he must have humiliated you severely. Your brother? Who knows who your brother is? I'm asking, etc. You mean, your brother is Thanos, a Titan. Ronan was a little impatient when he heard this, but then he suddenly thought of something and was shocked. Suke smiled lightly, tacitly agreeing with this matter. How is this possible? Ronan's face suddenly became a little ugly. He really didn't expect that Suk would actually be a Titan, and the brother of Thanos. Next, Suk spoke again. Ronan, I will give you one last chance. Take your people away from here before I get angry. Otherwise, you will face the wrath of a Titan. Suk always maintained an attitude of whether to kill or not towards Ronan. If Ronan surrendered obediently, he would do nothing, but if Ronan did not listen to his advice, he would not mind killing him. At the same time, Ronan's heart suddenly fell into an extreme struggle. His intuition told him that Suk was an extremely powerful being and he could not possibly be his opponent. At this moment, the best option was to run away. However, when Ronan thought about how he had been insulted by Thanos first and then by Suk, he could no longer suppress his anger. Damn it! I am Ronan the Accuser, why should I be insulted like this? Thinking of this, Ronan suddenly became extremely crazy. So what if it's a Titan? So what if it's Thanos? Who do you think you are? I am Ronan the Accuser, Titan, get ready for my judgment. Ronan roared, then suddenly raised his hammer. In an instant, Suk clearly felt that the cosmic energy around him began to rush quickly towards the hammer in Ronan's hand. Ronan's weapon is a Kree hammer called the Universal Weapon, created by the high technology of the Kree Empire. It can manipulate cosmic energy and can decompose, reorganize, and deform matter according to Ronan's wishes. It can also emit shock waves, absorb energy, control gravity, create force fields, create time direction mobile fields, and transmit thoughts in hyperspace. It is the Kree Empire's the god-level individual weapon of the country. It is obvious that Ronan is now preparing to use his own weapon to duel with Suk. Soon, bursts of dazzling light began to flash around, and then were sucked into the warhammer in Ronan's hand. The entire land of nothingness began to shake, like an earthquake, and everyone began to panic, as if the end of the world had come. Suk had no expression on his face, and just looked at Ronan, who was full of energy, walking towards him with an indifferent look. With every step he took, the power in Ronan's body would surge out unscrupulously, and then destroy the nearby buildings. This is indeed very cool, but I don't know if it is useful. Go right, Titan. Gathering all the energy of himself and the hammer to the peak, Ronan shouted loudly, and then swung it towards Suk. Boom! In an instant, an incredibly powerful force bombarded Suk, and the powerful light made everyone unable to open their eyes. With the surge of this power, all the surrounding buildings were destroyed in an instant, and the earth began to crack and collapse rapidly. In the sky, Star-Lord looked at this scene from a distance and said in disbelief, what happened? Was that guy killed? Impossible. Gamera shook her head and said, if he really has the same power as Thanos, then this will not kill him at all. Titan, they are all very strong. Then, just when the energy was about to hit Suk, Suk finally made a move. A green magic circle began to appear in Suk's hand, and Suk whispered time stops. At this moment, Ronan's extremely powerful attack suddenly stopped in front of Suk's eyes, and even the flashing light stopped. What on earth is going on? Ronan murmured, as if he had seen something terrible. Then, Suke finally spoke. Ronan, I didn't intend to kill you at first, because you are still useful to me, but now, I suddenly changed my mind, I think it's better for you to die. After saying this with a sneer, Suke suddenly placed his hand on the energy bombardment that Ronan had previously launched. For a moment, all the energy was absorbed into Suke's body. Ronan is speechless. Don't be so nervous. Suke smiled and said, before I kill you, how about I invite you to watch some fireworks? After saying this, Suke suddenly raised his right hand again. At the same time, the energy absorbed before was instantly displayed in the form of a huge sphere, and because it was mixed with the power of the phoenix, the power of chaos and the power of darkness, it was filled with unparalleled destructive power. The fireworks are about to start. With a slight smile, Suke threw the energy ball in his hand towards the Kree warship in the air without any hesitation. No, Ronan yelled angrily, but he could do nothing but watch the huge energy ball crash into his battleship. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded, and in space, the huge warship instantly disintegrated rapidly. The huge energy instantly impacted the surroundings, destroying all the other Kree warships. Bursts of explosions sounded, bursts of flames kept colliding and flashing in the air, as gorgeous as fireworks. Ronan's heart was already bleeding, but besides the heartache, he began to worry more about his fate, because it was obvious that he had offended the Titan in front of him. A Titan even more powerful than Thanos. In front of him, all attacks are ineffective. Escape? Looking around, Ronan immediately found a Kree spaceship parked not far away. Without any hesitation, he ran over quickly. But it was obvious that Suk would not give him a chance to escape. After running a few steps, Ronan felt the scene in front of him suddenly flash, and then Suk appeared in front of him. You, what are you going to do? Ronan said in horror, I tell you, if you dare to hurt me, then you are declaring war on the entire Kree Empire. You will die miserably. You fuck you? You still dare to threaten me at this time? Is your head okay? In Suke's opinion, Ronan was like a fool at the moment, and he almost lost the interest in taking action. Forget it, let Ronan die like the plot in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Thinking of this, Suke smiled again, and then his hand flashed, and a purple gem appeared in his hand. Ronan, aren't you curious? Why does Thanos have to get the Cosmic Stone? I can tell you that this is because the Cosmic Stone contains the Power Stone, one of the Infinity Stones. This is a stone that can give anyone great power. What do you think? Do you want to get it? Suke looked at Ronan with a charming look. As early as the first time he saw the Power Stone, Ronan's face showed an intoxicated and eager look, so when he heard this, he nodded without hesitation. Very good, then I'll give it to you, Suk said with a smile. However, just before Ronan touched the power gem, a dazzling light suddenly surged out from the power gem, and then wrapped around Ronan. The huge power left a deep blood mark on Ronan's body, and he almost fainted from the pain. When Suk used the power gem to attack before, he deliberately suppressed the power of the power gem. In addition, the power was not directed at Ronan alone, so Ronan could barely resist it. But now, Suk did not suppress the power of the power gem at all, and all the power was borne by Ronan alone, so he naturally could not resist it. Soon, the power gem began to invade Ronan's body, and his body began to decompose rapidly. Bastard, you, what did you do to me? With the last bit of strength, Ronan roared. I didn't do anything. Suke shook his head and said, I just let you get the power you have always desired, but it is obvious that you do not have the ability to control such power. Do you know why? Because you have been a weak person from beginning to end. You. When Ronan heard this, he was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. However, as the power of the power gem invaded his body, he could no longer say anything else. With a painful and unwilling roar, Ronan's body quickly dissipated and then turned into ashes and disappeared completely. No. Immediately at this moment, another roar suddenly came from not far away. Looking up, Suke saw Drax the Destroyer running towards him, and behind him were the other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Coming in front of Suke, staring at Ronan who had turned into ashes in front of him, Drax roared with a sad face, Why is this happening? Ronan, why did Ronan die like this? Knowing that Drax was a thick-skinned guy, in order to prevent him from saying anything unpleasant, Star-Lord came to him and advised Drax, don't be so sad. Ronan is dead anyway, and the revenge of your wife and daughter has been avenged. As for who killed them, isn't it the same? If you really can't get over it, there are a few Kree soldiers over there, you can go and have fun with them? As soon as these words came out, Drax's eyes suddenly showed murderous intent, and with another roar, he rushed towards the other Kree soldiers. A moment later, Suk and the Guardians of the Galaxy gathered at the Collector's house. Before leaving, Suk had something to ask Star-Lord and Gamera. So, you are really from Earth? And now Earth has its own team of heroes. After listening to Suk's brief introduction to the current situation on Earth, Star-Lord shouted in surprise. When Star-Lord was kidnapped by Yondu, he was only a dozen years old, which was around the 1990s. At that time, the technology on Earth was not very developed, and there were not many heroes. So when he heard that Earth already had its own superhero team, he was really surprised. Seeing this, Suk smiled and said, not long ago, Prince Loki of Alaska once invaded the Earth with the Chitauri, but was defeated by the Avengers of the Earth. That is a very strong team. With them, the Earth is very safe. Really? It seems I really need to go back. Thinking about it carefully, it seems like I haven't been back for 30 years. I don't know if my grandpa is still there. When Star-Lord said this, he couldn't help but feel a little lost. When he was kidnapped by Yondu, his mother had just passed away, so even after he became an adult, Star-Lord never thought about returning to Earth, because it was a place that would make him sad. However, when he heard Suk talk about the changes on Earth, he suddenly felt a little more eager. After looking at Star-Lord for a while, Suke smiled and said, it seems that you haven't found your father yet. My father? When Seeing Ju heard this, he was stunned for a moment, then he thought of something, and then he looked at Suke in surprise and said, "Wait a minute, are you trying to tell me that you just happen to know who my father is?" "Of course." Suke smiled and said, "And I can tell you for free." As soon as these words came out, not only was Star-Lord a little surprised, but even Gamera, Rocket, and others on the side came over. Everyone was very curious about who Star-Lord's father was. His father shouldn't be a human, right? Not even an ordinary alien. As early as the first time I saw this guy, I found that he seemed to have a trace of strange power. This power is very ancient, even older than me. Then at this moment, the collector on the side suddenly spoke again. This time, Star-Lord and others became even more curious, and all their eyes stared at Suke. Seeing this, Suke didn't keep the secret any longer and said directly, "Your father is no other than a living planet named Ego. This guy is also a god, so in a way, you are actually half a god." Ego? Living planet? God? After mumbling these unfamiliar words, Star-Lord became more and more confused. But at this time, the collector on the side stood up excitedly, then walked to Star-Lord and looked at him in surprise and said, "Yes, Mr. Suk is right, he does have the power of God, and this is a kind of creative power. This kind of power only Ego has. You are indeed his son." Star-Lord's face was confused for a while, and then he suddenly thought of something, and then murmured, "No wonder, when I was very young, my mother told me that my father came from the stars." Compared to the excitement of Star-Lord and the collector, Drax and Rocket on the side were puzzled. Because what Suk meant was that Star-Lord's father was a ball. Then Rocket asked, "Wait a minute, if what you said is true, then this guy's father is actually a planet? A planet with self-awareness? But I'm really curious, how can a planet give birth to a child with humans?" Rocket said, and suddenly laughed meanly. When Star-Lord heard this, he immediately became angry, because in his heart, his mother is his only one, and he will never allow anyone to insult her. "Rocket, you damn guy, don't you dare say that about my mother, or I will never forgive you." As if he realized that Star-Lord was really angry, Rocket waved his hands and said, "Don't get excited, don't get excited. I just asked a question that everyone is curious about, at most I won't ask." Suk listened helplessly, and then explained, "Ego is a god, and the abilities of gods are very powerful. He can change into any form and appear anywhere. Yes, from what I know, this guy likes to go around in human form, travel everywhere." The collector had just said half of his words when he suddenly thought of something and changed his words in an instant. As a cosmic elder, the collector naturally understood Ego. At the same time, he also knew that Ego had not only been with Star-Lord's mother, but also with all species in the entire universe. Similarly, he also had countless children, and Star-Lord was just one of them. Although it was unknown what Ego's purpose was in doing this, there was no doubt that, given the current situation, these words were really not suitable to be said. Similarly, Suk also knew everything about Ego. He even knew the purpose of Ego sowing seeds everywhere in the universe, which was to give birth to a child with the same power of God as him, and then use the power of this child to achieve his goal of ruling the universe. Unfortunately, except for Star-Lord, Ego's other children did not inherit Ego's power of God, so Ego ruthlessly killed them. He piled their bones on his own planet. It is worth mentioning that the reason why Star-Lord's mother died of cancer was also because of Ego. Although he knew everything, Suk didn't intend to tell Star-Lord about it, because this was Star-Lord's own story and the plot of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Suk didn't want to get involved. Anyway, after listening to Suk's words, Star-Lord had made up his mind, that is, he was ready to take everyone to find his father. Suk knew that the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was about to unfold. Suk was not in a hurry to leave here, and because the spaceship of the Guardians of the Galaxy had been damaged a lot before, they could only stay here temporarily and wait until the spaceship was repaired before leaving here. At night, Suk was standing on the roof thinking about something, and then a sturdy figure suddenly jumped up. Upon closer inspection, it was Gamera. At the beginning, because of Suk's special identity, Gamera stubbornly believed that Suk was a bad guy like Thanos, but through the previous incident with Ronan, Gamera realized that Suk and Thanos were completely different. This made her feel very guilty. What do you want to say? If you still want to teach me a lesson, then I advise you to save your breath. After all, in terms of seniority, I am your uncle, Suke said half-jokingly. Of course, this is not really a joke, because Gamera and Thanos are indeed father and daughter, which is something that almost the entire universe knows, and he is Thanos' younger brother, so of course Gamera has to call him uncle. But when she heard this, Gamera shook her head gently and said, "I'm not here to teach you a lesson. On the contrary, I'm here to apologize to you, and, please stop associating me with Thanos, he was never my father. It doesn't matter, as long as you are happy," Suk said with a casual smile. In fact, he didn't care about the relationship between Thanos and Gamera at all. After a brief silence, Gamera suddenly spoke again. "You once said that the purpose of your getting the Power Stone is to kill Thanos. Is this true?" Although Suk had said such words before, in Gamera's view, Suk and Thanos are brothers after all, and the credibility of such words is too low. He felt that he needed to confirm it again. Looking into the distance, Suk slowly said, "Who is Thanos? I think you should know better than anyone else, right?" At the beginning, He asked Loki to lead the Chitauri to invade the Earth for the purpose of the space gem on the Earth, but now, the space gem he wanted to get has been taken away by me, and even the mind gem he gave to Loki is also with me, of course, including the power gem now. What do you think my purpose is? What Thanos wants is destruction and death, but what I want is simple tranquility. There will be a battle between us eventually, and I have a feeling that this battle will come soon. The battle between titans is always a life and death struggle, and I will definitely kill Thanos. When he said these words, Sook's face was full of tenacity. When Gamera heard this, she finally relaxed completely, because until now, she was finally sure that Sook was not lying, and Sook was indeed different from Thanos. Then, she suddenly thought of something, and then frowned and said, although I don't know if your current strength can defeat Thanos, don't forget that there is a death beside Thanos. Death is one of the gods of creation. If she intervenes, do you think you can kill Thanos? Hearing this, Sookie frowned, because this is what he has been worried about all along. No matter how powerful Thanos is, he is not invincible. If all the Infinity Stones are collected, then Sook is sure that he can kill Thanos. But if death intervenes, then this matter will be very tricky. After all, death is not Galactus. She is the end and source of all life in the universe and is almost immortal. How to fight her? After thinking for a long time, Sook still couldn't think of a suitable way. Then he could only shake his head helplessly. Let's talk about this matter later. The important thing now is to continue collecting the other 2 Infinity Stones. Then, he suddenly thought of what Galactus had said before, and then looked at Gamera beside him and said, you have always been by Thanos' side, so you should be very clear about Thanos' power. I want to know how powerful Thanos is. Gamera's face suddenly dimmed when she heard this. After sighing slightly, she slowly said, if it was in the past, Thanos would definitely not be your opponent, but not long ago, Thanos seemed to have obtained a magical thing called the Heart of the Universe. It was this thing that gave him extremely powerful power, and even death was surprised, so I don't know how powerful Thanos is. The only thing I know is that you should never underestimate Thanos. Heart of the Universe, really? Sookie was a little surprised at first, but soon he was relieved because he had guessed this result a long time ago. Thanos, who possessed the Heart of the Universe, was undoubtedly powerful, but according to what Gamera said before, Sookie knew that Thanos had obtained the Heart of the Universe not long ago, which meant that Thanos had not yet fully mastered the power of the Heart of the Universe, so he still had time. Thinking of this, Sookie slowly said, don't worry, I won't underestimate him, and I will definitely kill him, because this is our fate. The conversation ended here, because there was nothing more to talk about between Sook and Gamera. Then, Gamera left and Sook returned to the room that the collector had prepared for him. In the following period of time, the news of Ronan's death began to spread throughout the universe. Almost everyone knew the news of Ronan's death. At the same time, they also knew that the one who killed Ronan was none other than the brother of the Mad Titan Thanos, a Mad Titan named Sook. This is obviously not a good thing for the entire universe, because Thanos alone is enough to make the entire universe tremble with fear. If there is another Titan, who knows what kind of disaster the entire universe will face. At the same time, in a void, Thanos was sitting on his void throne, looking expressionlessly at a 3-dimensional image in front of him. And the person in this image was none other than Sook. See more sangtakviet.com. Thanos finished watching the video about Sook, an extremely weird-looking old alien with white hair came over. This man was none other than Ebony Maw, one of the 5 black generals beside Thanos. My lord, according to the information I have gathered, your brother has been very busy recently. He first led the heroes on Earth to defeat Loki and the Chitauri army, and obtained the Space Stone and the Mind Stone. Then he defeated Dormammu and exiled him to an unknown space, and obtained the Time Stone. In the end, he even repelled Galactus. If we add the previous power gem, he now has at least 4 infinity gems, which is very disadvantageous to our plan. Ebony Maw frowned and said in Thanos' ear. As for the other few people, they stood aside very quietly without saying a word, because at this moment, they didn't know what to say. Everyone has always thought that Thanos was a ruthless person because he destroyed his own planet and killed all his relatives and tribesmen, but who would have thought that suddenly, a titan named Sook appeared out of nowhere, and he was Thanos' younger brother. This is a bit embarrassing. Although it is unknown why Thanos chose to let his brother go, it is obvious that this matter is no longer important. The most important thing at the moment is how to solve this problem. But at this time, Thanos didn't seem to listen to what Ebony Maw said, but looked thoughtful, as if he was thinking about something. The reason why Thanos let Sook go was indeed because he still had a trace of affection in his heart. After all, even he could not kill his own brother personally. He originally wanted to let Sook fend for himself in the universe, but who could have thought? This brother turned out to be like him, and also obtained all the power of the Eternals. This was a bit beyond his expectations. However, even though Sook has obtained 4 Infinity Stones, Thanos still doesn't care much in his heart, because not long ago, he has obtained another thing comparable to the Infinity Stones, that is, the Heart of the Universe. If he can get the Infinity Stones, it would be the best, but if he can't get them, then it doesn't matter to him, because relying on the Heart of the Universe, he will still become powerful. His intuition told him that sooner or later, there would be a fight between him and his younger brother, Sook. And he has begun to look forward to that day. At the same time, after staying in the land of nowhere for a few days, Sook finally returned to Earth. Of course, he also took a lot of things collected by collectors. Although the collector was very distressed, he did not dare to offend Suk, so he could only grit his teeth and swallow it. A space channel opened up, Suk stepped in, and when he came out, he was already back home. As soon as he got home, he saw a familiar figure busy in the kitchen. It was Emma. It had been a long time since he saw Emma, and when he saw her again, Suk was really excited. And it seemed that because she was alone at home, Emma was also wearing cool clothes, with a thin gauze on her body, which made Suk a little distracted. Then, he came to the kitchen and picked up Emma from behind. Who is it? Suddenly someone hugged her body, and she became a little nervous. Almost instantly, her body quickly transformed into a diamond form. Don't be nervous, it's me. When Suk's voice sounded, Emma relaxed. Then, the diamond form was instantly lifted and she returned to her normal form. Turning around and looking at Suk behind her, Emma said a little aggrievedly, "Where have you been these days? I looked for you everywhere but couldn't find you." No one answered the phone. "I thought something happened to you." Suk felt helpless when he heard this. Because he was in the land of nothingness, there was naturally no signal for mobile phones and other things. He also forgot to connect the mind gem to the ground, so no one could contact him during this period of time. 0 request flowers. Forget it, forget it. I was wrong before. I didn't say hello to you before I left. Don't be angry. I can make it up to you. Suk smiled while holding Emma's face. Compensation? How are you going to compensate me? Emma heard this and then said angrily, "How else can I compensate you? Of course, it's the kind you want most." After saying this with a burning look in his eyes, Suk suddenly kissed Emma, and his hands moved restlessly. "Don't, this is the kitchen. Let's go to the room." Blushing, Emma gently pushed Suk away and said with a blushing face, "What's wrong with the kitchen? This place is much more interesting than the room." After saying this, Suk kissed her again. Suddenly, a cheerful voice rang out in the whole kitchen. Although the collector brought some so-called alien beauties to Suk when he was in the land of no existence, Suk, who was used to the aesthetic concept of earthlings, could not accept those alien beauties with different looks, so he directly rejected the collector's kindness. Soon, the battlefield moved from the kitchen to the balcony, from the balcony to the living room, then to the backyard, and then to the bedroom. After a long time, Suk finally let Emma go, then he hugged Emma and lay on the bed, asking about what happened during the time he was away from Earth. According to Emma's story, Suk knew that the establishment of a mutant nation had entered the final stage, and it could officially begin after the last few countries nodded. Other than that, everything was normal. Occasionally, a few super-villains came to cause trouble, but they were all defeated by the Avengers. In recent times, the Earth has been relatively safe. Then, just when Suk was about to have sex with Emma, the phone that had not been on for a long time suddenly rang again. Upon closer inspection, it was indeed Tony calling again. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Feluciao. This guy. Suk felt helpless. He had just returned to Earth when this guy called him. He really didn't give him any rest time. But then, Suk answered the phone. As soon as the call was connected, Tony's voice rang out. "Thank God, I finally got through to you. Please, where have you been recently? I can't find you anywhere in the world." Tony complained on the other end of the line. "I have been busy with other things in outer space recently. I just came back and your call came." "Okay, Tony, just say whatever you want to say. I just came back and I still have a lot of things to do. If there is nothing else, then I will hang up," Suk said impatiently. No, of course I have something to talk to you about. Do you remember the matter about the extremis virus? I have been helping out recently, and the research on the extremis virus has achieved breakthrough results. I want you to go and have a look. After all, you contributed half to this research," Tony said hurriedly. "So fast?" Suk was somewhat surprised when he heard this, because he never expected that the extremis virus would achieve results so quickly. Needless to say, this was naturally Tony's credit. It seems that letting Tony join and manage this project was the best choice. Thinking of this, Suk immediately said, "Okay, I have time tomorrow morning. Please send someone to pick me up tomorrow morning. Also, please don't call me again today, because I'm really busy today." After saying this, Suk hung up the phone immediately. "What's wrong? Is it something important?" Emma looked at Suk with some curiosity. "No, it's just some small things. Don't you know what the most important thing is for me right now?" With a slight smile, Suk stretched out his claws to Emma again. After being affectionate with Emma again, Suk went out and went to SHIELD again. Of course, his purpose of going to SHIELD was not to find Nick Fury, but to find Natasha. After all, he was gone for such a long time this time that he didn't even have time to say hello to his women. He must make it up to them. Nick Fury has always turned a blind eye to Suk's arrival. He even discovered the relationship between Suk and Natasha a long time ago. But of course, as a smart man, Nick Fury would not spread it around. After being intimate with Natasha, Suk naturally came to the Mutant Academy again. It just so happened that Jean had returned here recently. At night, Suk naturally stayed here. A war is inevitable. The next morning, seeing that Jean was still sleeping, Suk did not disturb her and went back to the villa. When he got home, the doorbell rang. When he opened the door, it was none other than Tony. "Hey, long time no see." Thor greeted with a smile, looking very proud. Suk looked a little strange and asked, "Tony, you look so happy, do you have any special happy events recently?" "Of course. Tony smiled and said, based on the extremis virus studied by Killian, I have initially created my extremis virus armor. Although it is still in the experimental stage, I have seen a brand new future. As long as this set of armor is successfully developed, I guarantee that it will surprise everyone. What about the Ultron project? Have you continued it recently? Suk asked again. It is obvious that Suk is more concerned about Tony's suicide than the extremis virus armor. The Ultron project is also continuing, but Banner and Jarvis have been busy recently. To be honest, the Ultron project has also made a breakthrough. Just wait, I will change the world soon. When Tony said this, an extremely confident and excited look appeared on his face. Suke was speechless because he knew that Tony had gone further and further on the road of self-destruction and could not be pulled back. Okay, let's go. Suke shook his head slightly and got into the car. Then, the car started to drive to the destination. Because the company that developed the extremis virus was founded with Suke, Tony did not add the Stark mark to the company for the first time. He even gave it a very special name, Future Technology Research Institute. But of course, Suke was not interested in the name. Suke was only interested in the extremis virus. Soon, the two came to a research institute not far from the Stark industrial zone. This is a large research institute, and from the appearance, you can tell that a lot of money must have been invested. It is obvious that Tony I am still very concerned about this matter. From a distance, Suke saw several figures standing at the entrance of the institute, and the leader was Killian. However, at this moment, he no longer looked as embarrassed as before. Although his body was still a little unstable, his aura was different. Then, just as Suke and Tony were about to walk over, two figures suddenly rushed out and stopped Suke and Tony. These were two young people, only a little older than Suke, and one man and one woman, who seemed to be a couple. The man looked a little shy, and the woman was very confident. Who are you? Tony was suddenly stopped by someone, and he felt unhappy. As for Suke, he looked at the man and woman in front of him with interest, because he suddenly found that these two guys looked familiar. Mr. Suk, Mr. Tony, I'm sorry to have wasted your time. Please allow us to introduce ourselves first. My name is Gemma Simmons, and this is Leo Fitz. I'm good at biology and medical treatment, and Fitz is good at designing network systems. Of course, he also invents some interesting gadgets on the side. We both have doctoral degrees. We've met you before at the Stark Technology exhibition, Simmons said excitedly. Simmons, Fitz, as expected, this is the plot of Agents of SHIELD. Suke remembered very clearly that Gemma Simmons and Leo Fitz were characters from the plot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, and they did not graduate from ordinary schools, but from S.H.I.E.L.D's Academy of Sciences. Although he didn't know much about this organization of SHIELD, it was obvious that if they were not geniuses, they would not be able to enter this academy at all, and once they graduated from this school, they would be the elite among the elites. In theory, after graduating from the SHIELD Academy of Sciences, they could directly enter SHIELD and become a scientific research mission or agent, but there are always exceptions to everything. At this moment, they had just graduated from school, and SHIELD didn't find them. Suke was moved, but he didn't say much, just asked, tell me, what do you want to find us for? Well, actually I noticed Dr. Killian's extremis virus a long time ago, and I thought it was an invention that could change humanity, but I was still a student at the time and had no access to Dr. Killian's project. However, when I graduated, Dr. Killian's project was on the verge of bankruptcy, and I had no chance to get involved. But just a few days ago, I heard that you and Mr. Tony funded this project, so I would like to ask you to let me join this project. I have a high level of attainment in biology and will definitely help you, Simmons said seriously. And I. When Simmons finished speaking, Fitz suddenly spoke again, but compared to Simmons, he was obviously more restrained. Although I don't have any extraordinary talent in biology, there are only a handful of people who can surpass me in terms of network information, and I can also develop some high-tech weapons. In short, I can also help you. After the two finished talking, Tony finally understood that these two guys were looking for jobs. Then, before Tony could speak, Suk nodded, then pointed at Tony beside him and said, okay, I understand what you mean. Come find him tomorrow morning. No matter what conditions you need, we will satisfy you. It just so happens that a group of R&D personnel came to the institute, and I want you to lead them. What? When Simmons and Fitz heard this, they looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. Next, Simmons looked at Suk with disbelief and said, Mr. Suk, are you sure you want to do this? Am I dreaming? You know, we just graduated from school and have no experience in this field. Fitz was also surprised and said, Mr. Suk, you must be kidding. Although Simmons and Fitz graduated from the SHIELD Academy of Sciences, they are still just newly graduated students so far, and have no research in this area. However, Suk actually wants them to lead the research and development personnel of the institute. Isn't this too surprising? But it is obvious that Suk is not joking, because he knows that Simmons and Fitz are among the smartest people in the entire Marvel universe. Simmons's attainments in biology are unmatched by anyone else, and Fitz is even more amazing. In the plot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, he invented many things that can be called black technology. Simply put, these two guys are rare scientific research talents. With them, the development of the extremis virus will be faster, and the extremis virus will be more perfect. Thinking of this, Suk smiled and said, "For me, age is not a problem at all. I value a person's talent more. I think you have great talent and potential, so I decided to give you a chance. Of course, if you disappoint me, then I might consider firing you. No, no. Please rest assured, we will not let you down, and we will show our value very soon. Please rest assured." Simmons promised excitedly before Suk finished speaking. Then, they looked at Tony next to Suk. It was obvious that they wanted to see what Tony meant. After all, Tony was also the boss of this institute. But since Suk had already agreed, what else could Tony say? And Tony believed in Suk's vision, he would never find two idiots. Since Mr. Suk has said so, I naturally agree. Come to Stark Tower to find me early tomorrow morning. I will arrange everything for you, Tony said with a smile. When hearing this, Simmons and Fitz were so happy that they went crazy. Next, after thanking Suk and Tony profusely, they left with excitement. After Simmons and Fitz left, Tony looked at Suk and asked, "Why? Do you know those two people?" "I don't know them, but I've only heard of them. Believe me, they won't let you down." With a slight smile, Suk took the lead and walked towards the research institute. This guy, shaking his head, Tony also chased after them. Killian had seen from a distance that Suk and Tony were blocked by a strange couple. He was originally going to chase the couple away, but seeing that Suk seemed very interested in them, he did not dare to do anything. After the couple left, he excitedly led everyone to greet them. "Mr. Suk, Mr. Tony, I'm so glad you're here. On behalf of everyone, I warmly welcome you," Killian said excitedly. "You know, since he came here, Tony has given him great power. In this institute, except for Suk and Tony, he has the greatest power and can decide almost anything. And as a smart scientist, Tony also helps him with research. With Tony's help, the research on the extremis virus is advancing by leaps and bounds, and human experiments may even be carried out in a while." Seeing that his dream is about to come true, how can he not be excited? However, facing the enthusiasm of Killian and everyone else, Suk just nodded slightly, and then said, "Okay, I don't like to be polite, you should just take me to see your research results. Yes? Please follow me." Seeing this, Killian didn't say any more nonsense, and directly brought Suk and Tony to the institute, and then introduced them. Although Killian usually looks timid, when he introduced the desperate virus, this guy seemed to be a different person, revealing a strong confidence from head to toe. Thanks to Mr. Tony's help, the research on the extremis virus has achieved unprecedented success in recent times. When injected into plants again, the recovery speed of the plants has increased by more than twice compared to before, and there are very few side effects, Killian said confidently. "What about the live experiment? How is the live experiment going?" Suk raised his eyebrows and asked again. Hearing this, Killian's face instantly became a little embarrassed. Because until now, the experiment of the desperate virus on the live body still has a big flaw, or more precisely, this flaw is absolutely fatal. Before Suk arrived, he had injected the desperate virus into mice more than once. Although the mice's short limbs would grow quickly at first, it would not take long for the mice's body temperature to rise rapidly, and then explode like a bomb. The power of this explosion is almost the same as that of a grenade. Because of this, they even built a special room here specifically for experiments. To put it simply, there has not been much progress in the in vivo experiments on the extremis virus so far. Because of this, when faced with Suk's question, Killian didn't know how to answer for a while. Seeing this, Tony on the side said, "Suk, I have been helping here recently. Let me tell you about this." To put it simply, the extremis virus has hardly been successful in any live experiment until now, because this virus seems to have a special reaction with something in the body, and this reaction is almost fatal. Anyway, all the mice used in the experiment died. Suk heard this and looked at Tony speechlessly and said, "Then what do you mean by calling me here? Are you here for me to witness your failure?" "Of course not. Although the live experiment is not possible for the time being, other experiments have made great breakthroughs. Believe me, I will not let you down." Tony smiled slightly, and then walked into a laboratory nearby. When hearing this, Killian and his research team suddenly showed a confident expression on their faces. After entering the laboratory, Suk found that this was a place similar to an interrogation room. There was a huge special glass in the middle, and on the other side of the glass was a large room, and it seemed that the material of the room seemed to be some special metal. In addition, the walls of the room were covered with black stripes, and it was obvious that they had experienced countless explosions. In the center of the room, there was a suit of armor similar to Tony's, but compared to Tony's armor, this armor was relatively simple, and it seemed to be just a preliminary model. "What is this?" Suk touched his chin and asked curiously. Tony said mysteriously, "I won't tell you what this is yet. You will understand when you see it for yourself later." After saying this, Tony nodded to Killian on the side. Killian understood instantly and started to control it on the control table in front of him. Soon, in that special room, a machine gun suddenly appeared in front of the armor. Gently pressing the firing button, the machine gun immediately fired quickly. Da-da-da-da-da. Then, a series of noises suddenly rang out. Soon, the gunfire stopped, and the armor had already been shot into a sieve. "Watch carefully, it's time to witness a miracle soon," Tony said excitedly. Soon, in Suk's surprised eyes, the armor suddenly turned red, and then the metal on it began to flow quickly, and then moved to the place where the armor was damaged by the bullet, and then quickly repaired it. In less than half a minute, the entire armor suddenly returned to its original appearance. Is this the model of the Extremis armor that Tony mentioned before? Suke thought with some surprise. The so-called Extremis armor is a special set of armor that Tony injected the modified Extremis virus into his nervous system and then fused the armor with his body. This allows him to store the inner layer of the armor in the hollow part of his bones and directly control it with his brain's thoughts. In short, this is an extremely sharp armor. But of course, the Extremis virus cannot be tested on humans at present, so Tony can only test it on the armor, but it is obvious that he is very satisfied with the result. Facing Suke's surprise, Tony is naturally very proud. He only heard him continue to say, since I knew about the Extremis virus, I have begun to study the Extremis armor. So far, the preliminary model of the Extremis armor has finally been made, which is what you see in front of you. But of course, its shortcomings are also obvious, that is, the defense is too low and the temperature is too high. But it doesn't matter. Give me some time and I will make it perfect. In the next step, I will start to inject the Extremis virus myself. Although the Extremis armor in front of him is not perfect, you have to know that this is something Tony made in just 1 week. He can achieve this level in just 1 week. If he is given another month or half a year, he will definitely be able to make a real Extremis armor. This guy, he is indeed a genius? For a moment, Suke looked up to Tony again. Then, he suddenly thought of something. Since Tony can apply the Extremis virus to his armor and make a primary version of the Extremis armor, doesn't that mean that he can also start making his own armor? Because of the material limitation, the metal Tony uses is Amanda metal containing a small amount of vibranium. Although this material is already very remarkable on Earth, it is obvious that Suk doesn't care about this kind of thing at all. What he wants is the strongest metal in the Marvel Universe, the metal from Asgard Deshulu. Ulu is a metal mineral produced in Asgard. It is like stone, but it has metallic properties, which can store more energy, especially magic. Ulu is very durable and can store magic very well. Its luster is described as bad forging technology. When Ulu is enchanted, it becomes even more powerful. Ulu is a highly unforgeable metal that needs to be forged through extreme methods, such as the core of a planet, or the application of magic. In the Marvel Universe, Thor's hammer is made of Ulu, and even includes the spear of Odin and the golden sword in Heimdall's hand and the destroyer armor. It is worth mentioning that in Avengers 3, Thor's latest weapon, Stormbreaker, is made of Ulu metal. Relying on this battle axe, Thor almost killed Thanos with one axe. This is enough to show that Ulu is indeed the strongest metal in the Marvel Universe. Thinking of this, Suk had no hesitation at all, and immediately asked Killian that he needed some Extremis virus. If it were someone else, Killian would definitely refuse directly without hesitation, but you have to know that it was his boss Suk who spoke up, so he naturally didn't dare to refuse. Soon, a suitcase of Extremis virus was delivered to Suk. After receiving the Extremis virus, Suk was in no mood to stay here any longer. He simply said hello to Tony and asked them to speed up the process. Then Suk returned to his home. Killian gave a lot of Extremis virus. According to Tony, these Extremis viruses were enough to develop 10 sets of Extremis armor. However, this also fulfilled Suk's wish, because before getting Ulu, Suk had to let Elena do some experiments first. But just when Suk was about to start, there was a hurried knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Suke frowned, and was just wondering which blind guy dared to disturb him when a familiar voice suddenly sounded outside the door. Suk, are you home? I am Thor, and I need your help with something very important. Thor? Suk was curious when he heard this, wondering if he had gotten the reality gem. Then, without any hesitation, Suk opened the door. In an instant, Thor appeared in front of Suk, but at this moment, Thor was somewhat embarrassed. His hair was disheveled and there was a trace of blood on his armor. It was obvious that he had been in a fierce battle before. What's going on? Why are you like this? Suke frowned and asked Thor to come in. Something big has happened? I need your help. As soon as he entered the house, Thor said anxiously, my girlfriend Jane is missing. I have looked for her almost everywhere, but I still can't find her. Even Hyldam's eyes can't find Jane's location. I have tried many ways, but I still can't find her. Suk, you are the most powerful existence I know. I beg you, please help me. At the end of his words, Thor was almost begging Suk. For a moment, Suk also remembered that Thor had a girlfriend on Earth. But then, he was suddenly a little surprised again, because he had seen Heimdall's eyes. Relying on those golden eyes, Heimdall could see almost anywhere on the Earth, and even see his whereabouts, but now someone has avoided Heimdall's eyes, which is really a bit weird and powerful. Thinking of this, Suk slowly said, don't worry, tell me what's going on first. Hearing this, Thor was a little quiet, and then began to tell the story. After the Battle of New York, Thor brought Loki back to the Asgard, and at this time, Odin also woke up from his deep sleep. After learning what Loki had done on Earth, Odin was very angry and ordered Loki to be locked up. Thor had promised Suk that he would find the ether particles in the Infinity Stones for him, so he began to look for traces of the ether particles in the 9 realms. Soon, he really found traces of the ether particles, but what shocked him was that the ether particles were actually related to the Dark Elves. The Dark elves came from the dark world of Vanaheim and have been one of Asgard's most powerful enemies for tens of thousands of years. However, Odin had defeated them thousands of years ago and exiled them forever. Because it was a matter of promise, Thor began to continue looking for the ether particles, but he didn't expect that he discovered a shocking secret. That is, for so many years, they have always thought that Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves who had died thousands of years ago, was not dead at all, but had been secretly recuperating, recruiting troops, waiting for an opportunity to swallow up the universe and plunge it into eternal darkness. After discovering this important clue, Loki immediately returned to Asgard and prepared to tell his father Odin about this matter. Unexpectedly, due to some special reasons, Odin fell into a deep sleep again, and the Dark Elves seemed to have discovered that Thor had known their whereabouts, so they began to attack Asgard. However, because there were not many people coming, they were easily defeated by Thor. It was at this time that Thor suddenly realized that the Dark Elves seemed to be planning to attack the Earth again, and then he rushed back to the Earth and met his girlfriend Jane. But what he didn't expect was that it was the last time he saw Jane. Since that meeting, Jane suddenly seemed to have disappeared completely. No matter how he looked for her, he could never find Jane. He tried almost all the methods he knew, but it was still useless. In desperation, he could only come to Suk. After listening to Thor's story, Suk suddenly fell silent. Because at this moment, he suddenly thought of the plot of Thor 2. In the plot of Thor 2, not long after Thor brought Loki back to Asgard, they were challenged by an ancient dark force. The vengeful dark elf leader Malekith led a mysterious and powerful race to make a comeback, trying to plunge all 9 realms into darkness. At this time, Thor's girlfriend Jane accidentally had a special connection with the ether particles, that is, the reality gems, and was even taken to a special space. Later, she was in critical condition. In the end, Thor brought Jane back to Asgard, which saved her life. As for the end, it naturally ended with Thor's victory. But then again, Suk didn't know much about the plot of Thor 2. He only knew that Jane was brought into a special space by the ether particles, but he didn't know where this special space was. And Suk was completely confused about the special race of dark elves. He only knew that they seemed to have controlled the ether particles and had some special abilities. This is a bit tricky, but obviously, Suk can't ignore this matter. After all, this matter is related to the ether particles, which are the reality gems. If he wants to get the reality gems, he must first find Thor's girlfriend Jane. Thinking of this, Suk said, "Okay, Thor, don't worry, I will help you, but you don't have to be idle. Go to Asgard to bring Loki, and then look around." Loki? Thor heard this and smiled bitterly. "Suk, don't joke. At this time, if Loki comes out, won't it be more troublesome? You should know who my brother is. This time is different." Suk shook his head and said, "You don't understand the Dark Elves at all, and I don't understand them either. Right now we need someone who understands them, and Loki is such a person. Although this guy always targets you, when Asgard faces real danger, I believe he will still choose to stand on your side. Go ahead, if it doesn't work, just say that this is what I ordered. If he doesn't listen, I will go to talk to him in person." In the plot of Thor 2, Loki played a lot of roles in Thor's ability to defeat the Dark Elves. Although this guy doesn't like the Earth and humans, he still has some sense of responsibility for Asgard. When Thor heard this, he was silent for a while, and then he nodded. "Well, I'll go back and talk to Loki, I hope he can help me." After saying this, Thor left immediately. After Thor left, Suk began to ponder what to do next. First of all, it is certain that he must get the ether particles. In the process, no matter who stops him, he will kill them without hesitation. But then again, how can he find someone who can't even find Heimdall? Suk didn't really care about Thor's girlfriend, but it was obvious that the news of the ether particles was on Jane, and he must find Jane first. Oh, the space gem? In an instant, Suk's eyes suddenly lit up again. Since Heimdall couldn't see Jane, it meant that Jane was definitely not on Earth or anywhere in the 9 realms, so conventional searches would definitely not work. In that case, the only way to find her was to use the power of the Space Stone. After all, the Space Stone controls the power of space. Maybe it could find the space where Jane was. Thinking of this, Suk didn't hesitate at all. He took out the Space Stone, held it in his palm, and carefully sensed it. For a moment, all kinds of spaces in the universe began to appear in Suk's mind, overlapped, disappeared, and then appeared again, overlapped again, and disappeared again. After repeating this for a while, Suk finally sensed a place with an abnormal space. Without any hesitation, Suk immediately opened a space channel and walked in. Then, the picture flashed, and Suk suddenly appeared at the door of an abandoned factory in London. The abnormal space he sensed before was emitted from here. "Hey, who are you? This place has been blocked, you can't get close, get out of here quickly." Before Suk finished looking around, a voice suddenly came from not far away. Suk looked up and saw an agent in a SHIELD uniform walking over. "Why is SHIELD here?" Suk was slightly startled. He didn't expect SHIELD to come so quickly, and it was obvious that this guy didn't seem to know him. "Okay, there's nothing for you to do here, just go away, leave it to me." Just as Suk was thinking about it, a familiar voice sounded again. Upon closer inspection, it was Natasha. "Natasha, why are you here?" Suk asked curiously. "Please, isn't this something I should ask you? Why are you here?" Natasha asked with a look of confusion. She was the first one here. "It's Thor." His girlfriend Jane suddenly disappeared. I came here following a special energy. I suspect Jane may have been sucked into a special space here, Suk said while pretending to be serious, and slowly walked to Natasha, then hugged her in his arms, and continued, but obviously, this matter is not so important now, let's find something pleasant to do. When Natasha heard this, she immediately understood what Suk meant, her face turned red, and then she gently pushed Suk away and said, don't make trouble, let's do business first. Thor helped us before, and now that his girlfriend is in trouble, we naturally have to help him. As for other things, let's talk about it tonight. At the end of her words, Natasha's face turned red again. Anyway, Suk didn't do anything to Natasha in the end. After all, the current scene was not appropriate, and he had promised Thor that he would help him find Jane, so he might as well find Jane first. Then, after listening to Natasha's story, Suk finally knew what was going on. It turned out that S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know about Jane's disappearance, and the reason they came here was only because the radar detected a strange energy fluctuation here, so Nick Fury sent Natasha to investigate. However, when Natasha first arrived here, before she had time to start the investigation, Suk also came here. Then, it was the scene the two had seen before. Natasha, tell everyone to stay outside the factory and don't come in. There is a strong power fluctuation here. Jane was taken away by this power. I don't want to save more people later. After sensing the power again, Suk said to Natasha behind him. Others can leave, but I want to follow you. Don't forget, I am also an Avenger. Natasha looked at Suk and said seriously. Suk smiled helplessly at first, and then nodded and said, I really can't do anything about you. Come if you want, but you must remember to stay by my side at all times. Understood. Natasha nodded with a smile and gave new orders through the intercom. Soon, all the agents walked out. Taking Natasha to an open space surrounded by tall buildings, Suk clearly felt that the power was getting stronger. Then he looked around and suddenly found that in the air not far away, there was a transparent space crack that seemed to be torn open. All the energy here was emitted from it. And because it was transparent, no one could see him except Suk. In order to confirm this, Suk picked up a stone from the ground and threw it into the crack in the air. Sure enough, it was exactly as he thought. When it touched the space crack, the stone suddenly disappeared, as if it went to another space. And it was obvious that the other space was not on the Earth, not even in the 9 realms. Let's go, I'll take you to see some fun things. With a slight smile, Suk immediately held Natasha in his arms, and then opened a space channel, and the other end of the space channel was connected to another world in the sky. Originally, Suk was unwilling to take Natasha with him, but seeing Natasha's curious look, he naturally couldn't refuse. Besides, with his current strength, he could protect Natasha no matter where she was. Unlike the previous various space crossings, this time when crossing the space, Suk clearly felt a vague resistance, as if there was some force resisting him from entering that world. But of course, this kind of power was completely insignificant to Suk, and Suk came to the side easily. Then, Suk felt that his eyes suddenly darkened again, and the surrounding scene suddenly changed dramatically. This was an endless darkness, as if it was located in a strange cave. In addition to the darkness, there was a ray of light, illuminating the center of the darkness. It was a huge square stone pillar, and next to the square stone pillar, a woman was lying there. Jane? Without any hesitation, Natasha quickly walked to Jane's side and began to check Jane's life characteristics. Suk did not stop Natasha, because he had already determined that there was no danger here, because the real danger had already run into Jane's body. Because he already has 4 infinity stones, Suk is very sensitive to them. When he saw Jane for the first time, he was sure that the ether particles were in Jane's body. Sure enough, this is almost exactly the same as the plot of Thor 2. Hey? Suk sighed slightly, then looked at Natasha and said, Natasha, since we have found her, let's take her away from here quickly. Where are you going? Are you going back to Earth? Natasha asked as she helped Jane up. No, the technology and medicine on Earth cannot save her. Let's go to Asgard, there should be a way to save her there. Suk said, and opened another space channel. At the other end, there was Asgard. The invasion of the human body by the Infinity Stones is really a bit incredible, because you have to know that each Infinity Stone has extremely powerful power, and this power is simply beyond the control of humans. But of course, Suk didn't care much about this matter. He didn't even care about Jane's life or death, because it had nothing to do with him. But then again, if Jane really died, what if something happened to the ether particles? So without any hesitation, Suk was ready to take Natasha and Jane to Asgard, because according to the plot of Thor 2, Jane was cured in Asgard. Soon, the 3 of them appeared on the Rainbow Bridge of Asgard. Who dares to do this? At the moment they appeared, a majestic roar suddenly came from not far away, but the sound only lasted halfway before it was completely cut off by Suk's eyes. Hyldam's face was livid. It was obvious that he had never expected that this plague god would come again. Because of the Eye of Heimdall, Heimdall also knew that Suk had killed Ronan and his entire fleet in the Land of Nowhere. In addition to the things that happened before, Heimdall was almost unwelcome to Suk's arrival. But then again, if Suk insisted on coming, who in the whole of Asgard could stop him? Thinking of this, Heimdall walked over quickly and said apologetically, I'm so sorry, I didn't know you were here, so, forget it. Suk waved his hand and said nonchalantly, take me to find Thor now, I have something to ask him. Okay, please follow me. Suk. Heimdall was about to answer when a voice suddenly came from the air not far away. Looking up, Suk saw Thor flying towards him. Seeing this, Heimdall said nothing more and bowed slightly to Suk. Then he returned to the room guarding the rainbow bridge. Then, Thor finally landed. At first glance, Thor saw Jane, who was supported by Natasha. Jane! Thor exclaimed, and immediately ran over quickly, then carefully took Jane over, looking at her with a worried look. When he saw that Jane's breathing was stable and there seemed to be no danger, he was relieved. Suke, where did you find Jane? Why can't I find him? Then Thor looked at Suke with a puzzled look and asked. I don't know exactly where that place is, but according to my guess, that place may be the territory of the Dark Elves. Jane broke into that place accidentally, and I am sure that the Dark Elves have already set their sights on Jane. If you want to protect her, then you'd better let her live in Asgard during this period of time. Suke said. The damn Dark Elves dared to do this to Jane. I will never let them go. Don't worry, Jane will not go anywhere in the near future and will live in Asgard. Thor said, and looked at Jane tenderly, and then called Jane's name softly. Seeing that Thor, who was always thick-skinned, actually had such a tender side, Natasha smiled and shook her head. Suddenly, at this moment, Jane, who was in a coma, suddenly moved and gradually woke up. Seeing this, Thor suddenly became excited. Jane, are you okay? Thank God, you finally woke up. Holding Jane in his arms, Thor asked with concern. Thor. Seeing Thor in front of her, Jane's face suddenly became extremely surprised, but then, she didn't know what happened, she suddenly raised her hand and slapped him. Pa! This slap hit Thor's face hard, making him a little confused. It was at this time that Jane realized that this was not a dream at all. Then, Jane began to panic. Sorry Thor, I thought I was dreaming, I didn't know it was really you. Jane said apologetically. It doesn't matter, as long as you wake up, nothing else matters. Though he was slapped by Jane, Thor didn't care at all, because in his opinion, nothing was more important than Jane waking up. But suddenly at this moment, Jane raised her hand and slapped Thor again. Pa! At this moment, not to mention Thor, even Suk and Natasha were a little speechless. Before Thor could ask anything, Jane suddenly asked angrily, Thor, where have you been all this time? Why didn't you come back to see me? Do you know how hard I've been waiting for you? Hearing this, Thor suddenly felt guilty again, and his eyes became more tender when he looked at Jane. However, Suke shook his head helplessly at this time, because he felt that Thor's life was too frustrating. In comparison, his women were simply the best. Where is this place? After slapping Thor twice in a row, Jane finally noticed the surrounding environment and Suk and Natasha standing next to her, which made her a little nervous. Seeing this, Thor hurriedly comforted her. Jane, don't worry, this is Asgard, my hometown, you are absolutely safe here, and this lady, her name is Natasha, she is an agent of SHIELD and also an Avenger. As for the one next to me, he is a Titan living on Earth, he is a very powerful being, it was they who saved you. If it weren't for them, I would never have found you. As he spoke, Thor introduced Suk to Jane. When Jane heard this, she looked at Suk and Natasha with gratitude and said, thank you for saving me. You're welcome. Suk waved his hand and said, and we didn't really save Jane. Before, in the territory of the Dark Elves, a strange thing entered Jane's body, and this thing is very likely to be fatal. The technology on Earth can't save her, so I brought her here. For some other reasons, Suk did not directly tell Thor that the thing in Jane's body was the ether particles, but even so, Thor and Jane still panicked. What should we do then? Thor looked at Suk with some nervousness. What else can I do? Of course I should check her first. Suke said speechlessly. Oh, then I'll take Jane there right away. Suk, Natasha, if you have nothing to do, please come with me. Thank you for helping me find Jane. I'll treat you well. Holding Jane in his arms, Thor looked at Suk and Natasha. Natasha was naturally excited when she heard this. You know, this is Asgard, the legendary realm of the gods. If she could stay here for a few days, she would naturally be more than happy. Thinking of this, she looked at Suk again. After a glance, Suk understood what Natasha meant. In addition, he had planned to come to Asgard to look for URU metal before, so he would not refuse Thor's invitation. Then, Thor held Jane in his arms and flew towards Asgard. Suk also held Natasha in his arms without hesitation and followed. It was the first time that a man hugged her like this, and in public. Natasha's face immediately turned red, but despite this, she still clung to Suk's chest with a look of enjoyment. Because this was her man. At the same time, no one noticed that in a special unknown space in the Nine Realms, a dark and dilapidated warship was sailing slowly. In the command room of the warship, a man with a very strange appearance suddenly opened his eyes, and then slowly said, I feel it, the ether particles have finally reappeared, the Nine Realms are about to overlap, and the Dark Age is about to come. On the other side, Asgard. When Thor brought Jane, Suk, and others back to Asgard, Thor's mother was already waiting there. Unlike the plot in Thor 2, at this moment, Thor's father Odin is still asleep. Although as the future master of Asgard, Thor has the right to decide everything, but considering Loki's somewhat reckless character, Odin once asked Thor's mother to help Thor manage Asgard before he fell asleep. So when Thor's mother felt that there were outsiders in Asgard, she couldn't help but become curious. It is worth mentioning that Thor's mother is called Frigga. She is not his biological mother, but his adoptive mother. Thor's biological mother is Gaia, the mother of the earth, an almighty god, but for some reason, she is not in Asgard. When he saw Frigga, Thor immediately put Jane down in his arms, then walked in front of Frigga, half knelt on the ground and said mother. This mother instantly made Jane beside Thor a little flustered, and for a while she didn't know how to greet her. Get up. Frigga nodded gently, then looked at Jane beside Thor. To be honest, although Frigga didn't mind Thor dating a human girl, it was obvious that Odin minded it very much. Odin even got very angry when he knew about Thor and Jane. In his opinion, Thor is the future king of Asgard, how can he be with a human? Thinking of this, Frigga sighed softly again, and then said slowly, Thor, you are going against your father's wishes again. Mother. Thor stepped forward and said, no matter what you say, I always think that Jane is my wife for life, but I brought her here this time to seek your help. Alas, knowing that her son was a fool, no one could change his decision. Frigga could only sigh slightly and asked, tell me, what do you need me to do? I don't know the details, so let Suk tell you. Mother, this is Suk. He is a powerful titan, and the one next to him is Natasha, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Earth, and also an Avenger. Thor said, and suddenly turned back to look at Suk and Natasha who were walking in. Titan? When Frigga heard this word, she was shocked. In an instant, she thought of another titan in the universe, Thanos. You know, even Odin, the father of the gods, is extremely afraid of him. Then, Suk brought Natasha to Frigga. Hello. Suk nodded. As the queen of Asgard, if anyone else dared to greet Frigga like this, they would have been kicked out by the guards. But if the person who greeted her like this was a titan, then this method was considered very good. So when Suk greeted her, Frigga bowed slightly and smiled. Hello, it's an honor to meet you. Titans are all crazy, and Frigga didn't want to offend them. Then, after Natasha also greeted her, Suk told her about how he found Jane before, of course not including the fact that he knew that the thing in Jane's body was ether particles. But when she heard this, Frigga became nervous instantly, because as long as it was related to the Dark Elves, it was undoubtedly a big deal. Thor, I feel a little uncomfortable, Suddenly, at this moment, Jane beside Thor began to shake, and before she could finish her words, she suddenly fainted. Jane, what's wrong with you? Seeing this, Thor suddenly panicked. Let me see. Seeing this, Frigga quickly walked to Jane's side and grabbed her wrist. For a moment, everyone saw that there seemed to be a faint black breath flowing on Jane's arm, emitting a strange energy fluctuation, and this energy fluctuation made her feel somewhat familiar. This is impossible. How so? Frigga said in surprise, as if she had realized the true identity of this power. Mother, what's going on? Seeing that Frigga seemed to have seen something, Thor immediately asked anxiously. This is the ether particle, the treasure of the Dark Elves. Frigga said with a serious face. Ether particles? Thor was dumbfounded when he heard this. He really didn't know what was going on. Why did the ether particles enter Jane's body? But then, with Frigga's explanation, everyone understood what was going on. It turned out that in the Dark Age of the universe, the Dark Elves unified the world. Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves, obtained the Space Gem and transformed the Reality Gem in a special way. After the transformation, the Reality Gem became an ether particle. The ether particle is liquid and can convert various substances into dark matter. The ether particle will also look for a host to live in and absorb energy from the host's vitality until the host is completely drained of energy and dies. The ether particle will continue to look for a new host. This means that Jane is about to die. When Thor heard this, he was instantly nervous, but before he could say anything, an explosion suddenly sounded from outside, and then a guard hurried in. Your Majesty the Queen, Your Majesty the Prince, something terrible has happened, the Dark Elves are attacking us again. What? When Frigga heard this, she was immediately shocked, while Thor was furious. Damn the Dark Elves, they actually dare to invade Asgard again? Mother, please take care of Jane, I'm going to fight the Dark Elves. Thor said angrily. Ever since Thor discovered the traces of the Dark Elves have invaded Asgard every once in a while. Although they come in small numbers and are defeated by Thor every time, they don't know why these guys keep coming. And this time, because of Jane's matter, Thor decided to teach the Dark Elves a lesson. The Dark Elves' invasion of Asgard is a matter of concern to the safety of Asgard. Naturally, Frigga didn't dare to say anything, but nodded and said, Don't worry, leave Jane to me, I will take good care of her. After hearing this, Thor walked out with his hammer. At this time, Suk suddenly became interested in the Dark Elves. Natasha, I have to go out and take a look too. You stay here to help the Queen for the time being. I will be back soon, Suke said to Natasha beside him. Be careful. Knowing that this was a serious matter, Natasha could not say much, so she could only remind Suke. Don't worry. With a slight smile, Suk opened a space channel and stepped into it. Then, he appeared beside Thor. Seeing Suk appear, Thor said seriously, Suk, please don't take action later. I hate these guys. I want to beat them back to their lair. No problem. Suk smiled and said, I'm just very interested in these guys, I won't take any action later. At the same time, on the Rainbow Bridge, Heimdall was resisting the aggressive Dark Elves with the Asgard Guardians who came after hearing the news. Asgard is a strange place. No matter where the outsiders come from or how they come in, they will always appear at the Rainbow Bridge. So when the Dark Elves invaded Asgard, they still appeared at the Rainbow Bridge first, and the latest one to contact them was naturally Heimdall. After chopping off the head of a dark elf soldier with a sword, Heimdall shouted to the other Asgard guards who were fighting bloody battles, "Hold on. The prince will be here soon." As soon as he finished speaking, another group of dark elves rushed up. At this moment, Heimdall was extremely nervous. Although Asgard had been invaded by dark elves recently, none of them was so fierce. From a distance, the entire rainbow bridge was almost full of dark elves. A huge crack appeared in the air not far away, and dark elves continued to pour in. What the hell is going on? Heimdall cursed in his heart. At the same time, he began to pray that Thor would show up soon, because facing such a formation, they could not resist. Then, at this moment, the previously chaotic dark elves suddenly calmed down, even the dark elves who attacked Heimdall and others. The entire rainbow bridge suddenly became quiet. He cut the throat of a dark elf with a sword and pushed him off the rainbow bridge. Heimdall then gathered back to back with the others, and then stared at the dark elves in front of him with a nervous look. No one knew what was going on, why the dark elves suddenly stopped attacking. "Look there." Suddenly, a guard in the crowd pointed at the crack in the air and shouted. Heimdall looked up and saw that the crack had become bigger at this moment. Through the crack, he seemed to vaguely see an incredibly huge and dilapidated warship. What's this? At this moment, Heimdall was completely stunned, because if that battleship really came to Asgard, it would definitely bring a devastating blow to Asgard. We must not let that warship enter Asgard. Thinking of this, Heimdall's eyes became tough again. But before he could do anything, a dark light suddenly shone from the warship in the crack, and then a very tall and strong dark elf suddenly walked out. When the other dark elves saw this dark elf, they immediately became very respectful, and even worshipped him. Although I don't know where this dark elf came from, it is obvious that he should be the leader of all dark elves. In other words, as long as this guy is killed, all the dark elves will fall apart. Thinking of this, Heimdall had no hesitation at all, and he roared, "It's that guy. Kill him, the dark elves will be leaderless, and we will win." The guards of Asgard are extremely loyal to Asgard and Thor, like dead soldiers, so when they heard this, everyone rushed over without hesitation. Seeing this, the dark elves were naturally ready to protect their leader at the risk of their lives. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the dark elf gently waved his hand and said, "No, let them come over." As soon as these words came out, all the dark elves stopped doing anything and even made way for Heimdall and the others to pass through. Heimdall was a little surprised because this scene was so weird. However, at this moment, they were about to rush to the dark elf leader. They had no chance to retreat. "Kill." With a roar, a guard rushed forward, raised the big knife in his hand and chopped at the head of the dark elf leader. When the blade was about to hit the head of the dark elf leader, a mocking smile suddenly appeared on the face of the dark elf leader, and then he suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the blade. Almost instantly, a black gas filled with special energy suddenly surged out of his hand, and then quickly wrapped the guard through the big knife, quickly absorbing his vitality. What a waste. After saying this with a sneer, the dark elf leader finally let go of his hand. Then, the black mist dissipated, and a skeleton suddenly fell on the rainbow bridge. When seeing this scene, Heimdall and the other guards were completely stunned and dared not take another step forward, because the guard just now was the best among them. If only in terms of fighting power, he was almost as good as Heimdall, but such a guy was killed so easily by the other party, and even turned into a skeleton? This is not right. In other words, there is something wrong with this dark elf. After looking at the dark elf leader in front of him again, Heimdall suddenly thought of something and shouted in surprise, Are you Malekith?" In Asgard's records about the Dark Elves, it is clearly stated that Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves, possesses power beyond that of other Dark Elves, and can kill and absorb any life through contact. So when Heimdall saw the other party display the power of absorbing life, he immediately guessed his identity. "Haha, I didn't expect it. Someone in Asgard actually knows me," Malekith said with a smile, looking at Heimdall as if he were looking at a dead man. This time, Heimdall was completely upset. Although there were Dark Elves harassing Asgard before, Malekith did not come, so they could deal with it easily. But it was obviously different this time, because the leader of the Dark Elves, Malekith, came. This is a powerful and scary guy. At the same time, Malekith seemed to have suddenly lost interest in Heimdall and the others, and immediately said, "Okay, I don't want to play with these guys anymore, let's kill them." As soon as these words came out, all the Dark Elves surrounded Heimdall and the others again, and danger was imminent. But at this moment, a thunder suddenly sounded in the sky. Boom! Hearing the thunder, Heimdall and others immediately relaxed completely, because they knew that their future king had arrived. "Dark Elves, get out of Asgard." With a roar, Thor landed in front of Heimdall and the others with lightning all over his body. The powerful energy instantly blew away the surrounding Dark Elves. Interesting. Seeing Thor appear, Heimdall was not worried at all, but even had a little interest. Suk stood on the roof of the room where Heimdall was guarding the rainbow bridge, and then looked at everything in front of him with interest. Although Suk did not know Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves, he was keenly aware of the special energy fluctuations on Malekith. His intuition told him that this matter would definitely be very interesting. "My king, be careful, that Dark Elf is not simple, he is Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves." Seeing Thor appear, Heimdall immediately came to Thor's side and reminded him carefully. Malekith? Hearing this name, Thor was a little curious at first, but then he was overwhelmed by Jane's matter. No matter who they are, as long as they are dark elves, they are not allowed to set foot in Asgard. With a roar, Thor immediately ran over quickly. Seeing this, Heimdall and others were also greatly encouraged, and then followed Thor to kill. Under Thor's attack, the dark elves seemed to have no power to fight back at all, and were killed one after another by Thor. However, in the face of all this, Malekith's smile became even stronger. Seeing this, Suk immediately shook his head again, because he knew that Thor was afraid of suffering a great loss. When Thor was about to approach him, Malekith said to the two dark elves beside him, "Go, let Asgard see our true power, tell them that this world, after all, belongs to us." Hearing this, the two dark elves nodded immediately, and then each took out a black gem from their arms. This is the Cursed Stone, a gem made based on ether fragments, which can turn the dark elves into cursed warriors, and the power of the cursed warriors is almost 3 times more than Thor's power. However, because this kind of thing is difficult to extract, only a few dark elves have it. Then, without the slightest hesitation, the two dark elves crushed the Cursed Stone in their hands. In an instant, a black breath began to surge out of the Cursed Stone, and then quickly drilled into the bodies of the two dark elves. The bodies of the dark elves began to burn rapidly, and then suddenly with a bang, a burst of black power broke out. Roar! Roar! As two roars sounded, the two dark elves had already transformed into cursed warriors. Their appearance had also changed drastically, like demons. Seeing this, Suk-hei touched his chin with interest again. Then, two dark elves suddenly rushed towards Thor and others, like tanks. What kind of monster is this? When Thor saw the cursed warrior in front of him, he was surprised, but the next second, he raised the hammer in his hand again. "No matter what monsters you are, I will defeat you." Roar. Thor only got a roar in response. Relying on the power of Thor's hammer, Thor easily defeated a cursed warrior, but another cursed warrior took the opportunity to pounce on him and knocked Thor to the ground. Even Thor's hammer fell off the rainbow bridge. How is this possible? When seeing this scene, Thor was surprised, and even Heimdall and others were completely stunned. No one could believe what was happening before their eyes. A mere monster could actually defeat Thor by its own strength. This was unprecedented. But such a thing was happening in front of all of them at this moment. Damn it! After coming to their senses, Heimdall and the others reacted quickly and rushed towards the two cursed warriors without hesitation. But it was obvious that even Thor couldn't defeat the enemy, so how could they be opponents? After just a moment, the cursed warriors defeated all of them, and even Heimdall couldn't get up. Looking at this scene from a distance, Suk shook his head helplessly. Sure enough, he still had to take action in the end. Then, without any hesitation, Suk opened a space channel and stepped out. He suddenly appeared in front of the two cursed warriors. At this moment, the two cursed warriors were still pressing Thor hard on the rainbow bridge. Thor's hammer was nowhere to be found. Heimdall and others were almost on their last breath. In the surprised eyes of all the dark elves, Suk looked at Thor, who was pressed on the rainbow bridge, and said, "How is it? Are you sure you don't want my help now?" "No. I take back what I said just now. Suk, please help me." Though Thor is a man who cares about face, he also considers the situation. As for the current situation, if it continues like this, the Dark Elves will sooner or later conquer Asgard, which is not what he wants to see. He still knows what is important and what is not. What's going on? Who is this guy? Where did he come from? Just then, someone in the Dark Elf team suddenly shouted. Malekith was a little curious about Suk's appearance, but then he suddenly didn't care, because he believed that in front of the cursed warrior, anyone's resistance was futile, of course, including the guy in front of him. Kill him. With a cold look in his eyes, Malekith began to give orders to the cursed warriors and all the Dark Elves. "Kill me? You really overestimate your own abilities?" With a sneer in his heart, Suk's eyes suddenly turned cold. In an instant, a powerful aura suddenly spread from his body to the surroundings, like a volcanic eruption. Wherever the aura passed, all the Dark Elves fainted, and only Malekith and two cursed warriors could barely stand up. Tens of thousands of Dark Elves on the Rainbow Bridge were killed by Suk in seconds. This is the most practical function of the Overlord Haki. What's going on? Why this happened? Malekith panted and said in disbelief. When he looked at Suk again, he had a look of shock on his face. He had encountered many powerful enemies and experienced countless cruel wars in his life, but he had never encountered such a strange and powerful enemy. The man in front of him did nothing but killed almost all the soldiers around him. This is simply unbelievable. Malekith began to feel a little scared. "Come back." Then at this moment, Thor suddenly shouted again, and in the blink of an eye, his hammer suddenly flew up from under the Rainbow Bridge, and then fell steadily in his hand. The moment he got Thor's hammer, Thor immediately smashed the two cursed warriors one by one, and then both fell in front of Malekith. After what happened just now, Thor was furious at this moment, and he had discovered that although these two cursed warriors were stronger than him, they had no actual combat experience and could not withstand the attack of Thor's hammer. After figuring out the weaknesses of the cursed warriors, Thor would never lose to them again. "Malekith, I will beat you back to your world." Staring at Malekith not far away, Thor roared angrily. "People from the gods' realm, don't be so arrogant. Don't think that Asgard will be completely safe just because you find someone to help you. Asgard will not be safe until I get what belongs to me. Wait, I will come again." Malekith said, and suddenly turned and left. Then, a black beam of energy suddenly shone on him and the two cursed warriors. It's not that easy to leave? Without the slightest hesitation, Thor threw the Thor's hammer in his hand, but what he didn't expect was that the Thor's hammer that hit Malekith was blocked by a cursed warrior with his body. When the Thor's hammer returned to Thor's hand again, Malekith's figure had completely disappeared on the Rainbow Bridge. At the same time, countless things similar to grenades suddenly fell from a small spaceship in the air. Bang! The moment the grenade landed on the ground, a huge black hole suddenly appeared, instantly sucking an Asgard guard in. Prince. Before he could say a word, the guard disappeared into the black hole. In an instant, the black hole suddenly disappeared again. Then, countless black holes began to explode in the surroundings, and then continuously sucked other people or dark elves into the black holes. Even Heimdall was no exception. What's going on? Is it the secret weapon of the dark elves? Thor was going crazy when he saw this. If these people died on the battlefield, their death would be the best honor. But if they were killed inexplicably by a strange weapon, their death would be too absurd. Without any hesitation, Thor looked at Suk nervously and said, "Suk, please save them? If there is anyone here who can save them, it must be you. I hope." Thor hadn't finished speaking when a grenade suddenly exploded behind him. Bang! A black hole appeared and instantly sucked Thor in. Shit! When Suk saw this, he was completely speechless. He never thought that the Dark Elves' weapons would be so powerful that even Thor was hit. Without any hesitation, Suk reached out and tried to grab Thor, but he was still a step too late. In an instant, Thor was swallowed by the darkness. Damn it! Suk cursed in his heart, and without hesitation, he ran into a black hole that had just exploded. Although Suk and Thor's relationship was not very good, they were still ordinary friends. So when he saw Thor was in danger, Suk was ready to take action. However, because he didn't know which space was connected behind the black hole, Suk could only look for it in those exploded black holes by himself. I hope they are still alive. If they are dead, there is nothing I can do, Suk thought with some pain. Because the Dark Elves were Thor's own business, Suk did not intervene too much in this matter. As a result, he did not expect that such a thing would happen in the end. As soon as he entered the black hole, there was an endless darkness in an instant, but of course, this darkness did not block Suk's sight, and Suk could still see clearly. Looking around, Suk saw countless people floating in the darkness. These people included dark elves, other alien races, and of course many dead aliens. Seeing this, Suk immediately understood that it seemed that his guess was right. The black holes blown up by the dark elves with grenades were indeed all connected to a space, and those dead aliens were killed by them with grenades before. It must be said that although the dark elves are ugly, their strength is still very strong. Whether it is the previous cursed warriors or space grenades, Thor and others cannot deal with it. After figuring this out, Suk began to look for Thor and others in the crowd again. There is no air in the black, and it is extremely cold. As the god of Asgard, Thor should be able to survive in this space, but it is obvious that Heimdall and others do not have this ability. If Suk doesn't find Heimdall and the others as soon as possible, I'm afraid these guys will die. Soon, Suk finally saw a familiar figure. Heimdall? As for why he found Heimdall first, it was because his golden armor was too conspicuous. From a distance, it looked like a pile of gold. It was hard not to notice him. Suk quickly flew to Heimdall and found that Heimdall was not dead yet. When he saw him coming, he even blinked. With a slight smile, Suk immediately opened a huge space channel on the side, and the other end of the space channel was connected to the Rainbow Bridge. Then, he picked up Heimdall and threw him out. Soon, Suk found the second Asgard guard and threw him out again. The third, the fourth, the fifth. Soon, all the Asgard guards who were sucked into the black hole were thrown out by Suk, and these guys were lucky enough to survive. Climbing up again, looking through the space channel at Suk who was looking for Thor in the black hole, Heimdall and the others felt guilty. Once upon a time, they always hated this man because he was a titan and had threatened them before, but what about now? This man not only saved their lives, but also saved Asgard. He was simply the savior of Asgard? Thinking of their previous attitude towards Suk, Heimdall, and others really regretted it. At the same time, in the black hole, Suk searched for a long time but still couldn't find Thor. Just when he thought Thor was dead, the system's voice suddenly rang. Ding! An unknown energy body is found ahead. The energy intensity cannot be estimated. Host, please be careful. What? When Suk heard this, he became curious. How powerful must it be to be an energy body with an estimated energy intensity as described by the system? Curious, Suk flew in the direction indicated by the system without any hesitation. At the same time, he had another thought in his mind, and then closed the space channel that had been opened before. While searching for the unknown energy body, Suk asked again, System, how do you think I compare to that unknown energy body? Ding! Please respect yourself, host. With your current strength, you cannot compare with that energy body. If you must say, the energy body is about 100 times stronger than you. Then the system's voice sounded again, 100 times? Upon hearing this, Suk was stunned instantly. You know, this is 100 times. Doesn't this mean that the energy body can beat 100 of himself? What is this concept? Because he got 4 infinite gems, Suk's current strength has reached a whole new level. He is almost omnipotent. It is only a thought to destroy a planet. But even for such a person, there is something that is 100 times stronger than him. Is this possible? I am afraid that the four great gods of creation, devouring stars, eternity, annihilation, and death, all added together do not have this ability? What the hell is this? For a moment, Sokei's heart became nervous. Although he knew that there might be some danger ahead that even he could not deal with, he still rushed forward without hesitation, and even forgot to look for Thor. He urgently wanted to know what that energy body was. Not long after, a large group of corpses suddenly appeared in front of Sokei. Sokei wanted to avoid the group of corpses, but what he didn't expect was that the energy body referred to by the system was actually in this group of corpses. There was no way, Sokei could only rush in. Then, a very special-looking corpse suddenly appeared in front of Sokei. The reason why he was special was that compared to other alien corpses, he looked more like a human being, and was well preserved. From a distance, he looked like a living person. There seemed to be some special energy around him, which prevented other corpses from approaching. Could the so-called energy body be a corpse? Sokei thought with some surprise. System, help me identify this body. Without any hesitation, Sokei ordered the system. Ding. Query in progress, please wait. Ding. Search completed. This corpse is called the Transcendent, from the Transcendent realm outside the multiverse. Ding. Warning. Warning. This corpse is extremely dangerous, please leave as soon as possible. For a while, the system's voices rang one after another, and at the end it actually began to warn Sokei. You know, this is unprecedented. Sokei was already completely stunned. This is Transcendent. Sokei never thought that the corpse in front of him would be a Transcendent. A guy who is awesome in the Marvel Universe. A truly invincible guy. See more sangtakviet.com. Transcendent is an omniscient and omnipotent being, described as the strongest being in the Marvel Universe, coming from the Transcendent realm outside the multiverse. Compared to the multiverse and the Transcendent realm, the multiverse is like a drop of water in the ocean. He is millions of times more powerful than all the strong men in the multiverse combined. He once gave many people powerful superpowers and asked them to kill him, but all of them failed. He once gave Jean Grey all the power of the Phoenix to kill himself, but Jean also failed. Doctor Strange once tried to hypnotize the Transcendent and bring him to a place where the Transcendent would theoretically not appear again, but there is no doubt that he also failed. In the entire Marvel Universe, the Transcendent is second only to OAA, and OAA is similar to Tau in the Marvel Universe, and is undoubtedly the most powerful existence. When the Transcendent was at its strongest, he was even stronger than OAA. The Transcendent's abilities include modifying reality, erasing it at will, and creating and destroying the universe. For the Transcendent, ordinary powers and abilities seem indescribable, and his strength can only be reflected in analogies. In front of him, no matter whether it is the eternal gods, the celestials, or even the incorporeal gods, they are nothing more than a drop of water in his eyes. The only one who can compete with him in the Marvel Universe is probably OAA. Apart from OAA, there is no one else. Even Thanos, who possesses the heart of the universe, is not good enough in the eyes of the Transcendent. Then, Sokei suddenly thought of the description of the Transcendent. Time and space have no meaning to him. Here he comes, the Transcendent. From mountains to oceans, from fish to elephants, from molecules to atoms, none of them escaped his control and enslavement. Yes, he manipulated all the molecules, atoms, animals, plants, rocks, and oceans on the earth. Even if I don't understand the multiverse, every time I appear, it will affect him. I am the champion of life, which means the strongest evolution of all life forms. The entire multiverse is just like a drop of water in Wang Yang's ocean to the Transcendent. I can be as strong as I want. I am omnipotent. The strongest existence in the entire multiverse is like a microorganism in my eyes. Whatever I say, the world is what it is. That's right, what appeared in front of Sokei at this moment was such an invincible existence, and it was truly invincible. No wonder the system warned Sokei just now, because this guy is too dangerous. But then again, since the Transcendent is such an awesome existence, why did he die? And he died in the black hole created by the Dark Elves, which is obviously unscientific. Could it be that this guy is not actually dead? Thinking of this, Sokei's eyes suddenly became blank again. As if sensing Sokei's thoughts, the system immediately reminded him. Host, don't worry. According to the test, the energy body in front of the host is indeed dead. But this is impossible. Sokei said confusedly. The Transcendent is almost the strongest existence in the entire Marvel Universe. Who can kill him? Ding. Because the Transcendent has been dead for too long, the system cannot query it. The system replied. Damn, what about the promise to look for the system when there are difficulties? Sokei couldn't help but complain in his heart. But although the system couldn't query it, he had a way. Reaching out his hand, a magic circle immediately appeared on Sokei's wrist. This was the power of the Time Stone. That's right, Sokei was going to use the power of the Time Stone to figure out how the Transcendent died. After all, the Transcendent was the most powerful existence in the Marvel Universe, and his death really surprised Sokei. Then, under the power of the Time Stone, time and space began to distort, and everything around Sokei was undergoing special and strange changes. It was obvious that he was traveling through time, and it was not a short time travel. About 1 billion years after traveling, Sokei stopped. OAA. I heard that you are the supreme being in the multiverse, so can I ask you for a favor? The black hole before his eyes blurred, and it disappeared without a trace, replaced by a chaotic world. There was nothing in this world, only a blonde man standing in the void, and then he looked at a golden figure in the air and spoke. There is no doubt that the golden figure is the strongest being in the Marvel universe. OAA, your existence is very dangerous to this universe. If you are willing to leave this universe, then I will help you, OAA said with a tone full of majesty. Very good. The Transcendent nodded first, and then said, from the birth of the universe to the present, I have lived for countless years, and at the same time, I have destroyed and created countless universes and planets. Countless strong men have been defeated by me. I feel that my life has no meaning, but among all the people I know, they can't kill me, or even hurt me, so OAA, I hope you can kill me and let me get permanent peace. Damn, what's going on? Aren't the Traversers killed by others, but died voluntarily? Suke frowned, unable to understand such a thing. Then, OAA Ran shook his head gently, and then said slowly, Transcendent, I'm sorry, for now, even I can't kill you, because your power is almost equal to mine, and I can't kill the existence equal to me. I'm sorry, I can't help you. After saying this, OAA's figure immediately disappeared into the air. Looking at OAA's figure, the Transcender's eyes suddenly dimmed. Endless life, invincible strength, almighty power, in the eyes of others, these may be what they dream of, but in his opinion, these are just things that bind him, making him not even have the right to think about peace. In the next second, the Transcender seemed to have thought of something, and then suddenly, another him appeared in front of him. The difference was that the other him did not seem to have any powerful power, and even did not have the ability to fly and breathe in the universe, and he had no consciousness. That's it, zero. With a slight smile, the Transcendent suddenly closed his eyes, and then transferred his consciousness to another body. Then, another Transcendent suddenly fell down quickly. When Suke saw this, he was a little confused. He never thought that the Transcendent actually committed suicide. Isn't this a bit too bloody? Fila reminds you, 3 things to do when reading, collect, recommend. See more sangtakviet.com. As the second most invincible existence in the Marvel Universe after OAA, the Transcendent chose to commit suicide to end his eternal life. In Suke's opinion, this kind of thing is really too fucking nonsense. In order to further confirm this matter, Suke flew down quickly again. He needed to confirm whether the Transcendence was really dead. At this moment, Suke suddenly discovered that the Transcendence who was falling down seemed to see him and even smiled at him. Go, stranger, if you want, take away all the power in that body. I hope you will not be like me and end your eternal life in this way. You will become the new Transcendent, you will be above the multiverse and become the only Transcendent in this world. You will be far more powerful than you can imagine. The Transcendent smiled and looked at Suk, as if explaining something. Suk was stunned. He didn't expect that even without his own power, the Transcendent could still sense his existence and even talk to him. Then, a special cosmic energy suddenly struck, and then completely strangled the Transcendent into cosmic dust. 000. The Transcendent died completely. But for Suke, it all seemed like a dream. In any case, Suke's goal has been achieved. He waved his hand casually, and the power of the time stone disappeared. Suke immediately returned to the previous black hole, and what appeared in front of him was still the body of the Transcendent. When he looked at the body of the Transcendent again, Suke's eyes suddenly showed a hint of desire, because according to what the Transcendent had said before he died, he seemed to have left all his strength in this body, which means that this body has almost all the power of the Transcendent? Coupled with what the Transcendent had said to him before, Suke began to feel that the power of the Transcendent seemed to be specially prepared for him. Unlike the Transcendent, even if he had obtained the most invincible power, Suk would not be stupid enough to die, because in his opinion, there were too many things in this world worth lingering on, and the Transcendent was simply a weirdo, Agzib. No matter what, the power of the Transcendent is his. Even according to what the Transcendent said before, if he really mastered the power of the Transcendent, then he would be the new Transcendent. As long as he can master the power of the Transcendent, the Infinity Stones are nothing. The heart of the universe is also nothing. In front of the Transcendent, these two powers are useless. Thinking of this, Suke had no hesitation at all, and flew over immediately. Although there was a force around the Transcendent that blocked him, Rick, relying on the Power Stone, easily broke this force. Then, he finally came to the body of the Transcendent. System, help me check if there is any consciousness in this body. If there is, remember to help me kill it. In short, I hope this body is completely dead. Suke said slowly. Although he had seen the Transcendent die before, he came back. This guy is close to OAA. Who knows if he is completely dead? Suke is unwilling to do something he is not sure of. Since he is going to do it, he must do it to the end. Ding! Detecting the body of the Transcendent requires 1 million system points. Do you want to continue? The system's voice sounded. Undoubtedly, 1 million system points is a very large number. You know, Suke has only accumulated less than 1,200,000 system points so far. This will almost make him go back to the pre-liberation era overnight. However, despite this, Suke still decided to continue. Because compared with the power of the Transcendent, such a small number of system points is simply not enough. Continue. Ding! Points payment is successful. Checking in progress. Please wait. Ding! The test is completed, and no consciousness is found in the body of the Transcendent. The system concludes that the Transcendent is 100% dead and can never be resurrected. With the sound of the system, Suk breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was delighted. He didn't expect that he would have such an encounter when he came to Asgard this time. He had to thank Malekith. If it weren't for him, he would not be able to find the body of the Transcendent, let alone get the power of the Transcendent. Well, I'd better leave him a whole body when we meet next time. Thinking of this, Sook smiled again, and then carefully placed the body of the Transcendent in the system space. The energy possessed by the Transcendent's body is really too powerful. With Sook's current strength, he can't control it at all, so this kind of thing can only be said slowly, and Sook has a more important task at the moment, which is to find Thor in this black hole. In this way, Sook began to wander in the black hole again. Soon, he saw Thor floating in the black hole. Of course, Thor was in a much better situation than Heimdall and the others. He casually opened a space channel, grabbed Thor's collar, and took Thor across. Then, the two of them appeared on the Rainbow Bridge in an instant. Heimdall and the others who were waiting anxiously on the side quickly came over and helped Thor up. It's okay, do not bother me. Thor waved his hands and said weakly. Although he could survive in a black hole, it would be very exhausting. After just a short while, he already felt very exhausted. After a short recovery, Thor looked at Sook with gratitude and said, Sook, thank you so much for what happened before. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid Asgard would really fall. On behalf of the entire Asgard, I thank you for your help. Thor said, and suddenly raised his right fist and hit his chest, then bowed to Sook. As for Heimdall and others behind Thor, they half knelt on the ground. This is almost the highest etiquette in Asgard. Obviously, Sook has become the savior of Asgard. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download for Luciao. Looking at Thor, Heimdall, and others in front of him, Sook just smiled and said, okay, you're welcome. This is just a piece of cake for me. This time in Asgard, Sook actually found the Transcendent and obtained the power of the Transcendent. This is really good news for him, so at this moment, he is in a very good mood. Then, Sook suddenly thought of something, and when he looked around, he saw that the Dark Elves who had fallen on the Rainbow Bridge before had disappeared. What's going on? Where are those guys? Sook asked curiously. Just now, the Dark Elves sent out a lot of spaceships, and then used tractor beams to take away all the Dark Elves. We were exhausted and couldn't stop them. We are sorry. Hyldum said apologetically. So that's the case. Sook heard this and just nodded thoughtfully, and then he didn't care. Anyway, this matter had nothing to do with him. Then, Thor suddenly looked at Heimdall and said, Heimdall, don't blame yourself. This time we underestimated the Dark Elves, but next time, the Dark Elves will not have another chance. We will definitely defeat them. Faced with Thor's encouragement, Heimdall instantly became excited again. He looked at Thor with a firm face and said, don't worry, my king, I will never allow such a thing to happen again. Next, Heimdall took the guards to continue to guard the Rainbow Bridge, and Sook took Thor back to the palace of Asgard. A space channel suddenly appeared in the palace of Asgard, and then Sook and Thor walked out. Thor, are you okay? When Frigga saw Thor for the first time, she walked over with a worried look on her face. Natasha followed closely behind, and she was relieved to see that Sook was okay. Forcing a smile, Thor said, don't worry, mother. We have defeated Malekith and his Dark Elf army, and it's all thanks to Sook. If it weren't for him, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to come back to see you. Frigga was a little surprised when she heard this, and then nodded to Sook with gratitude. Thank you for all you do for us. You're welcome. With a slight smile, Sook walked to Jane's side and asked, how about extracting the ether particles in Jane's body? Ever since he got the power of the Transcendent, Sook didn't have much desire for the Infinity Stones. But then again, the power of the Transcendent is difficult to master. In a short period of time, the effect of the Infinity Stones is still very large. If he can get the Infinity Stones, Sook will naturally not be polite. But when hearing this, Frigga shook her head gently, and said, no, the ether particles are a very powerful substance, and I simply cannot extract it from Jane's body. The only one who can do this is probably Thor's father Odin. I have decided to wake up Odin, but it will take some time to wake up Odin. Before that, all we can do is try our best to maintain Jane's life. Simple. As soon as these words came out, Thor looked at Jane with a worried look on his face. Although he was a little disappointed that he couldn't get the ether particles, when he thought of the power of the Transcendent, Sook didn't care anymore. Apart from anything else, as long as he could master 1% of the power of the Transcendent, he would have the power to surpass all the Infinity Stones. Compared with the power of the Transcendent, the ether particles in Jian's body were really not worth mentioning. Okay, let's wait until Odin wakes up before we talk about Jane. Tony, don't be too sad, your father can definitely save Jane. After comforting Thor briefly, Sook suddenly thought of something and asked, by the way, where is Loki? Where is he? Seeing Sook mention Loki, Thor became angry again. Loki, this cowardly guy, when I went to find him before, he actually told me that if the Dark Elves really came to attack Asgard, then the dungeon would be the safest place, and he would never come out. Similarly, he would not help me fight against the Dark Elves. Really? Hearing this, Sook sneered again. It seemed that Loki was itching for trouble again. After greeting Thor and others, Sook immediately asked a guard to take him to the dungeon. Unlike dungeons in other places, the dungeons in Asgard can be said to be very luxurious. It seems that the prisoners here live quite well, and as the Prince of Asgard, Loki's room is naturally the best. When he came to Loki's cell, Sook smiled and greeted him. Loki, long time no see. In the cell, Loki was reading a book leisurely when he heard a sound. He looked up and was startled. He didn't even know where the book in his hand was. Why are you here? Loki asked in surprise. Don't be so surprised. If I want to go somewhere, who do you think can stop me? Suke said softly, then opened a space channel, stepped into it, and instantly appeared in Loki's cell. What do you want to do? This is Asgard. Although you are a Titan, my father Odin is very powerful. If you dare to hurt me, my father will never let you go, Loki said nervously as he leaned towards the wall. It is obvious that Loki has a psychological trauma on Suk. Okay, don't be nervous. I'm not here to cause you any trouble. I just want to ask you to leave here. Of course, if you don't want to leave, then I don't mind doing something else. Although Suke said these words with a smile, Loki's hair stood on end. Because he knew that if he refused Suke, his fate would be very miserable. See more sangtakviet.com. Then, without the slightest hesitation, Loki immediately showed a harmless smile and said, as you wish, I'm a little bored staying here, I'll go out with you. Very good. Nodding slightly, Suke opened another space channel and stepped in, and then Loki followed closely behind. With one step, the two of them instantly arrived at the palace of Asgard, and at this time, Thor and Frigga were still guarding Jane. Loki. Thor became furious when he saw Loki for the first time. He rushed to Loki, lifted Loki up, and said angrily, how dare you come out, you coward. You should be locked up in the dungeon forever. Because of Suk's 000, Loki didn't dare to say anything impudent. He could only smile and said, dear brother, you have to think it over clearly. In Asgard, no one knows the Dark Elves better than me. With my help, we can definitely protect Asgard better. Of course, if you don't want to, then I have nothing to say. Okay, Thor, put Loki down, I believe he is here to help. Then, Frigga on the side suddenly spoke again. After hearing this, Thor put Loki down, but there was still some anger in his eyes. Obviously, he was really disappointed with Loki. As for what Loki would say or do next, Suk didn't care anymore, because with Loki's help, the Dark Elves should not be able to continue to invade Asgard. After greeting Thor, Suk took Natasha to the room that Frigga had prepared for them before. This is a room located in the Asgard Palace. It is very spacious and bright, full of Asgard's unique exotic style everywhere, and you can open the window directly, seeing all the scenery of Asgard. After walking around the room, Natasha was as happy as a child. After getting the body of the Beyonder, Suk actually wanted to take it back to Earth immediately to study and absorb his power. After all, this is Asgard, and it is not very convenient to do such a thing here. However, seeing Natasha's happy face, Suk finally decided to stay here for a few days. That night, Thor entertained Suk and Natasha in the Asgard Palace and thanked them for all they had done for Asgard. After eating and drinking, Suk returned to the room. Naturally, he couldn't help but have a good exercise with Natasha. I have to say, it really feels special when doing exercise in this exotic atmosphere. In the next few days, Natasha began to travel around Asgard. She was no longer an Avenger or a SHIELD agent, but just a tourist on Earth. And Suk was not idle either. He found Thor and told Thor that he needed some URU metal. URU metal is the strongest attribute in the Marvel Universe. Although Asgard is very rich, the storage of URU metal is still very low. However, Thor has never been a stingy person. In addition to everything Suk has done for Asgard before, Thor almost did not hesitate to give Suk 100 kilograms of URU. This is a considerable amount of money, but of course, as the Prince of Asgard, this is not worth mentioning. With URU metal, Suk's next step is to forge it. After all, Elena is not strong enough to transfer herself to a piece of metal. According to Thor's guidance, Suk found the dwarves. The dwarves live in a place called Nidav, which is more accurately a star ring rather than a planet. There were originally more than 300 dwarves who were loyal to Asgard, protected by Asgard, and made weapons specifically for Asgard. Thor's hammer, axe, and infinity gauntlet were all made by the dwarves. For many people, this place is a legend. The magic weapons they forged are invincible. However, when Suk appeared here, there was only deathly silence, just like when Thor and others came here in Avengers 3. Obviously, Thanos has been here. Walking on the ruins, Suk was speechless again, because he did not expect that the dwarves would be destroyed by Thanos so quickly. His only hope now was that the dwarf King Itri was still alive, because among all the dwarves, this guy was the best at forging. After walking a few steps, a huge figure suddenly appeared in the darkness not far away, and then almost instantly, the figure rushed towards Suke quickly. Suk frowned, not expecting to encounter such a thing as soon as he arrived here. Then he punched over without even looking, and instantly blasted the huge figure and everything around him away. Then, as if it had hit some switch, the surroundings suddenly became bright, and the huge figure finally revealed his true face. Dwarf King Itri? This guy is still alive? And it is similar to the record in the movie. This guy's body is really huge, about 10 meters tall. It is really hard to understand why they are called dwarves. After being blown away by Suk's punch, Itri finally climbed up from the ruins, and then panted and said, no matter who you are not welcome here, please leave here quickly. Suk was not angry when he heard this, but slowly walked to Itri's side, and then slowly said, why? Is this how the dwarves entertain guests? Dwarves? Where are the dwarves? I am the only dwarf here, and I am a useless person. No matter what you want, you have come to the wrong place. I can't help you at all, Itri said, and then raised his hands with a wry smile. At just one glance, Suk saw that Itri's hands seemed to be frozen by someone, like iron bars. This was done by Thanos. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Xiao. If I'm not mistaken, you and Asgard should have an agreement. Asgard should protect you. Why don't you ask them for help? Then Suke asked again. The enemy came too fast, we didn't have time to ask them for help, and when they left, they destroyed all the equipment here. How can I contact them, etc.? How do you know all this? Are you an Asgardian? Eitri said, and suddenly he was shocked again. Then, without waiting for Suk to explain, he suddenly roared at Suk. Asgardians, we have an agreement. You should protect us instead of watching us being destroyed. You have failed us? You. Don't get me wrong, although I did come from Asgard, I am not an Asgardian. I am a Titan, and the guy who killed all your people before is my brother. Before Eitri finished speaking, Suk suddenly interrupted him. When he heard this, Eitri was completely stunned, and the look in his eyes when he looked at Suk was full of shock. After a moment, he suddenly smiled helplessly again, and then said, what? Isn't it enough to kill all my people, destroy my planet, and even destroy my hands? Now Thanos sends his brother to kill me? Well, it's a very painful thing to live here alone anyway, I might as well go and reunite with my people, come on. As Eitri spoke, he suddenly closed his eyes and made a dying look. Obviously, he thought Suk was here to kill him. Seeing this, Suk first shook his head helplessly, and then he said, I'm not here to kill you. On the contrary, I'm here to seek your help. I need you to build a battle armor for me. Impossible. Eitri refused without thinking. I will not make equipment for Titans anymore. Titans are all crazy. You can kill me, but I won't help you. Why don't you ask me what I need the armor for? Suke didn't get angry, just smiled and asked. What does this have to do with me? You can kill me or chop me up as you like, but I can't help you. Eitri said stubbornly. But at this time, Suk didn't pay much attention to Eitri, and didn't care whether he agreed or not, and said directly, what if I tell you that the reason I need the armor is because I want to kill my brother Thanos? When Eitri heard this, he was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head and said, this is impossible, you must be lying to me. Is it necessary? As long as I am willing, do you think you have a chance to resist me? Suke said, and suddenly stretched out his hand, and then a yellow gem appeared in front of Eitri. This is the Mind Stone. With just one glance, Eitri recognized the Mind Stone. At the same time, he also understood why Suk had said that before. Relying on the power of the Mind Stone, Suk could directly control himself and ask himself to do anything for him, but he did not do so. This was enough to show that Suk had not lied before. And Eitri could see that Suk possessed very powerful strength, even no worse than his brother Thanos. People with such powerful strength simply disdain to lie, because they can do anything with strength alone, and they don't need lies to achieve their goals. After a brief silence, Eitri slowly said, what you said just now about killing Thanos, is this true? After all, he is your brother. I'm not in the mood to joke with you, but you should be able to tell that I'm not lying, right? Don't worry, unlike Thanos, I've always been fair. Consider this as a deposit I give you. After the job is done, no matter what you need, I can satisfy you. As he spoke, Suk's eyes suddenly turned red again, and then a scorching light emanated from Suk's eyes, directly hitting Eitri's frozen hands. After Eitri made the Infinity Gauntlet for Thanos, in order to prevent the dwarves from making weapons for others, Thanos mercilessly killed all of Eitri's people. Although he let Eitri go, he froze Eitri's hands, making him like a useless person. Eitri originally thought that this was the only way he could live his life, but when he saw that the ice that had frozen his hands had begun to melt, hope suddenly ignited in his heart again. Bang! Soon, with a crisp sound, a large piece of ice fell to the ground, and Eitri's hands finally reappeared in front of Eitri. After moving his fingers, Eitri immediately laughed. He hasn't been like this for a long time. When he looked at Suk again, Eitri's eyes suddenly became tough. Tell me, what do you need? As long as you can really kill Thanos, I will build anything for you, and I promise that it will be the strongest in the universe. Eitri said with a firm face. Very good. After nodding first, Suk took out the 100 kilograms of URU metal that Thor had given him before, and then said, I need a battle armor that will never be destroyed. Is this URU? It seems that you have a very special relationship with the Asgardians. This kind of thing is hard to come by. Eitri picked up the URU metal and took a look at it, saying with some emotion. At the same time, he finally had no doubts about Suk, because if Suk was really an unforgivable villain like his brother Thanos, then Thor would never give him so many URU. With a slight smile, Suk said again, how about it? Can we start now? Not yet. When Thanos destroyed this place, he destroyed all the main equipment and energy. I don't have the equipment and energy to smelt Ulu, and smelting Ulu requires energy as strong as a star. But I'm sorry, the previous star was also destroyed, so I have to find energy that can smelt Ulu first. Eitri said. When Suk heard this, he suddenly thought of something and smiled. What if I tell you that I have more powerful energy than a star? Ulu is the strongest metal, and also the most difficult to smelt. Under normal circumstances, it must be smelted at the core temperature of a star. However, it is obvious that energy is not a problem for Suk at the moment. You must know that Suk's body currently stores the power of the Phoenix, chaos magic, the energy of the sun, and the dark power of Dormammu, and of course the millions of stars of the Sentinels. If all these powers are added together, the energy of the stars is nothing, not to mention that there is a transcendent in Suk's system space. The energy in him is not just as simple as 100 or 100,000 stars. Then, in the surprised eyes of Etri, Suk suddenly stretched out his hand, and then an energy ball began to condense quickly in his hand, which included the power of the Phoenix, chaos magic, the dark power of Dormammu, the power of millions of stars of the Sentinels, and a little power from the Transcendent. When the energy ball was completely condensed, not only was Etri stunned, but even Suk was extremely shocked. Although he had just added a little bit of the power of the Transcendent, the energy displayed by this energy ball was more than 10 times stronger than before. Damn, isn't the power of the Transcendent a bit too strong? Suk couldn't help but complain. Then, Etri finally spoke. What kind of power is this? I have never felt such a powerful force. Compared with this kind of energy, the energy of the stars is simply not worth mentioning. Etri said in surprise. This is a combination of the most powerful forces in the universe. You may not understand even if I tell you. In a word, tell me whether this energy ball can melt Wulu. Suke said. Of course. Please wait for me. After saying this excitedly, Yaitri immediately ran to a pile of machines, took out a device box that looked very special, and then returned to Suk. This is a device box we made before, which can store any energy. Please put the energy ball here. Through this device, this energy ball can provide energy for everything here. When saying this, Yaitri was so excited that he was like a 10-meter tall dwarf. Suk didn't care how Etri used the energy ball, nor did he care what Etri would do with it. Anyway, he could make such energy balls anytime and anywhere. He only cared about the armor, so without any hesitation, Suk put the energy ball into the device. Carefully holding the device in front of a pile of seemingly sophisticated machines, Etri carefully placed the device into a groove and pressed the switch. In an instant, a stream of energy began to be transmitted to various places through the device, and soon, bursts of mechanical operation sounds rang out. Suk's energy ball has begun to provide energy for everything here. The energy issue has been resolved, and the next issue is the armor template. After choosing from all the templates provided by Etri, Suk finally chose a set of black and gold armor templates. Regarding the appearance of the armor, Suk actually didn't have any requirements, because as long as Elena was there, the appearance of the armor could be changed at any time. However, seeing that Etri had taken out all the templates, he finally chose the one he liked more. After choosing, Suk thought of something again, and then looked at Etri on the side and said, "How many armors can be cast with the URU metal I brought?" Etri thought about it first, and then said, "It can probably make 6 sets of armor, and the rest I can cast into weapons for you. No, I only need 1 set of armor, and you can also forge 5 sets of women's armor for me. For weapons, you can forge them like this." Then, Suk started to select the ladies' armor models and weapon models. Since there was so much surplus Ulu metal, Suk naturally had to consider his women. He planned to forge a set of armor for each of them in case of emergency, and of course, their own weapons. After all, the Marvel world was too dangerous. As for Suk, he naturally didn't need any weapons, because he himself was the strongest weapon. Soon, Itri threw Ulu into the smelting furnace, and then the previous energy ball began to work. Not long after, Ulu melted into something like molten iron. With Itri constantly busying himself, Suk soon saw what he wanted. It was a set of black armor shining with golden light. It seemed that it was smelted by many kinds of energy, so there was a burst of special energy from time to time on the armor, which made Suk really excited. Then, without any hesitation, Suk took out his mobile phone and called softly, "Elena, go." After this period of time, the relationship between Suk and Elena has become very close. There are some things that Suk doesn't need to say, and Elena will understand them thoroughly. So when she heard Suk's order, Elena immediately got out of the mobile phone and then entered the armor. Next, under Suk's guidance, the armor suddenly opened and wrapped Suk's body. Because of Elena's presence, when Suk put on this set of armor, he didn't feel any discomfort, but became more comfortable, and he could let Elena change at will according to his own requirements. In general, Suk was very satisfied with this set of armor. Itri worked very quickly. Before long, several other women's armor and weapons were also completed. Similarly, a special energy emerged from these things. As long as they had these things, Natasha and the others would not be in any danger. Although the armor and weapons were successful, the matter did not end there, because Suk did not forget that if he wanted the weapons and armor forged by Ulu to be more powerful, he had to find someone to enchant them, or to put it more simply, someone had to cast magic on them, and the only person Suk could think of seemed to be Thor's father Odin. After storing all the armor and weapons into the system space, Suke looked at Etri and said, "Very good, thank you for everything you have done for me. I will keep my promise. Tell me, what do you want? No matter what you need, I will satisfy you. What do you need?" Etri was stunned for a moment when he heard this, but then he shook his head and said, "As you can see, all my people are dead now, So you want me to resurrect all your people? Etri, you really know how to do business." Before Etri could finish his words, Suk suddenly interrupted him with a smile. "Huh?" Etri was stunned for a moment, then his whole body began to tremble. He said in disbelief, "Wait a minute, you mean, can you revive all my dead people? Is it possible? What's impossible about this?" Suke smiled and said, "But of course, I don't have such ability at present. If I want to do such a thing, I must first get the soul stone. Otherwise, the resurrected monsters are all soulless monsters, which is not fun. Although Suke can use the time stone to resurrect all the dwarves killed by Thanos, it is not enough to come back to life, because their souls are no longer there. If you need to really resurrect, you need to find their souls, which means that you need the soul stone. Although Suke cannot resurrect all the dwarves at present, his words give Etri a hope to continue living. Without the slightest hesitation, Etri half knelt in front of Suke, and then looked at him with a firm face and promised, I swear to you, as long as you can resurrect all my people, then the dwarves will serve you forever, and you will be our eternal master. Very good. He nodded gently at first, and then Suke continued, wait, that day will come soon. By the way, this place has been destroyed. There is no point for you to stay here any longer. Why don't you come back to Earth with me? It is a safer place. I will send you back after I get the soul stone and revive all your people. What do you think? Everything is up to you, Master. Yaitri said respectfully. It must be said that if a beautiful woman called him Master, Suk would definitely enjoy it, but being called Master by a guy like Yaitri made Suk feel a little awkward. Then, Suk opened another space channel and took a step out. He instantly appeared in the place where Red Tank lived. As for why he didn't go to Asgard, the reason was very simple. In Eitri's mind, Asgard was supposed to protect them, but Asgard didn't protect them, so Eitri was disappointed and angry about Asgard. He didn't want to go to Asgard at all. The place where Red Tank lived was a huge abandoned air raid shelter. The space inside was generally about 15 meters, which was just right for Eitri's size. When Red Tank, who was eating pizza, saw Suk coming here with a giant, he was completely stunned. Boss, what's going on? Did you find this giant for me? Red Tank said, and he was ready to fight. Seeing this, Suk was speechless for a while, and then he explained, Red Tank, let me introduce you, this is King Etri from the Dwarf Kingdom. For some reasons, he will live with you temporarily. He is your new roommate. Call Tony later and ask him to help Etri prepare things for living here. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Go slowly. Seeing this, Etri bowed respectfully to Suk again. Another space channel opened, and Suk instantly appeared in the palace of Asgard. From a distance, he heard a majestic voice. The 9 kingdoms all run on the cosmic tree of life and revolve around the atrium, similar to the relationship between the earth and the sun. Every 5,000 years, they will be arranged in a straight line, which is called the 9 realms convergence. During this period, the borders of the countries will be in a state of chaos. When the 9 realms gather together, that is when the power of darkness is the strongest. Malekith will definitely choose to launch an attack at that time. If he succeeds, the 9 realms will fall into darkness again. After walking a few steps, an old man with white hair and beard and a majestic face suddenly appeared in Suk's sight. It was the king of Asgard, Odin. Odin's original name is Odin Borson. He is the ruler of Asgard. His prototype is the king of the gods in Norse mythology of the same name. He is the father of Thor, the god of thunder, and the adoptive father of Loki. His main weapon is Gungnir, the eternal spear. He is a sworn enemy of the frost giants. Thor saw Suk coming from a distance and immediately greeted him. Suk, you are finally back. Let me introduce you. This is my father, the real master of Asgard, Odin. Father, this is the Titan I told you about before. He helped us before. Nice to meet you. Suk nodded slightly to Odin, which was considered a greeting. Thank you for everything you have done for Asgard. As a benefactor of Asgard, Asgard will always welcome you. Odin said to Suk with a smile on his face. Obviously, he had learned everything from Thor, including the fact that Suk was Thanos' younger brother. To be honest, when Odin heard Thor talking about this, he was really surprised, because he did not expect that Thanos, who slaughtered all his people and destroyed his planet, would have a younger brother. But after being surprised, Odin accepted this, and at the same time he was very moved. He was very glad that Suk did not become a madman who only knew how to kill like his brother Thanos, otherwise the whole universe would be destroyed in the hands of these two brothers. After saying hello, Suke looked at Jane, who was still in a coma, and said, Tell me, what's the situation now? Can the ether particles in Jane's body be taken out? Thor's face suddenly became disappointed when he heard this. My father said that even he couldn't extract the ether particles from Jian's body. Malekith was the only one who could do it. Really? Suk was somewhat disappointed when he heard this. He didn't expect that even Odin couldn't extract the ether particles from Jian's body. But then, he thought of something and asked Odin next to him, if the host dies, what will happen to the ether particles? The ether particle is one of the most powerful things in the universe. The death of the host has nothing to do with it. After the host dies, it will look for a new host. Although he didn't know why Suk asked this, Odin still explained. Suk was relieved when he heard this, because this means that after Jane dies, the ether particles will come out of Jane's body, and he can still get the ether particles at that time. Suk has never cared too much about Jane's life or death. On the one hand, it is because Jane is Thor's girlfriend and has nothing to do with him, and on the other hand, he simply does not have that much sympathy to sympathize with a stranger. This may sound a bit unkind, but this is the fact. If Suk has to sympathize with anyone who is in danger, wouldn't he be very tired? Jane's matter has not been resolved for a while, and Suk has been in Asgard for a long time. It is finally time to go back. Thinking of this, Sook suddenly came to Odin again, then looked at Odin with a smile and said, Odin, I need your help with something. I wonder if you can help me. Of course. Odin nodded without hesitation and said, you are Asgard's great benefactor. I will definitely do whatever I can to help you. Tell me, what is it? Actually, it's nothing big. I just need you to enchant my armor. It is said that the enchanted armor will be more powerful. Suke said with a smile. Odin laughed when he heard this. He didn't expect that what Suke said was such a simple thing. Yes? Please take out your armor? I will use the best magic spell to make your armor more powerful. Odin said with a smile. Then, when he saw Sook take out 5 sets of armor and a bunch of weapons, Odin's face suddenly froze. Enchanting is never an easy task and is very energy consuming. Odin originally thought that Sook only wanted to enchant a set of armor, so he easily agreed. However, he did not expect that Sook actually wanted to enchant 5 sets of armor and a bunch of weapons. Odin felt that he was tricked by Sook. However, as the king of Asgard, he could not go back on his words. Just like that, under Sook's expectant eyes, Odin enchanted all the armor and weapons. After the enchantment, the armor and weapons were indeed more powerful than before, and they also had the function of resisting and absorbing magic. Thank you. After putting away all the armor and weapons, Sook thanked Odin again. No, you're welcome, Odin said, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Because Sook was the benefactor of Asgard, Odin used all the best magic spells when enchanting, which meant that it was very energy consuming. Although it was very tiring, in Odin's view, it was worth it. After all, Sook was a very powerful being. Having a relationship with him would only benefit Asgard. If Asgard had any difficulties in the future, Sook would definitely help. After the armor was enchanted, Sook returned to his room. Natasha happened to be here, so Sook immediately prepared for Natasha. He took out the prepared armor. Although the size of the armor is the same and may not be completely suitable for Natasha's body shape, it is not a difficult task for Suke. Let Elena possess the armor on Natasha's body, and then make corresponding adjustments. Soon, Natasha's armor is completely suitable for Natasha's body shape. Wearing armor made of URU metal and holding weapons made of URU metal, Natasha is really excited at this moment, because she has felt the power brought to her by this armor and weapons. Relying on this armor, she feels that she can finally become a true Avenger. Looking at Natasha who was so excited, Sook smiled again, because he suddenly thought that when he got the power of the Beyonder, the power of the Infinity Stones would be of little use to him. At that time, he might as well give the Infinity Stones to his women. It would be fun. After staying in Asgard for another night, Sook took Natasha back to Earth the next day. Anyway, Odin had woken up, and with him, Asgard should be safe. First, he sent Natasha back to Shield, and then Sook came to the place where Red Tank lived. He wanted to see how Itri was doing here. What surprised Sook was that when he just appeared here, a hot breath rushed towards him. Then, after a closer look, Sook was completely speechless. Because at this moment, this place has been transformed into a place similar to a foundry. Not far away, Red Tank is throwing a large piece of unknown metal into the smelting furnace, and Etri is swinging a huge hammer to hit something. At the table next to him, Tony is looking at a blueprint with a serious face, and next to him is a set of armor that looks a bit special. Damn, it's only been one day, and Tony is hooking up with Etri? Suke is completely drunk.